This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of what if Naruto's Saiyan Bloodline was sealed at birth. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
In the land of waves, on the Wave Country Bridge, Team 7 was engaged in combat with Haku and Zabuza Momochi. In addition to fighting Zabuza, Kakashi was defending Sakura and Tazuna. He and Zabuza were dead even, and he was winning the battle. Additionally, he was preventing Zabuza from murdering Tazuna. Regretfully, he was outperforming his two genin who were battling Zabuza's apprentice. Inside a dome of ice mirrors that Zabuza's apprentice had constructed, the two genin were imprisoned. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to destroy the ice mirrors. Haku appeared as a reflection on each ice mirror. The two genin were sitting in the center, considering what to do. Despite their striking similarities, the two genin inside the dome were unrelated. Sasuke Uchiha was one of the genin. He had on a blue shirt and white armbands. He was wearing ninja sandals, white shorts, and tape from mid-shin to ankle. In addition, he had a kunai holster on his right leg and his black hair was shaped in an odd way that resembled a duck's ass. His eyes were coal-black, too. Naruto Uzumaki was the name of the other genin. Naruto wears a kunai holster on his right leg and an orange jumpsuit. On his forehead was his Konoha headband. The two genin were similar primarily in their eyes and hair. Like Naruto, Sasuke had coal-black eyes and hair. In addition, Naruto's hair had an unusual shape. Think of Gohan's regular form during the Cell games. Sasuke and Naruto were just managing to avoid Haku's Senbon. Since the Senbon appeared to be slowing down, Sasuke found it to be getting easier and easier. Sasuke thought they were slowing down, but they weren't. That's when Sasuke used the Sharingan, the Uchiha clan's signature bloodline power. Sasuke's eyes grew red, and two tomos appeared in his right eye and one in his left. Haku was aiming at Naruto while Sasuke was formulating a strategy to defeat him and remove him from the mirrors. In order to check on Naruto, Sasuke paused his planning to take stock. He saw what Haku was going to do while he was doing that. Additionally, he noticed that Naruto had nowhere to go. Fearing for his life, Naruto rolled into a ball. Then, Haku hurled 5 senbon straight at Naruto. Sasuke somehow responded instinctively, sending a burst of chakra to his feet to launch himself at Naruto and absorb the blow on his behalf. Sasuke's throwing himself in front of Naruto indicated that all of the kunai were heading for deadly locations, even though Haku's only goal was to render him incapacitated. 2 kunai struck each lung, passing between his ribs. His liver was struck by another. His heart was targeted by another. It caused internal bleeding after passing through Sasuke's sternum and piercing a portion of his heart. Sasuke was struck in the stomach by the final one. Naruto was in the fetal position, with his back to Haku. Unaware that Sasuke had just taken the hit for him, Naruto was terrified for his life. When he heard the sound of the senbon entering a body and felt no pain, he understood what had happened. Sasuke was in front of him when he looked up. Backwards, Sasuke landed squarely in Naruto's grasp. When Naruto realized that his friend might die on him, he had a horrified expression. Despite their animosity, it was more of a brotherly one between him and Sasuke. They were dependent on each other, though neither would acknowledge it. They improved each other's speed, strength, and quality by pushing one another to the limit. When Naruto saw Sasuke fall, his expression changed to one of shock and fear. He responded with, "Sasuke, why did you do that?" Sasuke coughed, finding it more difficult to breathe. His voice was hoarse as he said, "I don't know. My body moved on its own." Naruto begins by saying, "Sasuke." Sasuke interrupts Naruto by raising his hand. He spoke with a raspy voice. "Hold up, Naruto. These might be my last words, and I need to say them. My dream was to kill my brother Itachi. When I was 8 he killed my whole family and I vowed vengeance against him. After being on your team Naruto, I see things differently. I guess you're happy. Go." Lucky attitude rubbed off on me a little. My brother told me to hate him, despise him, and give up my life to kill him. I now realized he only wanted me to do that for his own sick entertainment. And I fell for it easily. Now, I see that I don't have to do that. I don't need to give my life up for Itachi. I'm the last of my clan, and the right thing to do would be to revive it." His voice began to crackle. "Naruto, one of us has to finish our dream. You would end up giving your life to protect others while I would probably sacrifice everything I held special to me to kill Itachi. Live Naruto and finish your goal for the both of us. Our rivalry pushed me to be better. It pushed me to train harder, to get faster, to make myself a better fighter. In a way, you helped me become the person I am today. You've done more for me than my own blood brother." Sasuke's eyes suddenly began to grow more glazed. It was clear that he was doing everything in his power to stay. Sasuke Uchiha closed his eyes, saying, "That's why I can honestly say that you are my brother, more than Itachi ever was." Naruto shed the tears that threatened to spill from his eyes. Haku continues, "He died the true death of a shinobi. You should feel glad. Every shinobi will die in the heat of battle. He at least got to die in his friend's arms, not alone on a battlefield. But we still have a battle to complete, Naruto. And I can't allow you to harm Zabuza." Naruto yelled, "Shut up," as he turned to face Haku. Despite his feelings of sadness and despair, Naruto managed to speak. He was capable of saying, You, monster. You killed my best friend. I won't let you get away with this." Naruto began to shake abruptly. He was sending out a signal of power energy. It was strange. Although it wasn't chakra, it was nonetheless ground-based pebbles began to lift off of it and float in midair. Abruptly, the bridge began to ring with thunder. People on the bridge and throughout the elemental nation began to sense an odd source of power. Kakashi and Zabuza. What power is this? I can tell it's not chakra, but it feels like it. The sensation of it. It is comparable to killing intent. What is the source of this stuff? Is that Kakashi? No, it isn't possible. He's just as surprised as I am. But who is it if it's not Kakashi or me? Zabuza's thought. What in the world is this feeling? Was Kakashi's thought. This power is tremendous. Zabuza is not the source of it. Sakura and Tazuna are just as surprised as Zabuza and I are. Due to Sasuke's limited output, the demon remains. Is the seal cracking? I'll have a reason to kill that killer for what he did to Minato. Sensei, I have to get this done quickly so I can kill the demon. Inside the head of Naruto, although Naruto appeared to be in ruins on the outside, he was actually on a mission. First, Naruto and Sasuke were outside in Haku's mirrors. Suddenly, he finds himself in a sewer. The path was illuminated by candles that were burning. Naruto continued to question the source of this power. So he went with his gut and found a door. After pushing the door open, he came to see a cage. It had a piece of paper with the word seal on it that extended to the ceiling. He saw a 90-foot tall fox with 9 tails swishing behind it, blazing orange red fur, and red, slitted eyes. The fox raised his voice. "So, my wimpy container finally gets the balls to come and see me again, Naruto replied, "Shut up, you big hairy furball. I'm not in the mood for your smart remarks right now. I came to demand some chakra." "Oh, so after 5 years of not seeing each other, you come in here and demand some chakra? Not even a friendly hello, or how's it going? You're a terrible host, you know that." Naruto snapped and screamed, "I'm not in the mood for your stupid jokes, Kyubi. I vowed I would never do this because it would destroy my body from the inside out, but right now I don't care. Haku deserves to die for what he did. Now stop being a waste of valuable space and give me your fucking chakra now." "I see. You got balls, kid. More than my underlings, that's for sure. You know what, I'll do you one better. I'll unlock your bloodline that the Yondaime Hokage aka Minato Namikaze aka your father locked away with the seal to keep me here. Alright, I can deal with the Yondaime being my dad, but what about my bloodline and why did my dad lock it away? Basically, kid, here's the mega short version, you're part alien. The rest you'll hear later. For now I'll unlock your powers and you kick ass. Come back here soon so I can go more into detail about it." Hold up. Why are you helping me? You were so hell-bent on destroying my village before. I'm about to die. I want to at least do something exciting before I die. Also, my attacking the village was an accident. Me and the Biju lived here long before you humans came and we let you live in our lands. We protected you from demons because it was our territory and they were stepping in it. I got wind of a group of people trying to capture the Biju. I was going there to a megacure to stop it when some dumbass ninja of this village attacked me. I retaliated and it landed me in this predicament. Now go hurry up and kill that bitch." Kyubi then pushed Naruto from his mindscape. Haku and Naruto. The strange thunderstorm showed no signs of slowing down, and Naruto continued to twitch and gain strength. The water beneath the bridge began to sway more and become rougher. Large portions of the bridge began to fall away and fragment into tiny stones. Naruto then began to get up, still staring down at Sasuke, after sitting on his knees the entire time. He began to twitch crazily, jerking his head up to the sky and back down at random. He jerked his head up, causing his eyes to turn greenish blue and his hair to turn yellow and change shape. Think of Goku's hair when he is Super Saiyan. Naruto's eyes went completely white as he looked down, and then he raised his head and screamed. This time, his hair and eyes remained transformed, and he was surrounded by a yellow aura. He gave Haku a glare that would have caused suffering and death to the person who received it. Naruto skipped to the second row, hurried to the ice mirrors in front of him, and punched where Haku's face would be. Haku spotted him approaching and leapt out just in time. Naruto was already there when he looked forward to his destination. With his left arm cocked back, Naruto hooked, punched Haku into a second mirror. Haku continued toward the mirror without stopping. He skidded away from the breaking ice dome and landed on the bridge. Haku saw Naruto placing his hand on Sasuke's torso as he turned to face the crashing ice dome. Sasuke was suddenly engulfed in Naruto's aura as well. The Senbon needles began to protrude from Sasuke's wounds, and his wounds began to steam. His wounds also began to heal. After a while, Naruto's aura began to fade, and he got up to face Haku. Then, in an instant, Naruto emerged in front of Haku and vanished from Sasuke's side. He punched after throwing all of his weight into his right fist. The punch went straight through Haku's body due to its extreme force. A massive hole was left in Haku's body when Naruto withdrew his fist. Dead, Haku fell from Naruto's fist. In order to regain his yellowish fiery aura, Naruto flexed his muscles. Then Naruto screamed, his aura growing more intense. The fog was immediately blown away when Naruto created a wind to blow through the area. He phased out to where Kakashi and Zabuza were fighting, where the sun was shining and the fog had been blown away. Zabuza and Kakashi. To trap Zabuza, Kakashi simply employed the Earth style, tracking Fang Jutsu. Following the scent of Kakashi's blood on Zabuza's sword, his dogs emerged from the ground. Zabuza was rendered immobile when the dogs emerged and bit him. Kakashi said, "Now that I have you trapped I can kill you, and then kill the real demon." With his palm facing the floor, Kakashi grasped his right wrist and performed some hand seals. Suddenly, lightning envelops his hand. He continued, "Zabuza, for your crimes you will die here and now. Rakery." They heard a scream just as Kakashi was ready to charge. They see a dead Haku standing over a blonde person when they look over there. The blonde man vanished as soon as the fog began to clear. He reappears before Zabuza, punching him in the chest in the dead center. It is evident that Zabuza's ribcage was destroyed because of the sickening sound and the crooked angle at which his chest bends out. Zabuza's eyes were swollen and he had a shocked expression. Zabuza fell when Naruto withdrew, and the dogs were chased away. Witnessing all of this, Kakashi believed that Zabuza had been killed by the demon. Kakashi charged Naruto with this rakery, saying, "Great, now I can use this as an excuse to finally kill him." Sensing Kakashi's malevolent intent toward him, Naruto yielded to this new power and narrowly avoided the attack. He took hold of Kakashi's wrist and redirected, also known as threw, him in the direction of the bridge railing. Kakashi's jutsu dispelled as he fell against the railing. Following Kakashi's reunion with the side railing, Gato and his boys showed up and began making fun of the deceased Zabuza and Haku. He told Naruto that he had hired them to attack Tazuna. He was angry to hear that. He was so angry that his power level increased once more. Sakura and Tazuna panicked as soon as they saw Gato's men. At this point, Naruto appeared to be ready to chop off someone's head. "That's it, fat ass. I'm taking you on a one-way trip to hell right now," he said, finally growing weary. "Whoever takes out the short blonde gets paid double," Gato remarked with a laugh. The bandits all screamed and came at Naruto. After grinning, Naruto remarked, "I am going to love this." The bandits were charged by Naruto. The result was a full-on-death fight. The first man to approach him was Naruto. The bandit attempted to use a pitchfork to impale him. Naruto moved to the side, seized the wooden portion, and drew the man closer. He caught him by the arm, swung him around, knocked out the people pursuing him, and tossed him into the one who was clever enough to leap back. One stood up and attempted to strike him with a 2x4 from above. Naruto reached for the 2x4 and used his hand to smash it. Then he gave the man a headbutt to the chest. He made a 90-degree turn to his right and gave the man there a front kick. Then, as the man attempted to grab him by the neck, he leapt up and backflipped him. The man fell unconscious after he sliced him in the neck. He stooped to pick up a large section of the bridge and hurled it at the bandits. They dispersed, making the road to Gato clear. Since Naruto was determined to kill the man, he seized the chance to phase out, moved too quickly for the human eye to see, and punched Gato, forcing the unidentified energy behind it. He didn't remain to witness the outcome. I need to stop playing around, he thought as he battled the hundreds of feeble bandits. It's possible that Kakashi, that bastard, will wake up soon and will have an excuse to ask the council to kill me. Killing him now would make me appear worse. This is awful. You'd better move on. Naruto began to abruptly lose consciousness and did not return. Then one of the bandits' chests exploded. One of them then had blood oozing from their throats. Another fell, gripping his throat. The other bandits were experiencing similar things everywhere. Until only one remained, they all fell. His body suddenly developed a hole, and he fell. With blood mostly on his arms and legs, Naruto reappeared behind the man. When Naruto turned around, he saw a grateful Tazuna, a startled Kakashi, and a terrified Sakura. At that moment, Inari and the other villagers arrived. Although they noticed that the bandits had left, they were mainly taken aback to see Gato's head among them. Since none of the villagers had previously seen the man, they were perplexed. This guy might have killed Gato in order to seize control of Wave Country. We are very grateful of you for killing that tyrant Gato, but we must know. Who are you? Was the question that everyone was thinking when Tazuna ran up to Naruto. Replied, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, remember it. Gato is dead now and no one will suffer from the hands of maniacs like him while I still draw breath. The people of Wave Country are safe from people like Gato. The villagers were ecstatic upon hearing this. They can now live in peace since they were finally set free from Gato. Naruto walked to Sakura while the others were having a good time. Naruto, where's Sasuke-kun? She asks without even noticing his changes, rather than asking if Naruto is okay. I apologize, Sakura. I was unable to arrive in time to. Naruto looks down. Smack. Sakura suddenly gave Naruto a backslap. You monster. You let my Sasuke-kun die. You're nothing. Nothing but a demon. Just like my mom and everyone else warned me. I wish you had died instead of my Sasuke-kun. When they turn to see where the coughing is coming from, they see Sasuke sitting up. Sakura yells, Sasuke-kun, as she rushes toward him. Sasuke approached Naruto, ignoring Sakura's incessant inquiries. When he noticed Naruto's transformation, he asked, what happened while I was asleep? Naruto then falls into a deep sleep after saying, that is something you will have to ask me again when I regain consciousness. Underscore. In Naruto's head, Naruto just fainted and found himself back in the sewers. Okay, tell me the rest of the story. How do I fit into all of this? He said, approaching the fox. The Kyubi let out a sigh. This was going to be a very long story. Your ancestors were a race called the Saiyans, he said. They were elite fighters, and they loved every minute of fighting. Their bodies were specifically made for fighting, and when they won a fight or were fatally wounded and recovered, their maximum energy level increased. Your entire race was enslaved by Frieza, a Deutschbag with a fetish for purple, who made them travel to other planets and exterminate all life there. The highest bidder would then purchase the planet. With the strength of an elite Saiyan warrior, your ancestor Bardock was a third-class Saiyan warrior. Because of his rank, others undervalued him, which ultimately led to their demise. His team won a race that would have been difficult for Frieza's elites to win. Bardock and his group were eventually given the order to go and exterminate a race that possessed the capacity for foresight. Hold up, Naruto interrupted. Wouldn't they be able to predict their own death weeks in advance with that power? They did, the Kyubi said. Before it happened, they were familiar with Bardock's squad's names, appearance, and tactics. They were aware that they would be unable to resist the Saiyans in any situation. More would follow if they were able to defeat Bardock and his group. However, the leader gave Bardock that power by force before he passed away. The race Bardock defeated that day was one of the races that Frieza's elite had trouble defeating. When Frieza got wind of Bardock's triumph, he started getting scared that the Saiyans were about to rebel. I mean, think about it. His elites would have trouble with that planet, yet some third-class Saiyan squad killed them easily. Frieza ordered all of Bardock's squad to be killed. Bardock had to oversee the birth of his son, so he wasn't at the slaughter. He got a transmission from his squad and heard his best friend get blasted. With narrowed eyes, Naruto uttered, hold up. Frieza had their entire race enslaved and was still scared of them. Yes, there was a legend about a Saiyan who didn't have black hair like the others. His power increased to the point where his hair turned gold and his eyes turned bluish, green, just like yours. They called him a Super Saiyan, and although it sounds corny, the power that accompanied it was amazing. Frieza never told anyone, but he did believe in the Super Saiyan because he was afraid that one of them would transform and kick his little midget ass to hell, where he belonged. Now, let's go back to the story. Bardock went to share a vision he had received from the future sight power with the other Saiyans. Frieza destroyed their planet in that vision. The others were celebrating a holiday or something, and were intoxicated. When Frieza was ready to invade their home planet, Bardock flew, into space and faced him. He fought Frieza but lost handily, and he killed some of his forces. The planet was then destroyed by Frieza. Prince Vegeta was one of the Saiyans who made it out alive. His two bodyguards were Bardock's son Raditz and Nappa. Hours before the explosion, Bardock sent his baby son Goku to another planet. Two additional Saiyans, Broly and Paragus, also made it out alive. "Whoa, hold your horses," said Naruto. How could Frieza suddenly appear with a bomb large enough to destroy a planet? How could Bardock fly, and how do I fit into all of this? Hold on, I'm getting there. In essence, Goku landed on the planet Earth when he was a child. You mentioned a planet called Earth, but why? The name of this planet is Aya. I'm making progress. Humans live on many different planets. You all gave your planets the same names, and for some reason you are unaware of this. There must be some sort of evolutionary flaw. In any case, this man named Gohan adopted Goku. Before he fell off a cliff and struck his head, Goku was a conceited, evil baby. Then, Goku's mind was cleared of all recollections of being a Saiyan. Goku grew up to live in peace and make friends. Grew up to defend his planet by fighting. That's the rundown, kid, essentially. But you haven't answered my question. How do I fit into this? Your dad was a Saiyan. He was actually Goku's great-great-grandson and came to this planet for reasons I don't even know. The only reason I even know about your race was because I cornered your dad when he touched down and got the story out of him. How did they use all those special abilities? It sounds like chakra, but different. What was that? It's called ki, and I will tutor you in its uses. Man. Now what to do? Since 1 week is equivalent to 1 day in the real world, you can get a lot of training in here. Well, kid, I got an idea. The energy put a lot of strain on your body, so you're going to be out of it for like 3 days. I could teach you a fighting style while we're here and a few uses of ki. Cool, let's get started. Alright, I'm going to teach you Tae Quan Do, a fighting style. The creation of modern ninjutsu by Rokudo Sennin erased this ancient fighting style from history. It's a defense style in part. Since a martial artist's legs are their longest and strongest weapon, they focus on developing their strength. You must also have a great deal of flexibility. In order to improve your punching strength, speed, and kicks, I will also be giving you chakra weights. Now, transform the mental image into something more effective so that we can continue to fight. How do I do that? For Kami's sake, think it up and it will appear. Naruto then transformed the mindscape into a field. Then a man wearing a black cloak with a white shirt underneath appeared where the Kyubi's cage stood. He had 2 large fox ears pointing out of his head, 9 tails behind him, and brown boots. The fur was blood red, and the tips of the ears and tails were white. His eyes were red. In addition, he wore black ankle bands, armbands, and a necklace. The figure continued, "Well boy, let's get started. Now, first I'm gonna teach you the basics of ki, its manipulation, how to throw ki blasts, and flying." Naruto learned the fundamentals of Tae Quan Do, which Kyubi was a master of, as well as how to throw and manipulate ki waves during those 3 days. He was still learning the fundamentals of flying. It's much more difficult than Kyubi described. He was able to do it in his human form, but not in his enormous fox form. Additionally, Kyubi taught Naruto the following jutsu: Water Bullet, Revolving Split Earth Palm, Great Breakthrough, Grand Fireball, Burning Ash Accumulation, and False Darkness. Time. Skip. 3 days later, in Tizuna's home, Naruto awakens on his bed. When he awoke, he discovered that his team lacked the civility to even wash his clothes. Rather than dwelling on it, he got up, dressed, and went to the kitchen, where Tizuna's family and his team were seated at the lunch table, enjoying their meal. Tizuna and his family greeted him with cheers, escorted him to the table, and offered him some food. Although Sasuke was grinning, he returned to his meal because he was still trying to maintain his composed demeanor. Sakura simply gave him a glare, but Kakashi appeared unconcerned. On the inside, however, he was considering methods to have Naruto eliminated or removed from the ninja program. Naruto left for some special training after eating. After 10 minutes of waiting, Sasuke left, claiming he had to train. He discovered Naruto standing among what he estimated to be 200 clones. He was facing them by himself, and they were all wearing kunai. Naruto stood amidst the throng of clones, while Sasuke hid in the trees. All the clones charged simultaneously with a silent command. Naruto simply turned his upper body to the right and used the momentum to kick with his right foot when a clone swiped at him while he was standing there. The clone rose in a smoke plume. He ducked the swipe from another clone that charged at him, but he was kicked by another on his left. He stood up on his knees and shook it off. He glanced in the direction of the kick and saw the clone stumbling toward him as if to sidekick him, but the aim was a little off. The same thing caught his attention. Naruto ducked after waiting until they were near him. The clones kicked each other out of existence as the attacks passed. Then he turned to see a clone palming at him with an open hand after holding it back. He noticed that a ball of yellow had emerged and was hurtling toward him. After barely dodging it, Naruto became irate and said, "If that's how you want it, fine then. Let's take it up a notch." He held both of his hands behind his back, where a yellow ball of light developed. With a sly smile, he shoved them aside and they emerged in a beam-like shape. Each of them struck a clone before returning to capture 20 more. With all his strength, he squatted on the ground and then leapt to his feet. It appeared to be a wise decision because the ground he was standing on was blasted in an instant. Naruto was hit by blasts that turned upward. Surprisingly, though, every blast passed him. When he looked up, he saw that all of the blasts were slowing down and that gravity was going to bring them down. The speed at which they sailed down was frightening. Naruto continued to ascend while blasting anyone who stood in his way. Some of Naruto's own blasts were among the ones that fell back down to the clones. Ultimately, 30 clones remained. Naruto was beginning to plummet to the ground at this pace. He put his left hand in a cup, poured a flurry of energy into it, and let it go. It had a lot more power than other ki blasts, despite only appearing slightly larger. The clones were destroyed when it detonated in a massive explosion upon impact. After landing, Naruto examined the damage. All of the grass was gone, and the blast had left a tiny crater in its wake. However, there is no harm to other areas. Naruto took a seat in an attempt to relax. Then he heard clapping and turned to see Sasuke standing there grinning to his right. When Naruto reached his feet, he replied, "Well, that wasn't what I was suspecting. You went up against what looked like 200 clones and still won. What was up with that energy anyway? I looked at it with my Sharingan and saw it wasn't chakra." Naruto proceeded to tell Sasuke the full story, saying, "Well, Sasuke, it all started like this." Sasuke then remarked, "God damn. You get a crazy demon fox sealed in you first, and then you find out you're part alien." Naruto replied, "You do realize that I just told you an S-class secret, and if you tell anyone else you'll be killed, right?" Sasuke cracked a grin and replied, "You don't have anything to worry about. The Uchiha clan has our own dirty little secrets that we wouldn't want to get out. Your secret is safe with me. But, I want you to teach me how to use ki." "That sounds badass." "It is. But you have to promise me something, Sasuke. You have to promise me that once I teach you, you won't go running off to kill your brother." "Sasuke, there's no dishonor in waiting until you can beat him. Your clan won't be ashamed of you if you don't go after Itachi. If you try to kill him now, he will just end up killing you. And that will be the end of the Uchiha clan." Sasuke closed his eyes, remembering his previous foolishness. He stated, "I realized that Naruto. After thinking about it for these few days, I realized that all Itachi wanted me for is his sick amusement or probably some plot to make himself stronger. I'm still going to kill Itachi, but I might as well enjoy my life and what I have now." With a smile, Naruto remarked, "That's all I ask for." Naruto chose to spend the remainder of the day teaching Sasuke about ki after giving that endearing speech. Sasuke demonstrated that he could pick up new skills just as quickly as Naruto. On his first day, he and Naruto both lacked ki manipulation. In Naruto's mindscape later that evening, Naruto made the decision to train himself after assisting Sasuke. Despite his repeated attempts, he was unable to become Super Saiyan. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to reach it. Naruto entered Wave Country's forest that evening and began to meditate. He eventually managed to get inside his head. When he changed it for his training, his thoughts remained the same. Kyubi always slept beneath a tree, so Naruto approached it and asked him, "Kyubi, I know the only way I won that battle on the bridge was because of the Super Saiyan transformation. I need your help in reaching it again. If I want to save this planet from the horrors my dad's planet went through, I need to be stronger than him." "Kid, you're not nearly as strong as you need to be to save this planet," Kyubi said as he emerged from beneath the tree. "According to your father, his and his closest friend's family theorized that the Super Saiyan power was unlocked once the Saiyan attained a particular power level. Your ancestor Goku had a power level of 4 million when he first attained Super Saiyan, and they hypothesized that the minimum was cut in half with each generation and the blood ran out. You would have been at a pitiful 6,250,000, A fly in comparison to the power levels of the people on this planet and the other planets. Your Super Saiyan transformation required a minimum power level of 125,000, which you only attained because of the power up you received from the anger you felt after witnessing the death of your best friend. The Super Saiyan ability increased your strength, speed, stamina, endurance, and everything else by 50 times. When Kakashi goes all out, like he did with Zabuza, he has a power level of 10 million. The only reason you defeated him was because he was exhausted from fighting Zabuza and hadn't fully recovered from his first battle with the eyebrowless freak. Even in your Super Saiyan transformation, you weren't stronger than Kakashi. I can kill you with my eyes closed, both hands and one foot tied behind my back, and I can only use 1% of my true power in my human form, so you're nothing in comparison to my power. This infuriated Naruto, who retorted, I came for a way to protect my planet, not for your ridicule. Kyubi let out a sigh and replied, Kid, there is a way, but it is painful as hell. With my chakra, I could try to manipulate your human DNA strands to copy the Saiyan strands, but it could prove fatal. The most I can do is a half Saiyan. I don't know what will happen since I've never met a half Saiyan before. But I can change you to a half Saiyan. Do you want to do it? After a minute of facing downward, Naruto looked up and declared in a firm voice, I want to do it. I want the power to save everyone on this planet. My family protected those in need for years, and I will too. Kyubi continued, alright, but you need to manipulate the seal that holds me back. I won't be able to do anything with that in the way. It'll take a lot of energy to do that, and this seal inhibits me too much for me to do it. I think that the seal control is somewhere over there. Kyubi gestured toward the mountain range on his left. He stated, go there and you could probably find a console that manipulates how much of my energy goes into you. But that's where the monsters are. You said so yourself. Yeah, they're there to make sure no mind manipulators make it to the seal console and accidentally, or purposefully, kill you. Also, I think those monsters will be good training for you. With a deep breath, Naruto uttered the words, for the good of the earth, and headed toward the mountain ranges. Underscore. The mindscape of Naruto. After running through the forest, Naruto reached a beach. He noticed a massive waterfall to his right. When he looked ahead, he saw that the river was 20 feet wide. He stooped to dip his hand into the river. The river was shallow, but the current was powerful. Then Naruto stepped into the water and started to walk. The water rose as he took a single step. It began to take shape, eventually forming 20 duck human hybrids. The animals had webbed hands with claws and a tail, as well as webbed feet. The heads divided into 4 spikes that rose in the shape of a crown. They had a ruby round jewel between their eyes and bills. Their eyes were red, their bills were white, and their skin was blue. Search for Golduck on Yahoo. Naruto gave them a startled look before glaring at them. Then he abruptly swung the whole upper portion of his body to the right. He narrowed his eyes and barely missed one of the creature's red beams of energy. He took a step forward and punched the nearest creature. The creature hit him with its tail after swerving to the left. After he landed on his feet after flying back from the blow, Naruto threw an energy ball at the creature. The creature changed into water when it struck. This is going to be easy, he thought as he glanced at them. Naruto then concentrated energy in his hands and released a beam of energy, causing all of the monsters to turn to water. Naruto walked through the water grinning until he was struck in the back. He turned to see the 20 creatures he had previously slain. Naruto simply sighed deeply and took off running. To combat the creatures, he produced 19 shadow clones. A full-fledged taijutsu fight ensued. The creatures were kicked in the head by one of the clones. With a blue aura surrounding its headbutt, the creature flew back and then charged at the clone. The clone was poofed away after taking a hard blow to the chest. Underscore. They were fighting tooth and nail with the other clones. A creature was destroyed by one of them, but it reformed behind the clone. Just before he was killed, the clone had a thought. In order to kill him, the creature that killed him spread its claws farther and slashed 4 times. Underscore. When the creature threw a red beam of energy at him, the original Naruto simply punched it onto the ground. Naruto shot at the creature with a beam of energy that had been charged up. In order to combat the creatures, Naruto continued to use the beam, and when he finally overpowered it, the creature vaporized. He noticed it didn't return. When he began to wonder, the battered clone gave him some information while he gazed at the waterfall. With a great deal of energy, he blasted the center of the waterfall. The rocks in the center of the waterfall were thrown into the lake by the explosion of the attack, demonstrating that the lake was deeper than the river. Before it could sink to the bottom, Naruto ran and grabbed a large rock. Naruto ran to the river's mouth and placed the rock down there while the clones watched over him. The river's entire volume flowed downstream. No more came to feed the river because the water was blocked. There was also no water for the animals to survive on because there was no water to feed the river. The creatures resorted to water, but they failed to reform this time. He realized that as long as there was water nearby, the monsters could reorganize. Naruto said, "Yep," after noticing this. Far too simple. Then Naruto moved into the woods. Even though it hurt like hell, he was able to go 4 times faster than usual by concentrating ki into his legs. He arrived at the mountain and began to ascend. He kept running into these tiny rock monsters that snarled at him. Naruto became enraged and threw the stones they threw at him off the mountain. Upon reaching the summit, he noticed a console installed. Naruto was on the verge of moving when an orange beam of light struck him at a distance of 10 yards. After he leapt back, he turned to see that the attack had struck a ridge in the ground that was a foot deep. The large green dragon he saw in the sky had 10 red outlined flaps and black and yellow patterns. It is thought to be Rayquaza from Pokemon. Additionally, he noticed a turquoise dragon with red patterns running from its neck to its eyebrows approaching him. The creature resembled Pokemon's Salamence, with a white underside, red wings, and red patterns on its legs and tail. Naruto was suddenly hit by a yellow flame-like attack from the monster. It fired at Naruto once more as he glanced at it. Naruto used the Grand Fireball Jutsu in retaliation. As the flame attacks approached, Naruto thought, "It's not enough." To see the creature repeating the same action, Naruto added more chakra to the attack. In a fit of rage, Naruto increased the attack by 20% of his chakra. It burned the creature after rebounding off of it. Naruto leapt to his feet and accelerated his energy beam. The green creature struck him in the back just as he was ready to let it fly. When it released a red jet of fire that toasted him, he flew to the turquoise one. Completely furious, Naruto stood up, and the creatures began to charge at him, aiming for the kill. Now, if you looked into Naruto's eyes, you would notice that they were turning bluish green instead of the coal black that they are in this fic, and that there were tiny gold streaks in his black hair. Naruto used his left hand to stop the green dragon and his right foot to stop the turquoise creature. Then, in order to create an invisible force field around himself, he flared his power. The force field pushed the creatures away. Naruto released energy beams at the 2 creatures and extended his hands to them. Despite his ability to dodge, the green creature was struck in the tail, causing 2 of its flaps to fall off. The blue one was knocked unconscious after being struck in the head. Naruto, who was acting entirely on his Saiyan instincts, turned to face the green creature. He flew up to the creature and punched it directly in the eyes after spotting it attempting to circle around him. The animal began to charge Naruto after recoiling in surprise. Naruto removed another flap as he flew over the creature's head and blasted at its midsection. The creature charged up a transparent blue ball in its mouth, which Naruto witnessed. Knowing that he was going to be blasted, Naruto flew around in a frantic manner. Naruto ducked under it and gave the creature a direct look. He spun around when he noticed a malevolent gleam in its eyes. He caught a glimpse of the object returning to him. The thought, "Oh shit," sent him reeling. Naruto hit the mountaintop after falling. He discovered that he had lost sight of the mountaintop when he fell. He was staring at a man with an X-shaped scar on his left cheek who was wearing green and blue armor. He was wearing blue and green shoes, a red headband, and red ankle and wristbands. He was rushing toward a large crowd. 100 people were piled on top of him, but he blew them away with his flare of energy. He continued to fly towards a disc-shaped ship. Flying up there, he used his right hand to charge up an attack. Then he hurled it at a ship object. Naruto couldn't see Frieza because he was looking behind Bardock, so he couldn't tell who or what the guy threw it at. The vision then shifted to a man who resembled the other one but was wearing an orange karate gi, black boots, blue undershirts and wristbands, and no scar. If you don't recognize this person, you shouldn't even be reading this story. Cupping both hands behind his back, he began to charge up an attack. He was chanting as well. Ka. Me. Ha. Me. Ha. He raised his hands in front of him after completing the chant. A large blue beam of energy shot out of his hands as he did. It traveled and struck Demon King Piccolo, a huge green man with antennae on his head. Then the vision came to a sudden end. Back on the mountain was Naruto. The creature remained, appearing to be ready to charge. Naruto had to think quickly before recalling the vision. Naruto thought, those attacks might just work. He began to build up a great deal of energy in his right hand until it was clearly visible. After that, he formed it into a ball. He continued to enlarge the ball until he was unable to see his hand inside it. This time, the green creature decided to strike. Naruto felt the urge to call something out just as he was about to launch the attack. Following his gut, he yelled, "Riot Javelin," and launched the assault. It created a large smokescreen when it struck the beast. During this time, Naruto considered ways to kill it. The creature probably won't take another blow to the head like that if the attack caused it any harm. Naruto then performed the Shadow Clone Jutsu. I have to divert it in some way. All of you, hit that thing with attacks as much as you can. Stall him. With the exception of the actual Naruto, who flew above the creature, all of the Narutos flew up and surrounded it. Knowing that it would take a few attempts to get it right, he began to ramp up his attack. The Narutos were doing a fantastic job of containing the creature under his leadership. One of them used the underground projection fish to drag the dragon into the ground as they beat it closer and closer to the ground, where another was waiting. When the others noticed, half of them jumped in to assist, and the other members punched him in the head until he collapsed. They disappeared after saying, "It's all yours, boss." Then, with a chant of, "Ka, me, ha, me, ha," Naruto charged the attack in his hand, and it exploded. It went on and struck the creature's head. After letting out a cry of agony, the creature passed out. After landing, Naruto surveyed his surroundings. Then, before those creatures woke up, he sprinted for the console. Naruto did recognize them, though. He dismissed it and proceeded to the console. He could tamper with it because he could see that it was set. He configured it to utilize more of the Kyubi's chakra. After completing that, he flew back to the Kyubi's location, dodging the strange and ferocious looking creatures in the sky. Time. Skip. He discovered the Kyubi whittling it into a fox while covered in what appeared to be wood shavings. "What the hell are you doing?" he said as he approached Kyubi. "Whittling. Why?" was the Kyubi's astute comment. Naruto simply asked, "Why didn't you tell me the monsters were that strong, after going through a lot of crap today? I never made it that far. The seal keeps me from going 100 feet away from here, and it's your fault. You're the one that imagined them to be the guardians of something that large." "What are you saying? Those creatures are from your imagination. Remember before the villagers destroyed your TV? You used to watch a show called Pokemon all the time. Those were some of the creatures you thought were the strongest. In this place all 493 of them live here. The strongest guard the seal console," Kyubi said quietly. Naruto said impatiently, "All right, so can we start this already before I lose my patience?" Kyubi said, "All right, kid, get ready to scream." Then Naruto was surrounded by a red aura and screamed in pain. Land of Waves, 6 a.m., Naruto yawns loudly as he awakens. He opens his eyes and gets to his feet. Before the changes return to him, he looks around, wondering where in the world he is. His eyes are black, and his hair is jet black, as he dashes to a stream. Nothing had changed. However, for some reason, he felt much more energetic and much stronger. "What is this?" asked Naruto. "That is the strength of a true Saiyan warrior, my boy." "What the hell is that?" Naruto ponders. "Kyubi? Who the hell do you think it is? Obviously, you weakened the seal, allowing me to speak to you in my mind. What happened to me? You turned into a half Saiyan. So this is the power of a Saiyan. You have more endurance than ever, your power has at least doubled, and your skin is much harder. Oh, how nice it feels. This sense of power is unbelievable. I believe I am capable of anything. And therein lies a Saiyan's greatest power and flaw. Some people have become overconfident with all that power, producing people like the fabled Super Saiyan from a millennium ago, who destroyed an entire planet because he was unable to control it. And those like Goku and his pals, who continued to push Super Saiyan to its limit and find 3 unnamed Super Saiyan levels. Naruto, you must exercise caution. Absolute power leads to absolute corruption. The second Hokage established the village council for this reason. I've witnessed a lot of demons who were too penis. Why and thought they were hot shit get blown up. Okay, but hold on, Super Saiyan has more levels? Concentrate on the first, boy, and then move on to the others. I'd advise you to get some weights by using your popularity with the wave people. And a few garments. God, you don't have any sense of style? Naruto ran to the village in wave, ignoring Kyubi, to find that everyone had returned to their usual ways. However, they began treating him like a celebrity as soon as he was spotted. Naruto visited Wave Country's sole tailor shop, refusing to let the treatment affect him. When Naruto entered the store and pressed the desk bell, a middle-aged man in a white shirt and blue trousers emerged. "Hello, Naruto. I've been meaning to do business with you," the man replied. Confusion gripped Naruto as he asked, "How do you know my name?" "Well, The entire country knows your name. You saved us from Gato and our economy is getting better without the crazy taxes he made us pay. By the way, my name is Tenzo and I'm the village tailor. So what can I do for you? Replied Tenzo. Well, I need some clothes custom made. Okay, just tell me what to make and I'll do it. It's on the house by the way. Naruto said, thanks. Also, I need some weights. Do you have any? And began constructing the suit. After finishing, he handed Tenzo the design and instructed him to pick it up in a week. He handed Naruto some weights as well. He had to concentrate chakra on them to increase their weight because they were chakra activated, but Naruto found it simple. After a week, Wave Country Naruto was headed to the tailor's shop to pick up his clothes after spending the last week away from Sakura and his sensei. Tenzo was waiting for him when he entered the store. Hey, Naruto. I got the new suit you wanted me to design for you. It came out really good. A black fighting GI was hanging from a clothes rack when he led Naruto to the back. Its versus dot cut extended to the chest. The pants were hanging next to the sleeveless GI. A bandana, wristbands, belt, and short-sleeved shirt in dark red were on the desk in front of them. They sought to accompany the GI. By them, he also noticed red and black boots. It's basically Goku's fighting GI, with the exception that Bardock's bandana is red instead of orange. The shoes are red instead of orange, and his village headband is tied around his left bicep. He thought they fit him perfectly. After thanking Tenzo, he walked out of the shop. Naruto rushed back to his previous location and attempted to rehearse flying. After learning the fundamentals of the technique, Naruto was adamant about using it. However, attempting something and actually succeeding at it were two different things. After removing the chakra from the weights and closing his eyes, Naruto focused. Feeling his ki, he pushed it beneath himself. He thought it was the effect of levitating, but he felt something strange beneath him. The new half Saiyan continued to concentrate his ki until a powerful draft hit him. In addition, he experienced severe wind gusts that nearly toppled him and had trouble breathing. Naruto opened his eyes and saw something amazing, leaving him wondering what the devil was doing. He had a bird's eye view of Wave Country's whole town capital. Naruto couldn't see where he had taken off from because he was so high up. He saw only a vast expanse of dark green. He could also see how far along the bridge was. He could see that it was near Fire Country's shore. But he was so far up in the sky that it was unbelievable. Naruto was so taken aback by the sights that he neglected to continue directing chakra into his legs. It goes without saying that he fell. Naruto began to panic as he experienced a strange dizziness. Should he have forgotten his lessons, he would have continued to panic. After inhaling deeply, Naruto concentrated his ki to make himself float in midair. When he had his bearings again, he attempted to fly. He was soon running laps around the clearing after mentally going over and putting his lessons into practice. Naruto chose to see how far he could fly after landing. Naruto left his headband at the clearing, unsure of where he would end up. He didn't want anything on him that would link him to Konohagakure if he landed in hostile territory. When he returned, Naruto merely hoped his headband would still be on. Naruto inhaled deeply before taking off once more and leaving Wave Country. After turning to his left, he continued to fly for an hour. He noticed a change in the landscape while he was in the air. He first noticed the ocean between Fire Country and Wave Country. The ocean's blue eventually gave way to the pale green of the meadows. Then it turned into a forest's dark green. The desert replaced the forest as the final transition. Naruto chose to pause in the following town after feeling exhausted from flying. Naruto began to slow down and descend as he saw one approaching. Eventually, he landed on top of a building, clean, smooth, and silent. He leapt from the top of the building and ran behind it. After that, he wandered around the town in search of a place to eat before returning to Wave Country. Naruto wandered around without finding a restaurant until he came across a convenience store. In an attempt to locate himself, he entered and purchased a map of the elemental countries. Naruto was shocked when he saw it. He had traveled all the way across the elemental countries to Wind Country. Better yet, Sanagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the sand, was just 10 miles from this town. Damn, I'm good, Naruto thought. Naruto strolled around the village until he felt more energized. He noticed that everyone else was staring at him in confusion. The villagers were curious about his fashion sense, as Naruto surmised that they had never seen it before. Ignoring them, Naruto continued to walk without paying attention to his destination. He ran into a man who appeared to be wearing a large black catsuit without a tail. There was a large circle on his chest that was red on one side and yellow on the other. His sandals were black. He had a book bag like object wrapped in white gauze on his back and was wearing makeup. Another red-haired guy was with him. This man had a large sand gourd tied around his chest with a white sash and a brown belt. He was wearing a black shirt with a fishnet shirt underneath, and black pants. He had a tattoo over his left eye, and his shins were bandaged. He had dark rings around his eyes and no eyebrows. They were accompanied by a girl who appeared to be the oldest. I won't describe her because you should already be aware of her appearance, and I have no idea what the fuck that dress of hers is called. As he stood up, the man in the catsuit said, "Hey, watch where the hell you're going next time, runt, or I'll wipe the desert with your face." Naruto gave the man in the catsuit a scowl. His height had been a source of ridicule throughout his life. He wouldn't have done anything before. However, he felt compelled to confront the man for some reason. "Who are you calling a runt?" asked Naruto. "The feline named you. Come down here and say it to my face," said Naruto. "Why don't you grab a ladder and say it to mine?" the man asked. After continuing to glare at him, Naruto grinned and punched the man in the chest. The man was in excruciating pain and had not anticipated that. "Hey look, now we're about the same height." Naruto grinned and punched the man in the face, knocking him back 5 feet. He removed the package from his back and stood up. The young lady replied, "You aren't really going to use Crow against him, are you? I mean, if you give him the chance, I'm sure he'll say he's sorry. All he did was bump into you." The individual replied, "Shut up, Tamari. I'll do what I want. If he wants to die so badly, I say let him." "Well, if you die, don't expect me to take your sorry carcass to Father Kankuro," the girl, Tamari, said. "Good, because I won't need you to." Kankuro shot back, "Now where were we?" A puppet wearing a ripped black t-shirt was inside the package when Kankuro pulled a string off of it. "Now, let me introduce you to Crow," Kankuro said. Naruto gave the puppet a look. How in the hell would a puppet aid this man in combat? He thought. He has no string, unlike puppets, unless his thoughts were cut off when the puppet sprang to life and attacked him. Using his reflexes, Naruto leapt to the side. He watched the dummy shoot Senbon out of its mouth. Naruto leapt over them and launched an energy blast at the small puppet, having first-hand experience with the harm they could do. The puppet was slightly singed, but it barely avoided the blast. Something struck Naruto's chest as he was dropping to the ground. He suddenly fell through a mist of purple. As Naruto hit the ground, his thoughts were, "Wait, what the hell is this?" His blood began to flow more quickly as soon as he touched down. It was flowing more quickly than usual, but that would be expected given that he was engaged in combat. Naruto stood there unaffected as the purple mist he had fallen through began to dissipate while he was thinking about this. Kankuro was stunned as he stood there. He continued, "What the hell? My special poison should have infected you and knocked you unconscious." He gave him a glare. "You tried to poison me? Too bad for you, I'm poisoned by the people in my village almost every day. My blood has become the ultimate antidote for poison, so that won't work on me. Now let's continue this warm-up." After he recovered from his shock, Kankuro sent Crow to attack Naruto once more. Naruto knew it had something to do with the puppet, but he had no idea what he was doing. Naruto felt something all around him as he ran up to Kankuro and prepared to punch him. He became aware that Crow was holding him in a bear hug, with kunai protruding from each joint. Even though Naruto was aware that his skin was harder than before, he could still feel the kunai piercing him, and it hurt a lot. Naruto focused his energy on everything around him and released it in a wave of detonation. Crow was completely destroyed by this. After lowering himself to catch his breath, Naruto approached Kankuro. He was shocked to see Kankuro on his knees. He smirked and made a movement with his index finger after looking up to see Naruto above him. Crow leapt to his feet and lunged towards Naruto's back. After noticing the hand gesture, Naruto spun around and hit the puppet head with a ki blast. Tamari and the red-headed child on the sidelines were a little taken aback. They had never witnessed anyone remove their brother's puppet so quickly. The redhead did something a bit too extravagant just as Tamari was ready to go reprimand him. The blonde said, "Kankuro, you're an embarrassment to our village. Shut up now and come on or I'll kill you." According to Kankuro, but it was him that started it. Gaara. "I don't care. Now let's go. By the way, what's your name?" Naruto was somewhat perplexed. Despite the fact that Kankuro appeared older than Gaara, Kankuro was genuinely afraid of him. Additionally, the sensation of his power immediately set off all of Naruto's danger triggers. When the Kyubi said, "Kid, that power is that of the Shukaku, the one-tailed Tanuki demon," he was unsure of what this was. "I had no idea he was sealed." In the meantime, Gaara's mind was having a similar discussion. "Watch out for that boy. He smells like Kyubi." Gaara was shocked because nothing but blood could silence that damn Tanuki. He might be his jailer. For whatever reason, Naruto replied, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Gaara of the desert. That," pointed to Kankuro, "is my idiotic brother Kankuro, and he pointed to Temari, "is my sister Temari. We are the kids of the Yondaime Kazekage. I know this isn't my place to be asking, but what are you doing this far from Sanagakure?" Temari wasn't prepared to respond to him at first, but she trusted the kid with the black hair for some reason. Temari responded, "We're on a mission. There's a crime syndicate here ran by a man named Taizeki. He used to be a Junin in the Hidden Rock Village, but he became a missing nin. We hear that he's making an underground army that's not approved by Wind Country's daimyo. We were sent here to kill Taizeki and disband his army." Gaara responded, "Let's go Temari, we don't need to be telling out business to foreign people. Look at the way he dresses, it's obvious he isn't from Wind Country. Anyway, I look forward to fighting you, Kyubi." Naruto smirked and said, "Okay, you better bring your best, Shukaku, or I'll kick your ass." That caused him to react a little. With a fire in their eyes, the two gazed at one another. You could tell they wanted to fight right then and there based on the glances they were exchanging. However, they were both aware that they couldn't. It was getting close to night now, and the Sand team needed to be at the town hall by dusk. After saying goodbye to them, he searched for a place to sleep. Since he wouldn't be able to see where he was going, he couldn't fly home. Naruto simply made the decision to sleep atop a structure. He heard a scream just as he was about to fall asleep. As soon as he heard the scream, Naruto immediately stood up and followed. When he arrived, two men wearing black vests and black undershirts with a golden dragon design on the front were standing there. They were wearing black boots and pants as well. They also carried sheathed swords around their waists. Somewhere they were pulling a woman by the arms. Naruto trailed behind the structures. "Stop screaming, girl," one of them threatened, "or I'll find something to gag you with." "Yeah, gag," said the other man. "Ha ha ha, good one Harry." The author laughs at Harry's allusion to Home Alone as he then raised his sword sheath and struck the other person in the head, saying, "Shut up, Marv." No one responded to the woman's repeated cries for assistance. Harry pulled out his sword as they came to a halt. He put it next to the woman's neck on her collarbone. Naruto finally had enough and leapt from the top of the building. He landed silently after floating down. He blasted the two thugs with two key blasts that he had charged up. The woman was released when Harry and Marv immediately passed out from the agony. "Thank the heavens for you. They were about to take me," she exclaimed hurriedly. When Naruto asked, "Take you where?" a voice that sounded familiar said, "To their hideout." He saw the Suna siblings once more when he turned around. Their expressions were all irritated. Temari came out and said, "They were a part of a group of people called the Golden Dragons. Their leader is Taizeki. They're the crime syndicate I mentioned earlier. You just blew our way of finding out where their hideout is." Naruto gave them a fierce look. "So you were gonna let her be captured so you could follow them to their hideout? Do you know how stupid that plan is? They could have led you to a trap. Also, what if you couldn't save her? What would have happened then?" Replied, "The Golden Dragons have been putting a lot of pressure on the mayor of this town. They kidnapped people to put even more pressure on him, making it look like he was to blame for the trouble. The dragons were hoping to have the people of the village force the mayor to step down. They would then have Taizeki run a dirty campaign for mayor. They would then replace the police force with their army and control the city. She was bait to find their base, but you just scrapped that plan. Now what do we do?" "Have any others been captured?" replied Temari. "A lot of people. They're all being held at this compound we can't find anywhere. If they've been kidnapping people, where are they kept?" "They are kept at holding bays probably. We don't know. We would have if." Alright, I get it. What do we do? It's only us. You're not helping us in any way. Why don't you just go back to where you came from?" Gaara then made the decision to butt in. Naruto uttered the words, "Because being here is a hell of a lot more fun. Now what do we?" "I got it, naturally." With a, "Got what?" Kankuro asked. "Would they let people of this village join their group?" "I think they might. Why?" Temari asked. Naruto replied, "I'll join them. I'll learn their security layouts and help you get in and bust the Golden Dragons." "What? That has got to be the dumbest idea I've ever heard," Kankuro exclaimed. Naruto continued, "No it's not. Think about it. If I join and they find out I'm a spy, they can't connect me to you since me and Kankuro fought and they would think I was working for someone else. Also, they don't know where I'm from, so they can't pin the blame on anyone. Also, if worst comes to worst I could bust all the people out of there. It's foolproof." Temari replied, "You can't take out the Golden Dragons all by your." Gaara decided to intervene at this point. Leave it to Mari. If he wants to go on a suicide mission, then I say let him. If he lives, we get this mission done earlier than we expected. If he dies, well, it's his fault. I vote for doing it. Kankuro replied, he seems strong. I say let him do it. Either way we get paid. Temari exhaled. Alright, if the idiot wants to die, then I say let him. Naruto laughed and replied, don't worry, I'm not gonna die. I'm a lot stronger than others are. So how will we do this? 4 days later the following day, Naruto joined the Golden Dragons. To gain a reputation with them, he went out into the streets and beat up some random thugs. He was required to face 10 of their thugs at once as part of an initiation test. Rewind. Naruto was about to begin the Golden Dragon's initiation test. Naruto waited until a man emerged from the crowd wearing brown Anbu armor and gray hair. A hidden rock village headband was wrapped around his head and placed on his forehead. A golden dragon wrapped around the headband. The black clothing worn underneath and the armor also did this. The individual replied, I am Taizeki, leader of the Golden Dragons. You want to join us, you gotta be able to fight the part. Here's a few of our forces. Let's see how you handle them. Boys, don't hold back now. The guys began to move in at that point. They all had golden dragon tattoos on their faces and were dressed in black vests and pants with golden dragons running down the legs. On the backs of their vests, another was coiling around itself. In any case, Naruto was moved in by the guys. After some time of training, Naruto jumped over the sweep thrown by one of them to his right and avoided the punch thrown by one in front of him. Naruto caught the man in the face by extending his right leg. When the man failed to punch him, he landed and leapt at him. He pulled out his right leg and made a full circle to the right. The leg went off as he turned, striking the man in the right side of the face. Then, as a man attempted to smash his head in with a 2x4 piece of wood, Naruto's expression turned irritated. After turning around, Naruto seized the man by the throat. He knocked out 2 men by throwing him as far to the right as he could. Then, using his right arm to block a punch from the right and his right leg to block a kick from in front of him, Naruto punched a man on his left. Naruto leapt off his left leg and took the man on his right by the arm. He turned to the right to punch the other man with his left arm while bringing his left leg up to the side of the person in front of him. The final 4 arrived and attempted to beat Naruto down as he was attempting to stand up. The 2 who were knocked down by the person Naruto threw got back up. Simply taking the kicks, Naruto snatched one of them by the leg and flung him into another. Then he got back up after rolling out of the way of another kick. The 2 charged at Naruto, who waited. He waited until the very last moment. Naruto leapt at that moment. The 2 men were moving too quickly to halt. They failed to notice a brick wall behind Naruto because they were so consumed by their anger at him. They knocked themselves out when they ran into it. Naruto approached the thugs who had been knocked out and tossed them all into a large pile. After giving Taizeki a quick glance, he said, next. While clapping his hands, Taizeki exclaimed, My, impressive Tsuba Masumi, you can consider yourself a member of the Golden Dragons. When Naruto, Tsuba Masumi, heard that, a smile spread across his face. For this mission, Naruto had to adopt a completely different persona. In order to sound different, he wore bright blue contacts, all dark red clothing, cut his hair to a mere 1/2 inch in length, and modified his accent. Well, if that was the only thing I had to do, your group must really suck. I beat those guys without even bleeding. Well, you'll find being in this organization a lot harder than you can imagine. What the hell does that mean? You'll find out in due time. You can come here at the crack of dawn tomorrow to pick up your jacket and get your room. Flashback end. Naruto had been residing in the apartment complexes that surrounded the warehouses ever since. He hadn't been forced to abduct people from the streets. He was required to perform manual labor and move boxes. In addition, they were teaching him and the other thugs how to fight. Naruto was currently observing the sky from his room. Coming in, one of the thugs who had witnessed his initiation said, Come on, we got a job to do. They were promoted to guard the inmates who had been taken by the public today. This was the day Naruto had been dreading. He was aware that he would have to see the villagers' dejected expressions and pleading. He wasn't sure he could handle it. They intended to attack tonight after he gave the Suna trio access to all of their plans. Until then, Naruto would simply have to suppress it. When Naruto arrived at the warehouse, he went to the basement and discovered that everyone was being whipped and had their wrists and ankles chained to the wall. Naruto had to will himself not to shoot at the man who was using the 4 ponytails to whip the girl. Naruto was about to patrol the building after turning away from the inmates when he suddenly had second thoughts. Temari had aquamarine eyes and 4 ponytails. Naruto was unable to contain himself at that moment. He lunged towards the man who was thrashing Temari and struck him in the back of the head. Unconscious, the man fell before he hit the ground. To break the chains holding Temari high off the ground, Naruto leapt over her head. Then he broke the ones that were holding her ankles in place. After giving her a quick glance, he said, "Come on, let's get you out of here." He leapt over the crowd of thugs there and picked her up bridal style. After kicking down the door, he vanished from view, disappearing 2 blocks away to the top of a building. He put Temari down. "Damn. I thought I was a goner. Thanks for the save, Naruto. I owe you," she said, her face slightly flushed. "It was nothing. It was the least I could do. Besides, what kind of person would I be if I didn't help?" Naruto offers her a broad, fox-like grin. After blushing even more, Temari remarked, "So, Yua, I think we need to find Gaara and Kankuro and take them out before they take out the city." A little uneasy, Naruto uttered the words, "Yeah, I guess we had better get going then." Temari was about to leave when she became aware that they were on a building's roof. "How are we going to get down?" she asked, turning to face Naruto. After glancing at her, Naruto remarked, "That's easy." Then, without warning, he jumped down and picked her up bridal style. When he was insane and ready to scream, Temari stared at him, but nothing happened until they hit the ground. They made a safe landing. "What the hell were you doing? Do you know you could have killed me?" she said after striking Naruto in the head. "Can we go find your brothers now?" Naruto asked, massaging the lump on his head. "Oh yeah. And don't think you're off the hook. What, did you think I would forget?" she said, putting aside her resentment of Naruto. With a deadpan tone, Naruto said, "Kinda." With a snort, Temari concluded, "You're not even worth the energy." City Hall. 20 minutes later, at City Hall, Naruto and Temari met up with the Suna brothers. Kankuro yelled, "What?" at the top of his lungs when they told them. Gaara, who hardly ever displayed emotion, even had a look of anger on his face, which was quite unexpected. Naruto said, "Oh yeah, how did you get captured anyway?" as he turned to face Temari. Kankuro continues to scream, "Idiot. You save her and you don't even ask her how she was captured, you dumbass." Disregarding that remark, Naruto asked, "Anyway, how did you get captured?" "They overpowered me. It turns out the thugs they hire are taught some jutsu. I wasn't carrying my fan and was beaten down." "Oh yeah." Kankuro replied. He extracts a storage scroll from inside his suit. He inserts his hands inside it after unfolding it. They are clinging to Temari's battle fan when he extracts them. "Here you go. I found it a couple miles from here." Naruto replied, "It sounds like you rely on your fan too much if you ask me." With a furious expression on her face, Temari slammed his head and asked, "Who asked you?" Once again, Naruto rubbed his bruise and muttered, "You need anger management classes." Once he had calmed down, he asked, "So when do we destroy the place? I want to end this as soon as possible." "We'll attack tonight. I want this over now," said Gaara, who then assumed command. And Kankuro added, "I got no choice but to agree." Temari replied, "Might as well. There's no arguing with Gaara when he gets like this." Then Gaara said, "Good." Naruto continued, "All right, then." The compound has one basement, a floor level, and another floor above it. On the ground floor there's a staircase to the basement. You 3 will make a distraction to draw all the thugs over to the east side. There you will stall them, not kill them. Then I will go down to the basement through the stairway on the left side and free the prisoners. Then we kill the guards and kill Taizeki. We get in, we get out, you get paid, I get to fight, everyone wins. According to Temari, the plan sounds too simple. It sounds simple because this is simple. We don't need to keep anyone alive. We don't need to hold back. We just need to save the prisoners and kill everyone else. Now let's go. We need to time this right. Naruto and the Suna siblings then left. After 30 minutes the Suna siblings and Naruto had reached the compound. Then Naruto turned back to them and said, "Hold up a second." Then Naruto lost consciousness. Surprised by his speed, the Suna trio was waiting there. Suddenly, Naruto appeared in front of them after they heard faint bangs in the distance. Naruto replied, "All right, I just knocked out their cameras. They won't see you coming. You guys know what to do." Naruto hurried to the warehouse entrance to wait for the Suna siblings after they nodded. They were supposed to breach the wall across from the entrance. Naruto could use that as a sufficient diversion to descend to the basement. He would lead them up through the hole the Suna siblings had made once he had set everyone free. They would then murder the guards. After hearing a loud explosion and the sound of all the machines shutting down, Naruto didn't have to wait long. In search of the stairs, Naruto dashed into the compound. On the other wall, he discovered them. Some of the thugs were pursuing him as he ran for them. They yelled, "Fire style, fireball jutsu," and performed some hand seals. After making 2 shadow clones in a flash, Naruto exclaimed, "Wind style, great breakthrough." And both of them performed hand seals before a powerful windstorm blew the fire attacks away. While the fakes leapt to the left to capture many of the golden dragons on one side, the real Naruto continued on. They performed various hand seals. One shouted, "Fire style, burning ash accumulation," and, when the other released his jutsu, "Wind style, great breakthrough," the first shadow clone clicked his teeth, causing the ash to explode, covering the thugs with a black mist of ash. The thugs were killed by the breakthrough jutsu, which also gave the fire more power. After reaching the stairs, Naruto proceeded to the basement. There were 5 more guards when he entered. They all took up fighting positions as soon as they saw him. Smirking, Naruto leapt to the ground. He discovered the people on him right away after landing. A third person dropkicked him after he was punched in the face and then kicked in the stomach. Naruto struck a wall after flying. His attacker remarked, "That was way too easy." With a sly smile, Naruto slipped out of view. Lightning style, false darkness. He yelled as he appeared behind them and then performed some hand seals. Naruto then held out both of his hands, and a black mass of electricity appeared between them, shooting at the thugs. It sliced through all the thugs, taking the shape of a fox. As Naruto strolled around, he noticed that the prisoners were pleased to see him. It was clear to them that he wasn't with the golden dragons as they watched the battle. Naruto led the group as he broke the chains that held them and led them all the way out. He noticed that the Suna team was being overpowered when they reached the ground floor. In addition to the 2 shadow clones manning the stairs, Naruto made 10 more. One stayed behind to escort the people out, while the others ran out to battle some of the thugs. Then, using his right hand, Naruto charged up ki until he felt he had had enough. He shouted, "Riot Javelin," and tossed it out. 20 thugs were eliminated when the attack flew out and exploded. Naruto rushed to the scene of the explosion and began viciously beating the thugs to pieces. The Suna siblings began to fight back after interpreting that as a sign to not back down. Gaara surrounded people with his sand, controlling abilities, and began destroying them all at once. Kankuro stepped behind Tamari and released the reassembled crow. She revealed 3 purple moons on her battle fan by flapping it. Crow released 4 purple pellets after folding its arms back at the elbows. Then Tamari yelled, "Wind style," cutting whirlwind, and swung her battle fan as hard as she could. A tornado struck the pellets as it flew out. All of the thugs were surrounded by a purple mist that entered the whirlwind's wounds after the pellets exploded. The thugs then fell to the ground, unconscious. After that, the Suna siblings rushed to Naruto. He led them up to the 3rd floor and showed them the stairs. The room was empty and all the lights were out when they arrived. Then the lights came on, and Taizeki was sitting there surrounded by 50 armed guards. He said, My, impressive. You were able to defeat over 100 guards and free the prisoners. Now you will face my elite. Get ready, cuz you're gonna die, leave none alive." Naruto and the Suna siblings were attacked by the guards. While the trio eliminated the guards from a distance, Naruto fled to engage in combat. He leapt over one and used a ki blast to blast another. Twisting, he kicked another. He leapt to a great height and launched a riot javelin. 5 of the guards were taken away when it exploded. Then he collapsed and rushed at another guard. 3 guards behind him were knocked out when he kicked him in the stomach after punching him in the face. After concentrating ki into his arms, Naruto unleashed a powerful energy blast that eliminated 5 more. After that, Naruto called out, "Fire style, burning ash accumulation jutsu," and performed some hand seals. He called out, "Wind style, great breakthrough," after doing more. Then, with a click of his teeth, the lethal combination exploded, eliminating 15 more. The Sand siblings were tending to the others. Naruto noticed that Taizeki was already upright when he turned to face him. After exchanging glances, he and Naruto charged. Punches were thrown as they ran toward one another and met in the middle. Then they got into a full-on taijutsu fight. Punches were being thrown and avoided as if they were as natural as breathing. In fact, they hardly got any hits. After a while, Naruto began to grow weary and pushed ki through his body, which made him stronger and faster but also damaged his internal organs. Naruto then began launching a flurry of punches and kicks at Taizeki. Then he swatted him off. He raises his ki in both arms and draws them back. Then he shouts, "Cyclone Buster," and shoots Taizeki several times. Taizeki takes them all in the chest as she stands up. Then Naruto feints and resurfaces, his left palm in Taizeki's face. Then he exclaims, "Time to die," and launches a large ball of energy at close range. After that, Naruto faces the Suna trio. They defeated and eliminated every guard. Naruto only killed 25. 5 used a riot javelin, 5 used a ki blast, and 15 used burning ash and breakthrough. Naruto felt the building tremble just as he was about to give them a compliment. He noticed that everything was on the verge of collapsing. He realized it came from his altercation with Taizeki. Then he punched a hole in the wall and lunged out of the structure. He observed that Gaara teleported his whole family to a nearby roof and conjured up sand to envelop them. Naruto joined them by flying to the roof. Just as they were about to rejoice, Gaara let out a painful grunt. Gaara wasn't feeling well. Shukaku could see that Naruto was a formidable foe through Gaara's eyes. As a psychotic maniac, Shukaku repeatedly ordered Gaara to murder Naruto. Despite his best efforts, Gaara was unable to resist. Gaara grunted, "Shukaku, stay away from me," as the others walked around him in an attempt to assist him. He then leapt from the building to distance himself from the others as much as possible. Before Kyubi chose to butt in Naruto, he was unsure of what that was. It turned out to be the Shukaku. It's attempting to occupy Gaara. Why? Shukaku must have noticed your skills. He was constantly bouncing checks that he was unable to cash. Gaara may lose whatever remains of him that is capable of fending off the Shukaku if we do not assist him. Naruto flew in an attempt to locate Gaara. He located Gaara and landed next to him. "Hey Gaara, you okay?" Naruto noticed that Gaara's eyes were different as she turned to face him and said, "Oh, I'm more than okay, I'm free," in a voice that wasn't hers. They were yellow with a yellow dot inside the diamond and a large black diamond in the middle. The diamond on the eye's edge was surrounded by black patterns. "Kid, those are Shukaku's eyes. He is at liberty. Before he does more harm, you must defeat him." Gazing at the Gaara who was possessed by Shukaku, Naruto remarked, "Damn, I have my work cut out for me." 5:30. Wind Country, unnamed town. After hearing what the Kyubi had to say, Naruto stiffened. Although he had little knowledge of demons, he was aware that the Biju had large-ass forms and that prisoners could transform into them if they were able to take control of their captors' bodies. Avoid allowing him to breathe, even for a brief moment. You'll regret it if you do. Union Undergrounds, across the nation, are Papa Roaches, Q to be loved. In an attempt to defeat Shukaku, Gaara before the big form appeared, Naruto flew at him. After attempting a right hook, Naruto encountered Gaara's ultimate sand defense. Naruto knew he had to leave before his wrist broke after it became trapped in the sand. Naruto retreated and attempted to kick, but the sand defense stopped him once more. Every time Naruto attempted to strike Gaara with any kind of attack, he was apprehended. He then used the burning ash accumulation jutsu to create 9 shadow clones. Gaara was caught in his sand when the Kage Bunshin breathed the ash on him. The gas was then exploded, trapping the Shukaku. Possessed Gaara inside a glass dome. Together, the clones and the original Naruto launched an attack on the dome. They rushed inside and began striking the glass ball. Gaara was able to bring up another defense and blow them away after they managed to get a few hits in. "Don't be shy, child." Naruto turned to face Gaara and began firing quickly at him. He launched an incalculable number of ki blasts before launching a riot javelin into the yellow dust cloud. "Ha, ha. Motherfucker, GTA, 10 points. You watch too much television." He saw Shukaku. Gaara there with the shield down, a hole in his shirt, and a singed belly after the dust had blown away. Naruto zoomed over to Gaara after concentrating ki throughout his body. Then, for good measure, he kicked Shukaku. Gaara in the head and punched him in the face, stomach, and chest. Gaara rolled backwards and off the roof they were fighting on after he kicked her. Shukaku was engrossed in it when he hit the ground. The area where Shukaku, Gaara used to be was then covered in a huge amount of sand. Holy shish. This cannot be fantastic. After protecting his eyes from the sand, Naruto heard an unnatural roar. The Shukaku was standing over him when he looked up. "Be careful, child." Naruto ran during that period. Avoiding the Shukaku's thrashing and the pieces of the building they were standing on, he phased out. Naruto targeted each of the Shukaku's shoulders with riot javelins while hovering over him. Immediately after falling off, the arms reformed. 20 feet above the Shukaku's head, Naruto flew. Naruto faced down and twisted his body parallel to the floor. The chant that every DBZ fan knows is, "Guess I gotta use my trump card." Naruto cupped his hands behind his back as he uttered the words. "Ka. Me. Ha. Me. Ha." He unleashed the Kamehameha wave, his trump card. Shukaku's entire body was blown apart from the inside out when the blue beam of energy struck his head. Breathing heavily, Naruto waited in midair. Gaara was on the floor when the smoke cleared. Thinking he had won the fight, Naruto grinned. He was mistaken, boy. I wasn't going to leave you hanging like that for a month, so please hurry up. Gaara brought the sand back and opened his eyes. Well, Shukaku's, creating Shukaku. Son of a bitch, Kyubi thought as Shukaku's enormous arms punched Naruto. That hit sent him hurtling through the air. After a while, Naruto managed to catch himself, only to be hit by a ball of air that Shukaku had launched. I forgot about the Rankuden, damn it. Naruto had a dejected expression on his face when he stood up. How the hell can I beat this thing? He asked himself as he glanced up at Shukaku. It reforms after I blow it up, and Gaara forms the raccoon after I beat the living daylights out of him. What am I supposed to do? Kyubi, why in the world aren't you responding to these inquiries? Hold on while I think. That's it, insert Jeopardy song here. You must perform the Super Saiyan transformation again, Naruto. Great, but how in the world can I accomplish that? So, how did you feel the last time? Well, I was so furious, angry, sad, and depressed because I thought Sasuke had died. The trigger must be negative emotions. Kid, try to relive that experience. As he closed his eyes, Naruto reflected on the previous incident. He was pushed out of the way of death by his best friend. He was upset with Haku, angry with Sasuke and himself, and saddened by the fact that he was responsible for Sasuke's death. A tear escaped from Naruto's eye without his knowledge. He experienced a surge of power and negative feelings. He clung to those emotions, attempting to elevate them. He pushed them away with a shout. His dark blue eyes turned bluish, green, and his extremely dark blonde hair turned pure gold. Additionally, he exuded a golden aura from his body. It was amazing to feel the power pulsing through his body. At last, I succeeded. Once more, I arrived at Super Saiyan. You did, indeed. Now go over there and kick Shukaku's ass now, or else the downfalls of Super Saiyan will catch up with you and you won't be able to fight. Without further convincing, Naruto launched himself at Shukaku, who was already approaching to observe the significant power boost. Naruto flew to the underside of Shukaku's head. Naruto destroyed Shukaku's stomach with a punch. Soon after, he continued to fly and burst out the back. As he flew away, he turned around and released a riot javelin. He then detonated Shukaku's back. Sensing the impact, Shukaku spun around and located him by the golden energy trail he was leaving in his wake. After growling at Naruto, the Shukaku hurled a barrage of Fuden, Rankuden, wind style, drilling air bullet, in his direction. All of the attacks were swatted away by Naruto as he stood there. Naruto struck them hard enough to send them flying back at Shukaku after the third one. Shukaku leapt back as his own attacks were returning, leveling city blocks all around. After diving at Shukaku, Naruto came to a halt 10 meters ahead of his head. With a shout of Cyclone Buster, he launched his assault. After 20 quick bursts of fire, he targeted the Shukaku's head and unleashed a powerful blast. He observed Gaara landing on the ground and forming into the raccoon. Above it, Naruto waited for another opportunity to attack. Hey, kid, I had an idea just now. What? Well, perhaps we can put an end to this if we wake Gaara. What about the blows I gave him earlier, before the enormous raccoon appeared? I believe he was shielded from all those blows by a backup sand armor. That's insane. So insane it might just work. Beat his ass now. Powering up, Naruto deliberately revealed his position. In an attempt to choke Naruto in the sand of its abdomen, the reformed Shukaku seized and devoured him. Unable to breathe, Naruto sank to his stomach. While yelling and spreading all of his limbs, he concentrated a lot of energy around his body and then let it flare out all at once. It destroyed the Shukaku and sang Gaara as it formed a massive orange sphere that encircled him and grew. Since Shukaku was releasing so much energy, Naruto flew over to where he could feel it. He then grabbed Gaara by the neck and punched him in the head. Gaara's eyes returned to normal when she opened them. Gaara's breathing became labored and she said, "Thanks." Naruto replied, "Come on, let's get you back to your siblings." In an attempt to figure out where the hell they went, Naruto grabbed Gaara and took off. Tamari waved him down there while he was in the air. He carried Gaara before him as he landed. "Thank you," was said as Tamari rushed to embrace him after he landed. She was flushed when she released him. He was, too. "What happened to you?" was her hasty attempt to change the topic. Naruto told a lie. "Oh, I don't know how this happened. It started during the fight. I don't know what it does." "How did you do it?" asked Gaara. What was the response from Naruto? Gaara declared, defeat me when I was in that form. I was trying to protect these two. Points to Temari and Kankuro. They were innocent in this entire affair, and I wouldn't be able to stand it if some innocent people got hurt for nothing. Now excuse me, while I pass out. Before Naruto's golden aura and transformations vanished and he returned to unconsciousness, the siblings' expressions were one of confusion. Next day. 7:30 a.m. The following morning, Naruto was sitting on a bed. When the door opened and Temari appeared, wearing her typical outfit, he glanced around, wondering where he was. She stated, good morning, sleepyhead, I was wondering if you were gonna sleep all day. Naruto followed Temari out of their hotel and to the edge of the village, saying, trust me, the thought crossed my mind. Ah well, hey, we're getting ready to leave the village. Cool, I'll see you off, I gotta leave anyways. Where are you from anyway? Temari's expression changed to one of shock. Ah, well. I got nothing to lose. I'm from Konohagakure no Sato. They intended to attack the village where he was from in a few months. She considered telling him, but then she realized that doing so would make her a traitor. She had to stay, even if she didn't like her father. The only person who showed her younger brother respect was her. He needed her there, even if he never acknowledged it. Moreover, blood was more powerful than water. She continued, oh. So are you competing in the Chunin exams being held there in a few months? The response from Naruto was, yeah. My teacher will have no choice but to recommend us. Why? My teammate is special in the village's eyes and the council basically bends over backwards to kiss his ass. Gaara and Kankuro were picked up along the way. Your teammate sounds like he has the easy life. They arrived at the road leading to Sanagakure no Sato while walking in silence. Well, Temari said, this is my way. Naruto pointed past the sand dunes and said, yeah, I gotta go this way. Temari replied, keep you safe. I'll see you at the Chunin exams. With a sly smile, Temari bent down to give Naruto a kiss on the lips. As she stepped back, Naruto stood there with a glassy expression on his face and said, that's something to remember me by. Then he replied, yeah. She led her brothers to Sanagakure while giggling. After 3 minutes of standing there with a glazed expression, Naruto realized he should have been in Wave Country. He took off and flew to the country to Wave. Wave Country at 8:30. Naruto landed in the same clearing where he had taken off. He called Sasuke's name as he went around, but nobody picked up. After walking around, Naruto discovered his headband exactly where he had left it. Naruto grabbed it and hurried to Tazuna's house, knocking on the door. Inari emerged. Naruto! He exclaimed, and embraced Naruto. He replied, why are you here? Your team already left. With a puzzled expression, Naruto exclaimed, what? Inari took a sheet of paper out of his overalls and said, yeah, your team already left. Sasuke said to give this to you when you return. Sasuke's handwriting was on it. It stated, Naruto. What on earth are you doing? We had to leave since Sakura and Kakashi were tired of waiting on you. I'm writing this on August 12th. The trip from Wave to Konohagakure takes 3 days. We should arrive by the 15th, I believe. You will be marked a missing.nin if you don't arrive before us. From Sasuke. Naruto read it 3 more times after taking a look at it. It was the 15th today. He needed to arrive quickly. Just as Naruto turned, Inari grabbed hold of his arm. Inari insisted, come on, Naruto. Stay and have some food first. Sorry Inari, but I have to get to my village before my team does. I'll come back and visit again, I promise. Replied Naruto. He began sprinting toward the village where Inari's family resided. Encased in a white aura to accelerate his flight, he took off once he was certain he was out of Inari's line of sight. With Sakura, Kakashi, and Sasuke. All of Sasuke's efforts to delay their arrival in the Leaf Village had been in vain. They continued to move. Kakashi was also traveling more quickly than was necessary. Sakura believed it was to ensure they arrived in the village before the J.C. Penney shopping spree. Sasuke, however, was wiser. He took this action to prevent Naruto from arriving before them. He was attempting to kill Naruto. Does he not realize that failing to monitor a student outside of the village could result in punishment? Yes, that can only be given out if the parents file a complaint. Kakashi is also off the hook because Naruto is an orphan. This must have been on his mind for some time. He's pushing us as hard as we can, damn it. I am grateful to Kami for Sakura's weakness at moments like these. Naruto might outpace us by a year because she is slowing us down so much. Sakura began to grow weary and requested that the pace be slowed. Kakashi snarled and stopped. Around 9 o'clock, they arrived in the village. They had to build hop to the Hokage tower because it was quicker after checking in with the village guards. They entered the Hokage's office after checking in with the secretary, and Kakashi said, "Sir, I have some interesting news to tell you about Naruto." A recognizable voice said, "Don't bother Kakashi, I beat you by 20 minutes. They all turned to face Naruto, who was smirking and leaning against the left wall with his arms folded. The Hokage pointed to him and said, "Yes, Kakashi." He went on, "Naruto has told me how you left Wave Country not waiting for him to show up." Knowing he had been caught, Kakashi asked, "What was I supposed to do?" Naruto said, "Wait for me to show up. We don't have to wait for your sorry loser ass to show up," Sakura yelled. "You guys left on the 12th. When I went missing, you guys only waited for 2 days before leaving. What you were supposed to do is send a letter back to the Hokage telling him that you needed more time. Besides, we had 30 days at the most to complete the mission. It took us 3 days to get there. It was a week between our 2 fights with Zabuza. 3 days for me to wake up. Another week on top of that. I was gone 5 days. That leaves 5 days. You guys didn't even wait the last 5 days for me." The Banshee exclaimed, "We don't have to wait for you. Actually, you guys should've. Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, I expect your reports on my desk by tomorrow." Kakashi questioned, "Why doesn't Naruto have to write one Hokage-sama?" Naruto shot back, "I already did, Cyclops." With a tone that told you not to mess with him, Sarutobi said, "Okay, Naruto, stay back here, the rest of you are dismissed." Sasuke punched Naruto in the shoulder as the others departed. "Okay, what you got for me, old man?" Naruto asked, turning to face Sarutobi. Suddenly, the Hokage said, "You broke the seal, didn't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about," said Naruto, pretending to be unintelligent. "I'm talking about your abilities that were sealed away by your father." Naruto asked, "You knew about those?" "Yes, I knew about them. I was the one who recommended them." Naruto exclaimed, "What the hell, you old bastard?" "Naruto, I know that you're mad, but think about it. Your family's abilities are amazing. So amazing that I can't trust you to learn of them by yourself. Who would teach you? If you found them and were in a foul mood, you would destroy this planet. I had to wait until I was sure you wouldn't kill everyone out of rage," the Sandaime replied. "You're right, old man. If I wasn't calm, I would have done something that I'd regret. You were right to lock them away from me, I wasn't thinking. I'm sorry for yelling at you," Naruto said after calming down and giving it some thought. "No problem. Also, your father left you something. He had an old training ground that he always went to train in. He put something over the grounds so he was the only person to pass through them. I think it might have been blood related, and since you're his son, you might be able to see how your father trained." Naruto had hurried out of the office, only to return 3 minutes later when he realized he had forgotten its location. "Okay, old man. I'll see you later." Unknown region. Naruto located the general area of the location by following the map that the Hokage gave him. According to the Sandaime, he followed Minato to the training area but was unable to pass through an invisible wall. He attempted some of his most powerful jutsu, but it was ineffective. He is aware that it was in this general vicinity. Naruto continued walking until he reached a clearing. There was nothing unusual about this location. 3 training logs, a field of grass, nearby trees, nothing. Naruto noticed something as he ventured deeper into the clearing. There was a blue panel with a metal ball on top when he arrived. "Fingerprint scan and retina registration please," a mechanical voice said as Naruto turned to face the panel. The voice said, "Fingerprint scan and retina registration please." Naruto still searched for it after he jumped and heard it. He glanced down and saw that it was coming from the blue panel. "Hey, dumbass. Hurry up and do the fingerprint scan and retina registration already." After placing the items on the back burner, Naruto touched the blue section. Then, in some way, the metal ball emerged and aimed a blue beam of light directly at his eyes. A section of the clearing opened up, revealing a circular metal platform 10 feet in diameter beneath the machine that said, "Naruto Uzumaki-san, welcome." The platform began to descend. In a panic, Naruto began searching for a way out. There was none, he discovered. He simply gave up trying and bided his time until the platform carried him to his destination. 5 minutes later, the platform came to a stop. As soon as Naruto left the platform, lights began to illuminate the area around him. Then, somewhere, they lit a path. He came to a room by following the trail. A large monitor connected to what appeared to be a supercomputer was visible when he opened the door. Someone was standing there when the monitor came on. He was muscular, wearing the formal robes of the Hokage, and had blue eyes and yellow, blonde hair. He stated, "Hello, I am Son Goku Jr., but most know me as Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, and if this video is playing, you must be my son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze's son. In shock and absolute silence, Naruto simply watched. How? Was all Naruto could utter because he was so shocked. Well, I'm sure you're wondering what this place is and how this whole thing happened. Blah blah, you know the story. Well, it began with my ancestor, Goku, Minato said. Aliens of the same species as Frieza invaded Earth after I defeated Vegeta Jr. In the World Tournament on my 20th birthday. Vegeta Jr. and I fought them off, but there were hundreds of thousands of them and only 2 of us. Remember, Piccolo died in GT. By this time, the Yondaime began crying as he reflected on his past. He went on. There were too many of them for us to fight. We were forced to leave the planet, going to another one that humans lived on. When we left, we swore on our ancestors that we would kill them all for destroying our home. Naruto was stunned and just stood there. The Kyubi told him about another Earth, but he never imagined they were that far along. Just as he was about to ask more questions, Minato resumed her conversation. This enormous creature, the Kyubi no Kitsune, the same one I sealed in you, cornered me when we landed on this planet and demanded to know my identity and origins. I told him the same story I told you, and he appeared to retreat after that. Veggie Jr. and I went to the closest town to get directions to a city after we met up. We reached Konoha. I only left Super Saiyan after telling your mother and the Sandaime, and I remained there for the remainder of my life. I discovered that Rock Lee was the son of Vegeta Jr., who was then known as Jufu Lee. I discussed it with your mother, Kushina, and made the decision to have a child after witnessing his family's joy with the new member. You were there to help. However, my dreams of a happy family were dashed by the Kyubi attack. Anyway, Naruto. I left many recordings on here of how to focus your ki, our basic attacks, and where you can find some training equipment. I just want to say that I'm sorry for everything that happened to you. I'm guessing that the village didn't listen to my last wish. I just hope that all of this will redeem me in some way. I'm sorry and I love you, Naruto, so did your mother. The transmission then stopped. After the transmission, Naruto took a while to gather himself. Then he strolled around what he thought was a massive subterranean laboratory. He was appreciating every invention his father had created during his free time. A room with the ability to control gravity so that it is 1,000 times greater than normal. A case filled with weights, each weighing approximately 1,000 pounds. Something that could fly around like a bird and hover off the ground. Additionally, they could all be compressed into capsules for portability. Naruto returned to the computer and typed in the Sun family's history. A number of things emerged from there. The first dealt with Naruto's encounter with Bulma and his participation in the first martial arts tournament. The second concerned the second martial arts tournament and his victory over the Red Ribbon Army. The third focused on his battles with the Demon King Piccolo up until Gohan's birth. The altercation with Raditz and the other Saiyans dominated the fourth. Their adventures on Namek and with the Namekians dominated the fifth. The sixth was about their altercations with Garlic Jr. and Frieza's comeback. Their whole history with the androids was covered in the seventh. Their altercations with Majin Buu were the subject of the eighth. Their journey across the galaxy in search of the Black Star Dragon Balls was the subject of the ninth. On the 10th, Super 17's HFIL, Home for Infinite Losers, or Hell, Breakout was discussed. The final one dealt with their battles with the Shadow Dragons. The videos simply displayed old footage of the altercations. When Naruto saw some of the moves used there, he was astounded. He was intrigued by a move he saw known as the after image. When Naruto entered it into the computer, a video of a young Goku fighting someone with it appeared. In essence, when their opponent launched an attack, they would launch themselves into a brief, incredibly fast burst, outpacing their opponent's senses. A temporary after image is left behind until the opponent's senses adjust and they recognize that their target has moved. Naruto's attention was drawn to another technique that was employed. The term for it was psychokinesis. It was used to use mental power to control both people and objects. Chaozu was the first to use it. Naruto discovered that the after image was not too difficult after honing these skills in the now named gravity room. All he needed to do was transfer a little ki into his legs, and he was gone. However, psychokinesis was a completely different matter. Naruto was unable to make it function. Why wasn't Goku able to do what his brother could? After putting that idea out of his head, Naruto entered the gravity room. It even had lifting weights, he noticed. Naruto simply went to the front console and set the weight to twice gravity. He thudded to the ground. Naruto made an unsuccessful attempt to raise himself. Before he could stand again, Naruto knelt down and waited. He struggled to stand up, but eventually managed to do so. Waiting for his body to acclimate to the gravity, Naruto stood there. He tried to move in the gravity by taking a few slow steps. After 20 minutes, he noticed that moving was much easier. Even punches were being thrown in there by him. To see if he could use some robots to fight or shoot at him or to dodge, he went to the computer by the room's door. Naruto prepared for combat by deploying the fighting robots. 10 robots entered the GR after the room marked, "Robots," opened. They all ran at him after glancing at him. Waiting for them to attack, Naruto assumed a fighting stance. One robot chose to initiate the battle by approaching Naruto and slowly punching him. The robot broke into pieces when Naruto struck it with his knuckle. After that, Naruto rushed to the robots and kicked them all until they were destroyed. Wait, Naruto thought as he glanced at the robots. It was simple, far too simple. When Naruto approached the computer, he noticed that it had an advanced settings button. When he pushed it, a chart displaying every robot's capability appeared. Naruto simply mumbled, "Idiot," and struck himself in the head. In more complex settings, he could personally alter the robot's capabilities. The settings he had it on were all at level 0, and he noticed that they were measured in levels. After examining them, Naruto adjusted the statistics to improve his training. Level 18 Speed, Level 14 Strength, Level 20 Endurance. Level 20 Stamina, Level 15 Ki Blasts, Level 14 in Combat. Average Strength, Ki Blasts, Fighting. Below Average Speed, Above Average Endurance, Stamina. Naruto deployed 10 robots and preserved those attributes. Waiting for the robots to emerge, Naruto stood at their door. They were entirely distinct from the others when they were released. The other ones appeared to have a thin layer of wire wrapped around them and a metal skeleton. Their bodies were encased in thin black armor. All around them, white armor plating molded to the contours of their bodies. The armor came to a stop 3 inches from their neck, elbows, and knees. They all assumed a combat stance. When compared to the other robots, Naruto saw a total improvement. By looking, you could tell. Naruto assumed a combat stance. A robot lunged at him and punched him in the left. Naruto was taken aback by the speed and found the punch to be extremely painful, barely able to block it. With his left hand flying, he struck the robot squarely in the face, causing tiny fragments of armor to fly off. Then Naruto gave the robot a knee to the stomach. After bending over in agony, the robot returned with an uppercut to Naruto's chin. The other robots then intervened. They began punching Naruto quickly after crowding him. Naruto barely managed to avoid them all. After dodging a robot's blow to his right, he grabbed his arm, swung him around, and tossed him aside. Fearing that he would destroy the GR and never be able to fix it, Naruto charged ki into his hands before letting it go. He simply chose to use his bare hands to fight. A robot rose and moved behind him, but he jumped over it. With a shout of Cyclone Rage, Naruto rushed the robot. He created the hand.to hand attack himself. The robot faced Naruto as it turned around. He held his right hand in front of him with a block and his left hand in a fist as he charged the robot. He struck the robot in the face with his right arm as he lashed out with his right. He then kicked it in the stomach with his left leg after punching it with his left. After that, he turned around and punched his right heel to the chest, followed by his right elbow and fist to the face, before finishing with a punch to the sternum with his left hand. The robot crashed into the GR's wall after flying off in a mess. Then it burst. Naruto was about to applaud when a ki blast struck him in the back. Naruto rolled out of the way of another as he fell to the ground. He got to his feet and continued to dodge the ki blasts. Then, as the robots were all firing at him, he moved slowly toward them and was struck by several of them. He confronted the nearest one, sidestepped his blow, punched him in the chest, and seized him to use as a shield. A human one, if you understand what I mean. Every shot that came his way was blocked by the robot. Dropkicking the robot into another on his left, Naruto leapt. His friend managed to escape just in time as the drop-kicked robot exploded. As Naruto was avoiding them, he began to wonder, wait, where are they hitting if I'm avoiding their fire? When Naruto leapt over the robots, he noticed that the energy was absorbed by the walls. With a smile, Naruto touched down. He observed the robots charging up shots while retracting their hands into their armor. Naruto smiled and released a shield of ki to block their fire as soon as they began firing. When he noticed that the fire was beginning to spread, he rotated the shield around himself. For 2 minutes, he continued this, grunting each time he had to fix it after being blasted. He focused the shield into a full-body one that created an outline of his body 3 inches from his skin after realizing that it was still wasting too much energy. He began to move, focusing on making the energy take that form and fixing it where he had been blasted. He waited until every robot encircled him and began blasting him. After closing his eyes and concentrating all of his energy, Naruto created a super explosive wave. Upon terminating it, he discovered that the attack alone had squandered 60% of his power. In addition to maintaining the shield, he was using fumes, which accounted for only 5% of his total power. Additionally, Naruto noticed that the robots were still alive. However, they were not traveling as fast as they had previously, and their armor was nearly entirely melted. Naruto charged the robots after taking the initiative. He approached one and punched it. Naruto raised the robot vertically after it gave a weak block. He couldn't hold the robot for very long, so he threw it as close to another person as he could before he threw it into his friends. He succeeded in causing the robot to topple his flung companion. The other robot was taken with it when the robot he threw exploded. They all began to stand up and try to swarm Naruto. He made the decision to attempt a move he had seen on the video. Power Blitz was the name of it. In his right hand, Naruto concentrated ki until it formed a tiny 1-inch ball, then shouted, "Power Blitz," and hurled it at them, the blast growing in size as it left his grasp. After noticing that he had won, Naruto sat down, relieved that the fight was finally over. He lay down in the GR, waiting for his breath to catch, when he saw a level 0 robot emerge and give him a small green bean. He looked at the robot, who had already left the room, in bewilderment, and then he shrugged and ate the bean. He felt different right away. He was able to get up with ease, his wounds were healed, and he was surprisingly full. It was around 7 p.m. when he walked to the computer and decided to leave it at the lab. He walked up and turned on the lift, which carried him up, leaving the training ground because he wanted to do a lap around the village before going to bed and telling Sasuke what he had discovered. In and around the village, on his lap around the village, Naruto noticed a figure behind him, wearing green spandex, black eyes, a bowl cut, orange leg warmers, sandals, and a red forehead protector around his waist. He caught up to Naruto and remained level with him, and after they exchanged glances, they both smirked simultaneously, pulled out kunai, threw them into the air, and started racing. While racing, the two boys were tied, so Naruto decided to up the ante. He took off, pushing ki into his legs to gain the upper hand, and when the boy realized he was far ahead of him, he closed his eyes in concentration and yelled, "First gate. Kaimon, gate of opening, open." The boy then took off while encircled by a white aura, stalemating Naruto in the process. The child then leapt forward, gaining tremendous altitude, while crossing his arms and closing his eyes, and Naruto focused before shouting, "Second gate." Naruto then pushed more chakra into his legs, gaining more ground on the child. "Kumon. Rest's gate. Let's open." They ignored it, but the boy then gained a great deal of power and surrounded himself with a white aura of energy. By concentrating much of it on his legs, he was able to blow past Naruto and win the race without realizing it. They were both in dire need of oxygen, so much so that their hearts were about to burst their ribcage and come out of their chests. Naruto was shocked that a normal kid like that boy could be that fast, so he drained his power reserves and put as much power into his legs as he could. They met in a stalemate, looked at each other, and then Naruto dropped like deadweight onto the ground. The kid stopped and went back for Naruto to help him, and then fell down next to him. Naruto asked the child, "Hey, how did you do that thing during the race?" after they had caught their second wind. "Oh, you mean the gates," the child said. "I learned that from my teacher, Guy Sensei. In essence, your chakra system is regulated by 8 gates. By forcing the gates open, I gave myself more power than usual but also seriously injured my body. I don't use them very often because of this. I personally detest typing up youth every other word, so imagine it's there. Only as a last resort." Naruto gazed at Lee and remarked, "You use the word, youthful, a lot, don't you?" "Yes," the child replied, "it's a demonstration of my springtime of youth's strength." "Yeah," said Naruto. "What kind of backwards fucked up village is this?" "So, can you teach someone that?" asked Naruto. The child apologized, but no, I was expressly instructed by my teacher that I could not impart this technique to anyone else without his permission. "It isn't anything," Naruto stated. "I suppose I'll get by with what I have." "I see. In any case, what is your name?" "I am Rock Lee, the handsome devil of the Hidden Leaf Village," the child said. Lee jumped into the air and kicked a few times before landing to demonstrate his point. After initially appearing perplexed, Naruto suddenly became surprised and inquired, "Is your father named Jufu Lee?" "Yes, he was," Lee said. "How are you aware of that?" Naruto stated, "I read my father's diary, and he mentioned that Jufu Lee was his best friend." "Really?" Lee inquired. "Why had my dad never brought that up?" Naruto said, "Your father's alive?" as he gave Lee a startled look. "Yes, why wouldn't he be?" Lee asked. "I thought he died in the Kyubi attack," Naruto muttered. Lee responded, "No, he spent roughly 5 weeks in a coma before resuming his activities. However, for some reason, he left when I was 8 years old and hasn't returned." "Damn," said Naruto. "You're lucky." Suddenly a voice said, "No, I'm lucky." They turned to the left and saw a human-like figure standing there with white armor around an ice-blue dome with 2 horns extending from its head at an angle and then bending straight up. It had an ice-blue dome on its chest with white armor around it. It had pink skin around its arms and white armor around its forearms with a large brown spot on the front. It had 5 fingers and ice-blue skin around its hands. The armor stopped on its waist, where pink skin covered the rest of its lower body. It had 3 toes on each foot, with ice-blue skin on the foot, and a 5-foot tail. "Yep," the beast said, adding that something on its left ear served as a visor for its left eye. "I get to fight at last. I believe this has a lot of potential, but Master left me this poor planet. I just need to enslave every insect in this place." "What are you talking about enslaving us?" Naruto asked, glancing at the monster. "My master let me have this planet," the beast uttered. "Who is this master of yours?" asked Naruto. "My master is the all-powerful Kurumi, Frieza's great-grandson," the beast declared. When Naruto heard the Kyubi say, "We are fucked royally," his eyes widened and he went pale. Staring down this enormous monster, Naruto and Lo were terrified, almost too terrified to move. "Power levels are 270,000 and points at Lee, 220,000, the monster said, pointing at Naruto as he pressed the device on his left ear and yellow markings appeared through the visor on his left eye. "My power is greater than mere flies. However, it appears that this fight will at least provide me with a decent warm-up. Please, we can take you," snarled Naruto. The guy simply laughed at Naruto and said, "Look here, kid. Saiyan cockiness pisses off," thought the Kyubi and Naruto, respectively. "My power level exceeds 800,000. I could use my fingertip to beat you. Toost, pronounced Toost, is a powerful and formidable opponent that you could never defeat." "Why in hell are you named Toost?" asked Naruto. "It sounds like toast." Well, let's begin," Lee said, glancing at Naruto. "What are you doing? We must flee and find another person to take care of this." "Please," said Naruto. "I'm not avoiding conflict. I will remain here, fight, and either succeed or fail." "Kid, are you crazy?" said Lee. "We might not survive. There are times to fight and times to gently back off. Can you guess which one this is?" After waiting a minute with a contemplative look on his face, Naruto exclaimed, "It's time to fight," and charged Toost, who merely smirked at Naruto, assuming that his attack wouldn't harm him. Naruto leapt and kicked him in the chest, striking him with a tiny amount of pain, and as soon as Naruto landed by Lee, he swatted him with its tail. Lee gave him a look and remarked, "Any more brilliant ideas?" "Just one," Naruto said as he stood back up. "Duck." They looked where it came from and saw that Toost was the one who had thrown the pink blast, and he tackled Lee as it passed through where they were. Naruto helped Lee up and said, "Can you do those gate opening things again?" "Maybe," Lee remarked, "but it seriously harms my body. I could totally destroy this guy if I opened 4 of them, but it would tear my body apart from the inside out." "What would happen if you opened the first 2? Asked Naruto, glancing at him. "The first gate, dodge a blast by Toost, releases the brain's limit on the total strain on the muscles, ducks under a kick, and rolls away, giving the user 5 times their normal strength," Lee said, glancing at Naruto. "The second gate makes a person who has been in combat ready to fight as if the battle had just begun by releasing the brain's limit on the body's stamina, dodging a punch and jumping off his head over to Naruto." "Open the first gate," Naruto said, glancing at Lee. "Open the second gate when you begin to feel exhausted. We both oppose him. We can defeat him together." When Naruto saw Toost charging for another death beam, he waited and muttered, 3, 2, 1. 1/2, a quarter, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32. Now just shoot the fucking thing. Yelling at the end, Toost fired and Naruto yelled, "Break." Naruto glanced at Lee and pointed at him before pointing up and down with his thumb before pointing at himself as they charged Toost. They charged Toost with Naruto in front of him. Lee looked perplexed and then mouthed, "Ooh," after realizing it meant, "You go high, I go low." Lee leapt up and kicked Toost in the face, and Naruto then leapt up and kicked him in the jewel on his chest. When he saw Lee land behind him, Naruto knelt down with his back angled, and Lee ran at him, jumping off at the last second, then began twisting in the air as he approached Toost. Lee yelled, "Leaf Great Whirlwind," then lashed out with his right leg and kicked Toost in the face, then used his momentum to turn around and hit him with a left heel, knocking him back. Toost growled in rage and punched the ground where Lee was, and Lee rolled to the left, barely avoiding the blow, then kicked Toost's elbow, severely injuring it. Lee launched himself off his back, and Naruto ran at him while making hand signs. He then yelled, "Lightning style, false darkness," and thrust his hand forward, and a swarm of lightning struck Toost. Naruto created a shadow clone, and the two of them began making hand signs. They then yelled, "Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu," and "Wind style, Great Breakthrough," and when the fire and wind collided, Toost was actually burned. He shouted, "Enough games, pathetic humans," and they could see the anger on his face as well. "It's time I show you my true power." He then charged Naruto faster than Naruto could follow and punched him in the chest, causing his eyes to widen. Lee ran over to try to kick Toost, but Toost's tail swatted him away, and Naruto fell to the ground, still hunched over in agony. Toost said, "I think I'll take my time killing you all." Unfortunately, he didn't anticipate a fist directly in the face, and rolled and tumbled on the ground 5 feet away. When he looked up, he saw Lee standing by Naruto, but he was different. He had only 3 seconds to think about it before he was punched across the face. He unintentionally turned on his scouter and saw that Lee's power level was at 900,000. He gaped in horror as Lee charged him and kicked him in the face, damaging the scouter more than before. Lee's hair began to levitate at strange intervals, and he had a large white aura surrounding him. Sweat was also streaming from his forehead. Toost stood and waited for Lee, who charged him, threw a punch that missed, then 2 kicks that were also dodged, then ducked and faked a punch before twisting and launching a spinning kick at Toost's feet while shouting, "Leaf Violent Wind." When Lee suddenly appeared with his foot in the air, Toost began to fall forward, but he pulled back. "Oh, phew," Toost thought, but that was as far as he got because Lee kicked him in the chin, sending him into the air while shouting, "Leaf Shadow Dance." Lee then leapt up there, appearing behind him, and then he lashed out with a right roundhouse to Toost's right side, spinning quickly. Toost couldn't block when Lee yelled, "Konoha Raken, Thunder Fist. I think Raken sounds cooler," and then took the attack right in the chest, falling to the ground, hitting it and leaving a Toost-shaped imprint on it. When Naruto finally arose from that blow and witnessed Lee's display of strength, he smiled at his friend and was about to congratulate him when he noticed that Toost had gotten back up, his chest jewel cracked, his mouth bleeding, and his armor covered in smudges of dirt. Lee landed on his knees, puffing and huffing, his white aura shrinking. "Oh, how the mighty have fallen," he said with a sly smile as he turned to face Lee. "That show back there must have been a one-hit wonder. You die now." He charged Lee with the intent of killing him. Naruto couldn't let that happen. He charged ki into his hands and fired off 12 shots at Toost, ignoring the pain of his broken ribs. Toost grunted in pain as each one hit. Naruto created 5 clones and told them to keep Toost busy. Naruto then ran over to Lee, limping a little. Lee stood up, the white aura fading more and more. He then crossed his arms and started shaking. He said, "Lee, stop. This is not required of you. I'll defeat him. I don't want to watch you get hurt, Lee, so please get down." Lee said, "No," glancing at Naruto. "I refuse to watch my friend fight a battle that we both fought. Everyone made fun of me and put me down when I was in the academy because I couldn't use genjutsu or ninjutsu. My own teammate makes fun of me. I vowed after he kept putting me down. I made a commitment to never be viewed as the fifth wheel. I would never again be referred to as weak, untalented, or useless. I would gain strength and demonstrate to those who criticize me that my inability to use ninjutsu or genjutsu is inconsequential. I will continue to develop into a skilled ninja, and I will not abandon you, Naruto. I will fight to the very end." Lee threw his hands to his side, the white aura growing in size. He then yelled, "Second gate. Gate 3. Kumon. Simon. The Gate of Rest. Life's Gate. Available." When Lee's aura soared, his skin turned red, his eyes lost their pupil and iris, and he took off like a rocket, crashing onto Toost and sending him to a tree. Naruto looked to see that Lee was beating him, and when Toost stood up, he decided to ignore the pain in his armor and began attacking Lee back. The pace at which the punches were being thrown was so fast that he would need a Super Saiyan-like ability to keep up. Naruto began to charge up, trying to get as close to Super Saiyan as he could. He felt the barrier on his power, and he was almost through it. He yelled, breaking it, but not completely, and then he let out another yell as the power came to him. It was not nearly as powerful as the Super Saiyans, but it was close. A yellow aura surrounded him, and his muscles also grew significantly. He tried to hold onto the power he received, but was unable to reach for the true Super Saiyan transformation. When Naruto regained consciousness, he turned to face the battle and saw that Lee was throwing everything he had at Toost. When he saw that Lee was beginning to lose energy, he was able to get to him in time to see him duck under Toost's tail. Naruto put both hands behind him and launched a powerful ki blast at Toost, then charged through the smoke and punched him in the stomach, flying up and remaining there as he began to land blow after blow on Toost's head and chest. Lee, however, ignored this and began attacking Toost's legs and stomach. They managed to maintain this for 5 minutes, with each of them enjoying every grunt of pain that Toost gave. Naruto kneed Toost in the chest and drop-kicked him in the face. Lee was about to charge, but Naruto told him to wait, and when Toost stood up, all he heard was lightning style, false darkness, and a shout of riot javelin. Naruto and Lee watched with satisfaction, believing that this was finally over, as the attacks all struck simultaneously, resulting in a massive light show and Toost's scream. They let their battle-related adrenaline run off, dropping their transformations, smirking at one another and exchanging high fives, just as they were about to cheer when they heard moaning. Damn, what would it take to kill this guy? They turned to see Toost rising from the attacks, his armor smeared with dirt, all of the jewels were cracked, the armor on his arms and back was blown off, and 2 feet of his tail was blown off. Naruto's shadow clones had long since poofed away, and he and Lee were still struggling from the battle, throwing everything at him, but he kept coming back. Simply glaring at Toost, Naruto concentrated ki throughout his body and charged at him, running and punching him in the face before chasing him back and punching him in the back. He followed him up to the sky, where he kicked him in the stomach, gave him an uppercut to the face, and then smashed his head with both hands behind him before yelling, "Why won't you die? Riot Javelin double." He knew that Toost was still alive, so he had to take action to stop him from throwing the first one in his right hand and then the second in his left. "Fox. Give me some chakra, are you crazy? My chakra does a number on your system. You could die. 1 death is better than thousands. Come on, I gotta fight, and I need some more help to win. Sai, you're just like your father, he knew he wouldn't win against me, yet he still fought me. Alright, kid, I'll give you some, but watch out. If you're using too much, I'm gonna cut you off." "Fine." Naruto then felt a huge surge in his power, which was strange but strong. He knew he had to win this fight now, or else he would die. He let out a yell, and the chakra surrounded him in a thick red aura. His eyes turned red with slits in them, his hair was levitating at irregular angles, and his eyes turned red. He glared at Toost and charged him once more, punching him in the face before Toost flipped back and hit Naruto with his tail. Naruto charged him and used his claws, but they were blocked, and they also clawed at the pink skin on his forearm. Toost kicked out with his left foot, but Naruto grabbed it and stopped it with a block enhanced by chakra. Naruto used his left hand, poured a lot of chakra into it, and punched Toost in the knee as hard as he could, and his scream of agony was like music to Naruto. Toost turned and was about to punch Naruto in the stomach when he threw his leg around him, but a shout of "Leaf Hurricane" came and kicked Toost away, landing Lee in front of him. Naruto charged at Toost, with Lee not far behind. He jumped and kicked him in the chest, avoiding the punch aimed at his head, but Toost jumped back, allowing Naruto to jump up and land a left heel kick in his chest. Toost stumbled back, landing on the ground. Naruto turned to face Lee, who was panting heavily and struggling to catch his breath. Naruto wasn't sure how much longer he could hold up before Lee was kicked in the head and flew back, and Toost, who was furious, took his place. Naruto charged him and threw a left punch, but Toost dodged it and swung his tail, striking Naruto in the head. Toost laughed, then grunted as a ball of ki struck him, fortunately destroying his scouter. Underscore. With Naruto, after he recovered from that attack, with some of the Kyubi's power returning to him, Naruto saw Toost standing there, searching for them with his eyes. He noticed that the object on his left ear was destroyed, but he ignored it, deciding to get around and blast the man before taking off into the forest in the hopes that Toost wouldn't find him yet. Underscore. With Lee lying on the ground, utterly stunned by that blow, Lee knew he owed Naruto the right to fight, so he got down on his knees and took it slowly, attempting to stand up before Naruto died. Underscore. With Toost smirking, Toost said, "I finally killed those brats, but they put up a fierce fight, and if there's anyone stronger than them on this planet, he might have to get others to come and help him. Those snot-nosed brats nearly killed me." Toost simply laughed and got up, saying, "Well, they ain't gonna bother anyone anymore." Unfortunately, he was too preoccupied with his inner monologue to notice Naruto charging up something. Naruto. After passing through the forest and onto the opposite side of Toost, Naruto saw him pondering, so he put his hands behind his back and charged up, applying as much of the Kyubi's ki as he could to his hands before throwing them out and shouting, "Cyclone Buster." He fired 12 large red blasts, all of which struck Toost. By the time the first hit came, he was too stunned to avoid the others. Naruto then fumbled forward in front of Toost, holding a large red blast in his face and letting it fly at point-blank range. When the attack exploded, Naruto flew away. After regaining his composure, Naruto created 5 shadow clones, leaving them to handle Toost for the time being. Naruto glanced back as one of the clones exclaimed, "Yeah, bitch," as he hit Toost with the water bullet jutsu and another hit him with the false darkness. Naruto chuckled and flew high into the air. He waited until he was over Toost. He then cupped his hands and started chanting, "Ka.me.ha.me." As soon as he was about to let it fly, a voice to his right said, "Stop. Permit me." He turned to see a man with hair sticking up all the way to a single point in the air, wearing a black short-sleeved shirt with a purple coat over it, the future Trunks jacket, but without the Capsule Corp logo, black pants, white gloves, and brown-tipped white boots. The man had an aura and a look that shouted power and demanded respect. If he weren't as strong as Naruto, he would have shit his pants by now. Normally, Naruto's attack is blue, but this guy's attack was purple, and it was also generating electricity and sparking off wildly. Some of the sparks hit Naruto, but he ignored it, glaring at Toost and then yelling, "Gaelic gun! Fire!" Toost was not aware of the attack because his scouter was destroyed and the 3 clones were still causing him problems. The attack lit up the night sky and attracted the attention of many, but those who saw it assumed it was just another ninja practicing an attack, so they paid it no attention. When Toost eventually looked up as the attack sailed through the air, he saw why the sky was so bright at night. The blast was too close for him to avoid, so he threw both hands forward and focused ki into them before releasing it and shouting, "Domination Blast." The attack came forward and combated the Gaelic gun. He was being overpowered quickly, so he jumped away, barely avoiding the brunt of the blast, but taking the shockwaves, shattering 3 of the other jewel-like orbs on his body. He landed and wiped imaginary sweat from his brow thinking, "Man, that was a close one." With Naruto, if he looked up at the sky, he would see the man who had fired at him remove his jacket and give it to Naruto. He clenched his hands at his hips for a moment, and then a yellow aura changed around him. His muscles grew a little, his hair stood up more, and his eyes turned green. Naruto was amazed, not because he was also a Saiyan, but because he had just transformed to the Super Saiyan level with virtually no effort. The man then took off at Toost, faster than Naruto had ever seen anyone go, and Naruto followed him as the man yelled, "Final impact." He then began to launch lightning fast punches and kicks, each of which struck Toost. He held his right foot back for a brief moment, causing it to acquire its own distinct white aura. He then slammed it into Toost's center jewel, destroying it completely. He then leaned back on his right leg before launching his body and left arm out, and a burst of thunder and lightning struck Toost's chest and emerged on the other side. Toost simply stood there with a 2-foot diameter hole in his chest, landing slowly on his knees and looking at the mystery man with fear in his eyes, knowing that death was imminent. Naruto approached them and saw the hole in Toost's chest, and as he looked at him, he saw that the man had used his right hand to grab Toost's head, charging it with ki, then released it, blowing Toost to atoms. Naruto felt certain that the man could have done that without changing in any way. After releasing the transformation, the man simply held out his hand to Naruto, pointing to his jacket, and Naruto gave it to him, grunting, "Thank you." The man then turned to face the forest, and 2 seconds later, Lee emerged from it but fell, so the man approached Lee, lifted him, placed him over his right shoulder, and turned to face Naruto. "Kid, why know how to fly, right?" Naruto merely nodded, and the man said, "Come on, follow me," and took off, Naruto following him. He flew to an empty field with the panel on it, and it said in a robotic voice, "Fingerprint registration and retina scan, please." The man placed his hand on the monitor and leaned forward, having his eyes scanned. Naruto looked, shocked that this man knew how to enter, as he had assumed that only he could do so since his father's death. Vegeta briefs Jr., "Welcome." Vegeta Jr. then began to walk onto the ground as it began to open up, and Naruto hurried after him as the elevator accelerated and carried them down to the lab. Lab underground. When they arrived at the lab, Vegeta Jr. began to move quickly, not waiting for Naruto, and Naruto had to run to keep up with him. They entered a room marked Region Tank, where strange machines lined the right wall and computers lined the entire left wall. The machines were hooked onto the wall, white, and had glass doors with buttons on the hatch where they opened, as well as these black objects hanging down from the top. When he saw that Vegeta Jr. had put Lee down in one, he looked to see that a strange black object had been placed over Lee's mouth and that a white rubber band had been attached to keep it in place. He then closed the tank's lid and pressed some buttons, and the green liquid began to fill it up, flowing from two holes on the side where tubes connected to the wall. Naruto was a little alarmed, but he became extremely alarmed when it passed Lee's jawline. He shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" as he turned to face Vegeta Jr. "You will drown him." "No, I won't," Vegeta Jr. said, glancing at Naruto. The black mask ensures that oxygen is pumped into his mouth so that he can breathe while still unconscious, while the green liquid heals him. "Given how badly you were punched at the beginning, you might want to get into one." "No, I feel fine." "Ow!" Naruto exclaimed, yelping in agony as one of his ribs collided with an object it shouldn't have. Naruto snarled at Vegeta Jr.'s smug expression as he hobbled over to the machine by Lee's. He buckled up and trusted Vegeta Jr. to perform the task effectively. Naruto discovered that the liquid wasn't all that horrible when it filled the tub. His skin felt calmed by it. Putting his faith in Vegeta Jr., he chose to take a quick nap in the water. Exterior to the tank. There was Vegeta Jr. pacing in front of the computers. Lee had minor muscle damage, according to the computers, and almost every part of his body was under more stress than it should have been. He suffered from a mild concussion, wrist and knuckle fractures, a fractured skull, and some chest damage, but he would recover well after 30 minutes in the region tank. Naruto was another matter entirely. With that single blow, he broke 5 of his ribs. In addition, he suffered a severe concussion, a broken jawline, an overstressed chakra system, burns from all the key attacks he used, nearly broken knuckles, a fractured skull, and a punctured liver from one of his ribs. That was significant, but he would recover completely after 40 minutes in the chamber. Vegeta Jr. noticed a decrease in concussions when he looked at the list of injuries. He let out a sigh of relief. Then he left the region tank room and continued down the hallway, coming to a halt at the chem lab room. He entered and unlocked a large box. It contained a variety of tree roots and other materials. He removed some of it and mixed it with some of the items in the lab cabinet. He finally found everything he was looking for after 5 years of searching. After 30 minutes, the computer's list began crossing off numerous items while Lee was away. Naruto's wounds weren't repaired, but Lee's were. He still had a minor concussion, a punctured liver, and an overstressed chakra system. When Lee awoke, he found himself in a tub filled with green water. He tried to find a way out, and his eyes widened rapidly. When someone said, "Hold up, I'll get you out." "Just wait a second." Lee heard the voice, but it was somewhat muffled, so he couldn't hear it clearly. He was about to bang on the glass for someone to get him out. Lee watched as the green water poured out of the tub. Someone grabbed the lid and opened it when it was completely out. Then he was approached by someone he hadn't seen in 5 years, who removed the black mask covering his face. "Hey, son. How's it hanging?" the man asked. With a startled expression on his face, Lee began to cry and said, "Father." He leaned forward and embraced Vegeta Jr. before breaking down in tears. Vegeta Jr. simply stated, I'm sorry, but I'm here now and I'm not going anywhere." Their father-son moment was heartwarming. Naruto woke up from his nap during that half hour. He listened to what Lee had to say while relaxing, saying, "You know, it's times like this that I wish my dad was alive. So I could pop him one in the nose." He sighed as he glanced over there. Naruto made both the father and the son laugh. "How you feel, Lee?" asked Naruto, who simply laughed. Lee stated, "I feel good. I feel like that fight with Toost never happened." Vegeta replied, "That's the power of the region tank. It heals you like you're brand new." When Naruto said, "How do you know? I thought my father built this place." Vegeta began to laugh a little before bursting into a fit of laughter. A minute later, he became calm and said, "Your father was nowhere near smart enough to do this. I built this place. Your father didn't." "Where were you all this time?" asked Naruto. Vegeta replied, "I was out traveling the world, looking for some stuff. I finally found it all a week ago, and came back. I felt your power levels start shooting off and stuff, so I went over there, and I had to save your asses." "Hey, I could have beaten him with my Kamehameha if you let me fire it off," Naruto said with a scowl. Vegeta replied, "You probably could, but I wanted to kill him for injuring my son." Naruto replied, "Damn. Hey, Could you let me out of here? I think I can manage. Vegeta glanced at the screen and saw that Naruto's broken knuckles were all that remained, and since they were only a slight ache now, they would mend themselves. Naruto was released by him. "So you're Vegeta Jr., said Naruto as he emerged. After glancing at Naruto, Vegeta remarked, "And you're my godson, Naruto." "Wait. What the fuck?" said Naruto, glancing at him. Vegeta replied, "Yeah, I was about to adopt you, but the damn Konoha Council overruled it. They purposely go out of their way to make your life a living hell. I was this close," held up his index and thumb a millimeter apart, "to killing them all. Too bad you didn't." Naruto swore at the ground, saying, "Those bastards deserve to rot in hell." Vegeta replied, "Oh so true. I personally sent person after person to them for breaking the Sandame's law, but they were all let off. It took every ounce of control I had to not blast that place to oblivion." Naruto began to nod in agreement. "What were you looking for? Why were you gone so long?" he asked after a while. After giving Lee a quick glance, Vegeta explained, "It was to cure Lee of a disease he contracted." Naruto said, "Wait, what?" as he turned to face Vegeta. Vegeta clenched his fists to his sides and went Super Saiyan after stating, "Yes, it runs in our family. Lee, I think it's time I told you of your heritage." Lee replied, "Dad, your hair's gold. Your eyes are green. What happened?" Then Vegeta explained his whole Saiyan background to Lee. Each time, he paused to respond to Lee's query. He discussed Lee's illness with Lee while describing the Saiyan heritage. Only members of the Saiyan royal family were afflicted by the illness. Their body would become weak and they would be unable to defend themselves because the disease would prevent their ki from ever forming. Only enough was released to keep the person alive. However, they would die by the time they turn 18 if they were left alone for too long. The illness would cause ki to completely stop forming, and the patient would pass away. The antibiotics of planet Vegeta and Vegeta's home world could easily combat the disease. Not here on Earth. Since the cure was liquid, the infants were typically given it in a milk bottle after they were instructed on how to make it. The only issue was that only certain regions of the world were home to the plants Vegeta needed to make the remedy. Since the necessary plants weren't found on that planet, he used a guess-and-check approach to travel the world in search of the plants that could heal Lee. He also needed to ensure that Lee wouldn't be killed by the combinations of them. "So, you make the cure yet?" asked Naruto after the story. With a nod, Vegeta declared, "I'm going to go finish it now." "How long does making the cure take?" inquired Lee. Vegeta replied, "About an hour. I only have a small part left to do. Why don't you guys go to the GR and train a bit?" As Naruto put it, "All right." Vegeta Jr. approached Naruto and Lee with the cure after they had trained in 2x gravity together. He fell out like a light after Lee took it. Lee was seized by Vegeta Jr. and carried to a room where he was placed on a bed. He told Naruto that one-eyed bastard won't do his damn job, and that he would assist in training him. In the mind of Naruto, in the meadow he created for the Kyubi, Naruto was dragged into his thoughts. In his dream, he was with that Wind Country Tamari girl. The Kyubi pulled him out before the dream could become M-rated. He was so furious at the Kyubi that he couldn't help but yell, "You bastard." The Kyubi simply collapsed with laughter. He stated, "Kid, in case you hadn't known, I was the one who gave you that dream, so you should be thanking me for what you got." Still glaring at the Kyubi, Naruto yelled, "Fuck off." The Kyubi replied, "Whatever. Anyway, I called you here because I want to tell you something. From how your father made it sound, that Toost dude was a weakling compared to Kurumi. Kurumi is the descendant of Frieza and shouldn't be taken lightly. I can teach you more jutsu, but there are some I can't teach you, and with that bastard teacher of yours you won't be learning anything soon." "Well, what am I supposed to do?" asked Naruto. Kyubi continued, "Before he always told you to work on your chakra control. I'm telling you that now too. Also, try to interact with the spiritual side of chakra. Right now you can completely control your ki. If you can learn to control your spiritual energy just as well, you can get a lot better chakra control than you have now. Also, ask the Hokage to see if someone would teach you kenjutsu. And get a sword you could use." "What about Sasuke?" Naruto asked. Kyubi responded, "I don't care. You can help him if you want, but he seems fine on his own. Also, ask Lee and Vegeta about the same thing I did to you. Kami knows you can't get a woman." "Hey," said Naruto. Kyubi responded, "Shut up, and you know it's true. When a girl kisses you, you don't just stand there like a vegetable. You bend her over and take her like a man. If the future of the Saiyan race was left in your hands, their history." "Fuck you," was all Naruto said, glaring at Kyubi. "Go to hell." as all Kyubi said as he sent Naruto back to his dreams. The Toost fight night, Kurenai, Guy, Asuma, and Kakashi were all assembled at the Hokage's office. It was Kakashi who had suggested that the teams compete in a tournament. In order to gain the Hokage's understanding and approval, Kakashi and the other 3 Junin were in his office. After Naruto had told him the truth about their team earlier that day, the Hokage had his sights set on Kakashi. "Why do you want to go through with this tournament, Kakashi?" he asked. Kakashi stated, "Hokage Sama, the Chunin exams are coming up in 6 months. As much as it pains me to say this, my team isn't ready. Sakura doesn't take being a kunoichi that seriously. Naruto is a one-trick pony who can't fight to save his life. The only one of my team who is ready is Sasuke." Although the Hokage appeared to be considering what Kakashi had said, he was actually thinking, "Bull shit. He is doing this for a secret reason. In the 2 months that he has served as their sensei, he would have taken action if he truly cared about his team. I'll find out why he's doing it, but I don't know." "But, Kurenai, your reason?" the Hokage asked. According to Kurenai, originally, Hokage Sama, I didn't want for my team to be in this. Hinata is too shy and she's a pacifist. Kiba relies on Akamaru too much. Shino is completely vulnerable against fire jutsu. For those reasons, I refuse to be a part of this. But after talking to Guy, I feel that if they saw where their friends were in strength, it might give them the incentive to get better. "So, son, your thoughts?" asked the Hokage. "Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you, Dad. Shikamaru doesn't train as much as he should. He's smart as hell, but he's also lazy as hell. Shoji is, well, fat. Shoji can move faster than most ninja his size, but he tires easily and doesn't see the advantage of having enough speed to complement his strength. Also, none of them know any jutsu outside of their family jutsu. Despite having known each other since they were infants, they don't work well together. I chose to follow Kakashi's idea when he proposed this small tournament. According to their academy portfolios, Kiba is the group's fastest. Shoji might realize the value of strength and speed after witnessing him in action. Additionally, Sakura and Ino appear to be comparable based on their portfolios. Ino might improve just to surpass Sakura if they got into a fight and she witnessed it. Additionally, out of all the genin, Naruto has the largest chakra reserves. Shikamaru might be inspired to train to have as much chakra as Naruto after seeing him, but with more intelligence. "Guy?" the Hokage asked. "Well, I believe my team is currently prepared for the Chunin exams," Guy stated. "However, I want them to participate in this tournament so that they can see their possible rivals and, if they are able to, the rookies can see their rivals." "All right," the Hokage said. "With the exception of Guy, all of you have valid reasons. In my opinion, your rivalry with Kakashi is the reason you're doing it. However, you have a valid reason. I'll let it. However, nobody is killed, and no limbs are severed. You understand that I'll have your heads if that occurs?" With a collective gulp, the Junin said, "Yes, Hokage Sama." "All right then, dismissed," said the Hokage. "Yes, my plan worked perfectly," Kakashi thought. Now, after waking up from his determined conversation with the Kyubi, Naruto went to see that Lee didn't look different, but he was shocked because he had practiced ki sensing a little but hadn't done much with it yet, and he used his limited abilities to notice that Lee had a lot more energy than before. Naruto then went to the GR, dressed in his version of his family's GI, you know, the black and red one with the red bandana and the ninja band around his left bicep, and when he arrived, he discovered it was empty, so he jumped in. He waited until the party began after setting 20 robots to their previous configuration: speed, level 18 strength, level 14 endurance, level 20 stamina, level 20 ki blasts, level 15 fighting, level 14. As soon as the robots emerged, Naruto leapt over one of them and kicked it in the back of the head. He then dodged the ki blast that was aimed at him and fired back at the robot that had done it. He ran to the robot and jumped for a flying kick, but was blasted by another robot. Damn, Naruto thought as he threw a flurry of ki beams at the firing robot before charging in and punching him in the face. Then he was kicked in the back by another robot, and he had to jump away. He landed and began firing ki blasts at the robots, and although their armor was burned to a crisp in a few places, it was able to withstand most of the damage. One of the robots charged forward through the blasts, taking a lot of shots in its body, and punched Naruto in the chest, and Naruto simply punched the robot in the face, sending him flying back. He fell to the ground, and he was tackled by another robot, and he just jumped over it and kicked it in the back. He then popped up with a right uppercut, smashing some of the armor, and then turned around and kicked him with his left heel, smashing more, until it struck the barrier, further damaging its armor. After being shot in the back, Naruto became enraged and threw his power into a riot javelin, saying that if that didn't hurt the robots, nothing would. He turned to the first robot and used 10 ki blasts on it, easily destroying it. He then turned to the other robots and saw that 3 of them were dead, but there were still many standing, so he just let out a battle cry and charged them. After a few minutes, he was able to destroy all of the robots, and he went to the console in the middle to discover that it was 7:30 AM. He exited the GR and noticed that Lee had changed, wearing a dark blue muscle shirt with black. Naruto approached him and said, "Hey Lee, how you feelin'?" That's what future Trunks wears under his jacket, except for blue and white shoes. "I feel different, Naruto," Lee remarked. "Very young, but not the same. I just know that this is a completely new phase of my life because of all of this energy coursing through me. I am unsure of what I will do." "That's easy," Naruto said. "Why don't you assist your dad in eliminating those sick jerks who destroyed their home planet? I'm fairly certain they get much stronger, and there are a lot more where Toost came from. We must be prepared. Would you also be able to defeat Neji in combat?" "That's a good, very youthful idea," Lee said. "I might do it." "That's the spirit," Naruto said. "We'll be in serious trouble if we don't meet with our teams right away, in my opinion." "Damn, you're right," Lee said. "It's 7:45, and if I don't arrive in time, Sensei won't let me live it down." While they were rushing to the elevator, Naruto noticed something strange about Lee. He had lavender hair. Naruto exclaimed, "What the hell, Lee? You got lavender hair from where?" "It's my natural hair color," Lee stated. "People made fun of me and made jokes about me because of my hair color when I first started the academy. So that no one would notice, I dyed it." "So why didn't you dye it today?" inquired Naruto. "First of all, I didn't have any dye because I slept here," Lee stated. "I'm also sick of hiding who I am. It simply indicates that they are too afraid to speak about me directly if they do so behind my back." "That's true," Naruto said, "because they get kicked in the ass when they bring it to your face." When the elevator finally opened, Naruto and Lee said their goodbyes and headed to their designated locations for team meetings. Naruto ran there and arrived to find Sakura and Sasuke waiting, so he sat down next to Sasuke and waited for Kakashi to arrive. The other teams were meeting while they waited, and they were informed that they had no missions for the day and that they needed to report to the Team 7 training ground for a group tournament that the Junin had asked their genin to participate in. Maeda Guy's team was also called, so there were 12 men in the tournament, and the other teams arrived just as Kakashi arrived. "Crushing Naruto's spirit will be easy as pie," Kakashi smirked inwardly. Kakashi replied, "Hey, all of you guys are here, now we can start this tournament." "What tournament?" Kiba asked. "I was not informed of this." "You wouldn't have heard about it because Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, and I planned this last night," Kakashi stated. "The main goal of this competition is to encourage collaboration and teamwork among Konoha's genin. We're hosting this tournament so you can identify any weaknesses in your fighting style and address them before the big tournament, which is in 6 months, and I want you all to be prepared. We'll pick fights, so relax over there now." Most of the genin went to the platform with the 3 logs where they usually meet, but Naruto went to the memorial stone, knelt down, and studied the names on it, going down the list until he reached Minato Namikaze. He closed his eyes and prayed for his father, and then he opened them and said, "I hope you're watching me, Dad, I'll win this tournament for you." He was followed over there, which was unfortunate for him. "You win this tournament? Huh? That's absurd. It's fate that wants me to win this tournament. Rookie, it's my destiny to win and yours to lose." "Fate ain't got shit to do with it, Neji Hyuga," Naruto said, turning to face the person who had said it. He was wearing black shorts and a white short-sleeved vest, had tape on his right arm and leg, had his hair pulled back in a ponytail, and had pupilless eyes. "Skill, not who fate wishes to win, will decide this. I'll just have to alter your fate if winning is your destiny, won't I?" Neji sneered, "I don't even know why I'm talking to trash like you." The tension in the air increased as Naruto and Neji glared, pearl white meeting coal black. Naruto shot back, "And here I thought you hated the head family of the Hyuga clan. One of them sounds like you. You gag on a stick that is so far up your ass. I need to warm up for a tournament, so get moving. And, Hyuga, I'll show you who's garbage on the battlefield." Sasuke asked, "What was that all about?" as Naruto sneered past Neji and approached him. "Being a member of the powerful Hyuga clan, Bastard believes he is superior to everyone," Naruto remarked. "I'm just a little angry. I suppose it is my responsibility to demonstrate to him the futility of depending solely on one's family name." "You are the best at that," Sasuke remarked with a simple laugh. "I wouldn't have discovered that and I would have passed away much sooner if it weren't for you pushing me in the academy." True, Naruto said with a smile, you can't do anything right without me. Oh, please, smirked Sasuke. I will kick your ass to Iwagakure and back just because you were a half blood of the ultimate fighting warrior race. Smirking, Naruto remarked, I'd like to see you try. Lee approaches and says, Naruto, are you having fun? I will as soon as that list is finished, Naruto stated, I'd like to fight. According to Lee, who doesn't? I think you'd better watch your ass, Sasuke said to Naruto. You are aware that Kakashi is trying to harm you, and if you don't watch what you do, the tournament could turn ugly. Naruto uttered, why must I keep an eye on my behind? I thought you and Lee had my back. Lee and Sasuke said, duh. In response, Naruto said, all right then. The Junin returned a few minutes later with the fighters list, which was Kiba Inuzuka vs Naruto Uzumaki Hinata Hyuga vs Neji Hyuga. Tenten Higurashi vs Choji Akamichi Rock Lee vs Nara Shikamaru. Ino Yamanaka vs Sakura Haruno Shino Aburame vs Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto was not shocked by this. Kiba was among the fastest genin, but he also had the third worst academic standing, behind him and Shikamaru. Kakashi hoped that after all that training, he would still believe that he had not improved, and then he would kick him while he was on the ground. Kiba was also thrilled, but because he believed Naruto was weak, he said as he got up and walked away from the platform to where the ring was. Naruto simply put his anger on the back burner, excited about the battle, and realized that he could finally test his power more, not just against the robots. Naruto was drawn for our match. Akamaru, you do realize that this match will be easy? The Inuzuka clan's ninja dogs were far more skilled at hearing and sniffing than the average human, and they also had a sixth sense for danger, which was akin to a primitive form of chakra sensing. Since Akamaru was a ninja dog, he was able to detect that Naruto was a serious threat to Kiba and could kill him if he tried, but he was very loyal to Kiba and was aware of his lack of confidence, so he said nothing to avoid making Kiba feel betrayed, instead barking a few times, which translates to, it sure will. Let's make this quick. Agreed, Kiba said. Uzumaki, you're going down. Whatever, said Naruto. You'll be regretting what you said by the end of this match, dog. Breath. As the match's referee, Kakashi moved between them and declared, all right, I want a good clean match. It is strictly forbidden to kill. Whoever gives up or passes out loses. Prepare yourself now, Hajime. Kakashi then leapt aside, allowing the two genin to begin the battle. With a sudden burst of speed, Kiba hit Naruto, who was expecting to block the attack easily, and he flew away, hitting the floor 6 feet away. Kiba said, I'll end this in one strike. He began performing hand seals, then dropped to his knees and ran at Naruto, shouting out, all fours jutsu. 1. Naruto remained down, playing dead. Kakashi. Sensei, you might as well call it, Kiba said. He won't get out of that. This time, Naruto decided to crush Kiba's pride. That attack was really not that strong. Admittedly, jutsu took me by surprise, but that blow was insignificant. Let's get into a real fight now. Naruto got up and charged Kiba, who looked around for Naruto but was struck in the back by the person he was looking for. Like it, dog. Boy, Naruto said. Kiba ran over there with his fist cocked back like he was going to punch, but at the last second, he put on a burst of ki and made an afterimage punch out. This method is known as the afterimage technique. I suppose I've got you back. Kiba has merely stated, whatever loser, I'm just taking it easy on you right now. Naruto grinned and said, really, cuz all I'm doing is warming up. Then, using ki to move closer to Kiba, Naruto dodged after him. He threw a right punch at Kiba's face, which Kiba ducked under, and then a left punch at his stomach, which caused Naruto to stoop in agony. Finally, Kiba threw his left knee into Naruto's face, which caused Naruto to stagger back a little. Naruto regained his sense of direction just in time to avoid Kiba's all fours jutsu. He created 3 shadow clones and ran after Kiba, his clones charging behind him. Kiba thought, it's just a regular clone. It won't hurt me. The clone, anticipating that line of thought, charged all of its ki into a fist and punched Kiba in the chest. The other two did the same, with one hitting his left leg and the other being blocked, causing some minor injuries. Naruto didn't put a lot of chakra into them. After the blow, without ki to support them, the clones puffed away. Kiba stood up, took some small purple balls out of his pouch, and threw them in Naruto's direction. Naruto saw them coming and knew they were fast, so he began doing hand seals, but it was too late because the smoke bombs went off and obscured his vision. Naruto completed his hand seals, exclaiming, wind style. Great breakthrough. After blowing away the smoke, Naruto saw that Akamaru was charging at him. He grabbed the dog's body and avoided the dog's leap at his head before throwing it as hard as he could at Kiba. When Naruto yelled out, "Lightning style, false darkness jutsu," Kiba ran and caught Akamaru, furious. He didn't see Naruto making hand seals, so he ran away when he saw the mass of lightning approaching him. He managed to avoid the jutsu, but not Naruto's fist. Kiba rolled away and got back up, then he fed himself and Akamaru some soldier pills, which caused Akamaru's fur to turn red and Akamaru to appear more aggressive. Kiba put his hands together as well, and Akamaru jumped on top of him, putting his front paws together before they both yelled, "Beast Human Clone Jutsu, 2. Akamaru just barked. Then Akamaru turned into an exact copy of Kiba, but more feral. Kiba did hand seals and yelled out, "All Fours Jutsu," boosting his power and speed, giving him Akamaru's untamed appearance. "This is it, loser," he said. Akamaru leapt off Kiba and they kicked off of each other, spinning and shouting, "Dual piercing fang, 3. It's time to show you the power of the best genin in the village," and charged at Naruto, who saw them coming and leapt over them, not anticipating that they would follow him up there. He flew away in a hurry, barely escaping the attack and leaving an afterimage behind. When he touched down, he saw that Kiba and Akamaru had landed down, and he began to rise again. After avoiding Akamaru and Kiba, Naruto flipped over Akamaru when he turned around, but he was unable to avoid Kiba's attack and flew 5 feet away, landing in a heap on the ground. As he began to get up, he heard Kiba gloat. "Loser, indeed. I'm invincible. I'm the greatest. I'll take your place as Hokage, you know. Kami is aware that you will never succeed. You're not even capable of licking my boots clean. All right, screw this. No more Mr. Nice Guy. The gloves come off now. This match is over." Naruto got up, still facing the ground, and smirked before kicking him in the back and reappearing in front of Kiba, punching him in the face and 3 times in the body. He saw Akamaru approaching with a piercing fang, 4, but he threw Kiba in the way and phased away. He then reappeared 10 feet away from Kiba and fired 20 ki blasts at both Kiba and Akamaru. With that, Kiba was finished. Kakashi emerged on the field and, despite no one picking it up, reluctantly declared Naruto the winner. Sasuke whistled and said, "Damn, how'd you get so good?" Naruto moved to sit next to Sasuke and Lee. "Oh, I practiced," Naruto remarked. "After doing this for a few weeks, I've gotten the hang of it. It's not as difficult as it looks." "Then why is it so hard for me?" asked Sasuke. Naruto replied, "Well, you've only been practicing for 13 days, while I've been practicing for the time equivalent of 34 days. You have to teach me that young technique, Naruto. After this," Lee remarked. "I'll run around the village 40 times if I can't figure out the technique. And if I..." Naruto suddenly interrupted Lee by punching him in the stomach. As they spoke, Kiba was being cared for. He was only severely bruised and had only a few burn marks, so he would survive. He went to the other genin's seat, where Hinata and Neji were summoned. Neji Hyuga versus Hinata Hyuga in the second match, Kakashi stated, "All set, Hajime. I don't feel like typing this, but it goes the same way as it did at the Chunin exams, so I'm skipping to the end." Kakashi leapt away as soon as the match began. "You're wrong, Neji," Hinata said, clutching her chest. "You seem to be going through more pain than I am." Neji said, "What are you?" With narrowed eyes, he was cut off when Hinata said, "You are the one who is confused and suffering inside the fate of the head and branch families." Before the Chunin could react, Naruto saw that Neji had glared at Hinata, growled, let out a battle cry, and charged at her. The Chunin appeared in front of Neji, but Naruto's fist in his stomach stopped Neji's dash. Disregarding Neji, Naruto approached Hinata. He was about to call for a medic when he saw her on the ground, struggling to breathe, and he said, "My name is Raditz Nappa. I came here to tend to the injured at the Hokage's request. I suppose I arrived too late." He pushed past the Chunin and approached Hinata and Naruto. Naruto said, "Vey," as he looked him in the eyes, but the medic interrupted him by whispering, "Shut up, I'll take care of her." Vegeta swiftly picked up Hinata and carried her away before anyone could question him. Neji was just getting up when Naruto approached him and slapped him in the face, saying, "What the fuck was that all about? This was not intended to be a deathmatch, but rather a spar. You had the chance to murder her. What do you care about?" Neji asked. "You losers must, I suppose, stick together. I'm not required to answer to you. You won this fight, so we'll fight in the semi-finals," Naruto said with a scowl. "I'll force you to plead for forgiveness, Neji." The match between Choji and Tenten was also intriguing. Tenten had repeatedly avoided Choji's human boulder jutsu, 5, until she figured out its pattern, forcing him to stop rolling for a while. When he stopped rolling, she threw a kunai at him, nailing him in the stomach, and as he deactivated the jutsu, she charged in with a sword and held it at a man's true best friend. Needless to say, Choji gave up quickly. The following match was Rock Lee vs Shikamaru Nara. After Kakashi opened the fight, Lee leapt to his feet and threw a swift leaf whirlwind, 6. That missed Shikamaru. Without giving Shikamaru a chance to regroup, Lee launched into a full-fledged taijutsu battle, landing a punch on his face, followed by 2 more, then sweeping Shikamaru's feet from under him and holding a kunai at his throat. Sakura vs Ino was the next match, and as soon as it began, Ino used her mind transfer jutsu, 7, to force Sakura to give up. Naruto turned around and left to join his friends. When Sasuke and Shino faced off, Shino gave up because the Uchiha clan was known for having fire jutsus and Shino's bugs were clearly flammable. They advanced to the semi-finals, and 10 minutes after Sasuke's match ended, the Junin returned with the semi-finals list. Hinata returned with a clean bill of health, and the medic approached and winked at Naruto and Lee. Neji Hyuga vs Naruto Uzumaki Rock Lee vs Higurashi Tenten. Yamanaka Ino vs Uchiha Sasuke. You might as well give up now, rookie, Neji said as Naruto approached the clearing to wait for him. A loser is a loser forever. Really, I guess I'll just have to show you how strong this loser is, Naruto grinned. Get ready to lose. Naruto stood there, and when the match began, he phased away. Kakashi smirked beneath his mask, thinking that this would undoubtedly destroy Naruto's confidence. Neji grinned and muttered, Byakugan. He saw Naruto and used a Jayuken strike where Naruto would be, but Naruto was too fast for him. Neji was barely able to counter Naruto's punch from behind and strike him with an open palm strike. Naruto looked at him, then punched him in the face, asking, what the hell was that supposed to do? Naruto did the shadow clone jutsu and made 20 clones. Most of them jumped Neji, but Naruto and 3 other clones stayed behind, standing by each other. They started doing hand seals, and when they ended, the clones yelled, Fire style. Grand fireball. Naruto exclaimed, Wind style. Fantastic breakthrough. Neji was standing there with his hair looking a little windswept and his clothes looking a little burned and out of breath when the smoke cleared. Naruto smirked and watched Neji burn as the wind fueled the fire, making the fireballs really large. See, loser, not even your best attack could stand up to me, he said, trying to hide his feelings. With a gloomy chuckle, Naruto remarked, Neji, who the hell said that move was my best attack? You have no chance. Naruto phased out of existence, and then 40 clones appeared. They all charged Neji. Neji was able to blow them all back, yelling out, 8 trigrams. Rotation, 8. Neji smirked and said, Idiot, you're within my 8 trigrams. Neji assumed an odd stance and then charged Naruto after shouting, 8 trigrams. 64 palms. As the clones began to puff away, leaving the original Naruto standing there. 9. He approached Naruto and yelled, 8 trigrams. 2 palms, before hitting him twice with his middle and index fingers. Then, shouting, 4 palms, he hit him twice more with lightning, fast speed. He shouted, 8 palms, and hit Naruto 4 times. He shouted, 16 palms, and hit Naruto 8 times. While shouting, 32 palms, he hit Naruto 16 times. Then, while shouting, 64 palms, he hit Naruto 32 times, the final blow being a palm strike. He concluded by thrusting Naruto's chest with his palm. Naruto stumbled back up on his knees a few seconds after falling 6 feet. Since his chakra points were now closed, he knew that using chakra was no longer an option. Unexpectedly, Naruto was successful in focusing ki into his hand. Though perplexed, Naruto decided to respond to that question later. On wobbly legs, Naruto got up and waited. Neji responded, Kakashi. Sensei, I'm about to kill him now, unless you call it. Neji glared and charged Naruto, who said in a phony weak voice, Wait, don't call it. I won't give up to this bastard, I'll keep fighting. Naruto grinned as he continued to gaze at the ground. He left an afterimage there after waiting until Neji was nearby. After passing through the afterimage, Neji stumbled due to an excessive forward momentum. At Neji's starting point, Naruto grinned. He launched ki blasts at Neji, who deflected them with his rotation. After significantly increasing his firing speed, Naruto halted and charged a large ki beam, which he then fired at Neji. Neji accelerated his rotation speed to block the approaching mass of ki. Before the attack got to him and he could hardly jump away, Neji managed to hold it up for a full minute. After stopping the explosion, Naruto charged Neji and stabbed him in the stomach with his ki. Charged fist. Naruto won because Neji fainted. Naruto replied, I guess you were wrong believing in destiny, Neji. I was the worst kid in my class, yet I was able to win against the best of the last class. Nothing in this world is set in stone, and the sooner you realize that the better off you'll be. In order to wait for the next match, Naruto left. Now, Naruto said those final words to Neji before making his way to the sidelines to join Sasuke and Rock Lee. He was awaiting the start of the next match. Knowing that others would be harmed, Vegeta and Hinata waited in the field. He sprinted across the field, picked up Neji, and headed off to a healing location. Kiba, Shino, and Choji approached Naruto as they waited for the other competitors to warm up. Kiba replied, Damn, Naruto, you destroyed him. What were those yellow balls of energy, though? After putting down his chip snack, Choji remarked, Yeah, I saw you use those same techniques on Kiba in his match. Shino replied, True. Uzumaki-san, I'm pretty sure we all would want to know what moves you used in those matches. Naruto, who had already come up with a fabrication, a friend of my father knew those techniques. My father died in the Kyubi's attack on the village and his friend was really devastated. He didn't even know I existed until I ran into him at Wave Country a few weeks ago. From then, he taught me the techniques. Is there any way we could learn them? Kiba asked, whistling. Naruto replied, Well, there is, but it's like a family secret. My dad was almost banished from his clan for teaching his friend. And it took a lot for them not to kill his friend. According to Choji, man, that would be bad. According to Shino, that is true. Hey guys, Naruto said, the next match is starting. They began the next match after Vegeta left, Tenten versus Rock Lee. Tenten followed closely behind Lee as he approached the makeshift ring. He concluded with, Good luck, Tenten. You might need it. Unbeknownst to Lee, Tenten removed a summoning scroll from her right hip and opened what appeared to be a sword hilt, saying, I won't. You might, but I won't. Ready, Hajime! Exclaimed Kakashi before leaping away. Lee used that idea to run at Tenten right away. Despite her lack of skill in taijutsu, Tenten had anticipated it and used her left hand to draw the sword from the summoning scroll before slashing Lee. Lee ducked under the assault, barely able to stop himself. Tenten jumped away from his left punch to her chest and threw 7 shuriken at Lee. Lee leapt over them when he saw them coming. Then he landed and ran after Tenten once more. He delivered another blow, but it was sidestepped, and a kunai stabbed him instead. Kicked in the face after that. After tumbling away, Lee eventually got back up. According to Lee, you're good, Tenten. You too, Lee. You almost hurt me there. Tenten was a little taken aback by that statement, but she quickly got over it and said, You're lying. Then Lee was gone. Tenten then turned to face Lee in surprise when she heard his voice next to her say, I'm completely serious. She then turned to face Lee in agony as he punched her in the chest. Then he took hold of her arm and tossed her aside. Lee's sucker punch took Tenten by surprise, but she recovered and got to her feet. Tenten opened another sword and drew out another scroll. She pursued Lee while simultaneously holding both. Lee simply ran to her and confronted her head on. Lee managed to avoid Tenten's slash with the left sword, but had to block the other one that sliced into his forearm. Oh no, if I want to win, I'm going to have to dodge all of her hits. Lee began avoiding all of her swipes, but he was only just managing. He was proficient in taijutsu, but she was nearly as skilled with her weapons. Key word, nearly. Lee noticed that she took a moment to draw back her blades after avoiding a few blows. He kicked her hand, causing her to drop the blade as she attempted to slash him once more. To fully disarm her, he then performed the same action on her other hand. Tenten began flipping out of Lee's grasp as soon as her blades left her hand because she knew the match would have ended if she hadn't. As Tenten touched down, he exclaimed, Wow, you're awesome, Lee. According to Lee, the feeling's mutual, Tenten. Then Tenten developed a malevolent grin. Lee became somewhat alarmed upon seeing. What are you thinking about Tenten? Tenten replied, Oh, nothing, except the small little fact that there's one advantage I have over you. What? Lee asked with a perplexed expression on his face. With haste, Tenten began performing hand seals, flung 2 scrolls at her sides, and exclaimed, This, twin rising dragon's jutsu. 1. The scrolls rose in puffs of smoke, and the smoke rose and formed dragons. The people of Tenten were then rendered blind as the dragons began to encircle one another. Tenten leapt into the air behind the smoke, the dragons reverting to scrolls. Then she began to summon weapons very quickly. Lee was back on the ground, bewildered. She's practiced this move before, I've noticed. And then Lee realized, oh shit, if I'm correct. At this point, she flings them all at her opponent, also known as him. Lee got a kunai to pass by his ear as he tried to think of a way out. He knew it was blood when he felt it seeping down. Lee tried to avoid them by jumping out of the way, but he was unable to do so. He was unable to avoid all of the shuriken and kunai, but he was able to avoid the largest ones, such as swords, hammers, and scythes. For 3 minutes, the assault continued. Lee was standing there with more than 30 weapons protruding from his body when the volley of weapons stopped. But he was still upright. There was a large crater and weapons strewn all over the battlefield. There were 2 large packs of weights at the bottom of the crater. When Tenten landed following the attack, she was taken aback to see Lee standing there with just a handful of the weapons she had thrown. Tenten cursed her good fortune. The second part of the attack was at least hers. Then Tenten pulled her hands back and leapt high into the air. The weapons returned with her hands. Chakra strings were fastened to her weapons. That also applied to Lee's weapons. The blood that the weapons had contained spilled out as they withdrew. Lee gave a brief cry of agony before Tenten hurled all of the weapons at him once more. After that, Lee ran off, but he was hit by 10 kunai. He was still able to move quickly despite the pain. With a leaf whirlwind, he leapt to her height, but it was too quick for Tenten to reach. Despite being blown back, Tenten managed to get to her feet. Lee lunged at her once more and delivered a straight right punch, which was sidestepped. Lee hit Tenten with his left heel, using the momentum. As Tenten stood up, Lee turned to face her and remarked, "It's been a good fight, Tenten, but I gotta beat you." To the surprise of his teammates, Lee leapt back and began performing hand seals. Their minds were racing with the question, why is he doing hand seals? He is incapable of jutsu. He lacks chakra. Lee shouted, "Wind style, great breakthrough jutsu," as he finished his hand seals. The wind then began to pick up tremendously. Tenten was essentially knocked out when the winds blew her away and into a tree 20 feet away. When Kakashi approached her to examine her, he discovered that she was unconscious. Afterward, he declared, "Winner, Rock Lee." Lee offered to take Tenten to the medic and went over to pick her up from Kakashi. He gave her to his father, then walked away to join the others, arriving just as Sasuke and Ino were summoned to the field. Guy approached the genin and took a seat next to Lee. He said, "Lee, how can you do those abilities?" Lee replied, "Guy. Sensei, that's a secret. I can't tell you yet, but ask me again when we're in private." "Wait, Lee. There is also something else I must talk to you about. You unleashed your weights without having to protect your precious ones or my permission." When Lee realized what Guy had done on the battlefield, he looked at him with wide eyes. He didn't consider the repercussions. After glancing down at Lee, Guy suddenly punched him in the jaw, knocking him 10 feet away. "I deserved that, Guy. Sensei. I am sorry for not following your rules," Lee said as he stood up. Then Guy approached Lee and gave him a smile. He stated, "I'll let it go this time and for your last few matches, but don't do it again, understand, Lee?" As soon as he got up, Lee saluted and said, "Yes, Guy, Sensei." Guy simply nodded and dropped it. Kakashi responded, "Okay people, next match. Sasuke Uchiha vs Ino Yamanaka." Ino and Sasuke went to the stage. Although Ino was afraid Sasuke would harm her, she was unable to give up. She knew that giving up without a fight would demonstrate her weakness, and she had a major crush on Sasuke. In her mind, Sasuke would never love her if she didn't defend herself. Sasuke replied, "You know Ino, this match is pretty much over now. Why did you even come up here?" Ino replied, "I had to. If I didn't, it would seem that I was weak, and I'm not. I know that I have no chance, but I might as well try my best." After a startled expression, Sasuke grinned. He stated, "I never thought I would hear that from a fangirl of mine. I guess you're the only smart one of them. You're still trying even though you don't think you can win. That's a great quality, Ino. I like that. Sasuke likes me. Sasuke likes me. Sasuke likes me." Ino's eyes widened to the size of 24 inches rims, and she smiled broadly as she thought, "Damn it. I guess there's more fangirlism in her than I thought. I'll have to find out how to change that, and quick." Sasuke assumed a fighting stance, and Ino followed suit, assuming that it was the Academy Taijutsu stance, though she still had some flaws. When Kakashi noticed that they were waiting, he exclaimed, "Ready, Hajime," and leapt back. Despite his decision to be gentle with Ino, Sasuke charged her, ducked under his left punch, which she parried, and then used his right leg to sweep her feet out from under him. Ino then delivered a right punch to his face. After making a backflip to avoid hitting the ground, Ino fell back and booted Sasuke in the face. Unaware that Ino would actually hit him, Sasuke rolled back 3 feet and got up, leaving an imprint of Ino's sandal sole on his cheek. He then began performing hand seals and exclaimed, Fire Style. Phoenix Flower Jutsu. 2. Sasuke smirked, began doing hand seals, and yelled, Fire Style. Grand Fireball Jutsu, as Ino began tossing shuriken and kunai at him after he had stopped shooting high speed fireballs out of his mouth at Ino. Melting all of the shuriken, he ejected a massive ball of fire from his mouth. At that point, Ino began to think, Sasuke-kun is so cool, oh yeah, gotta stay on track. Ino ran at Sasuke to start a taijutsu battle, but he dodged all 3 of her punches and was surprised by her kick. Ino kicked at Sasuke's face with her right foot, but Sasuke leaned into the blow to reduce the damage, and then, following the momentum, he knelt down and used his right leg to sweep Ino's feet out from under her. After a minute or so of Sasuke dodging Ino's blows, Sasuke decides to end it because Ino didn't give up. When Ino was ready to stand up, Sasuke grabbed a kunai and yelled, Sorry, Ino, but I win. Said Kakashi, winner, Sasuke Uchiha. After Ino and Sasuke stood up and left, Sasuke noticed that Ino was dejected and approached her, saying, Hey Ino. Sasuke went on, That was a great match. Ino turned to face him. Would you like to discuss it at lunch sometime? Ino was so thrilled to hear this that she could only stammer out a, yes, with butterflies in her stomach. Excellent, said Sasuke. Well, I'll see you later. Despite Sasuke's best efforts to conceal it, a small smirk was visible when he returned to Naruto and said, Sasuke, I can't believe it. You went so far as to ask a girl out? That's what Sasuke said. It is good, Naruto said. I briefly believed that you were gay. Fuck you, said Sasuke. More proof you're gay, Naruto said. According to Sasuke, go to hell. Naruto simply grinned and turned to face the future. Underscore. After 10 minutes when Naruto, Lee, and Sasuke arrived at the arena following their 10-minute break, Kakashi remarked, Okay, here's the line. Up. He displayed a chart with Naruto versus Lee and winner versus Sasuke. Naruto, Lee, the victor of your match will not be allowed any time to rest, Kakashi added. We've had enough waiting. The other Junin were shocked by this. They had allowed Kakashi to choose the matches because he had the idea, but this time he had gone too far for them. Kurenai was the first to speak up, asking, What are you doing, Kakashi? I'm choosing the matches. Kakashi replied in a tone that made it seem clear. You're not, Asuma said as she approached. You're ensuring Sasuke's victory. All along, you've been giving him the easy way out. They're right, Kakashi, Guy said, deciding that now was the right moment to speak. Additionally, I've seen that you assigned Naruto the most difficult path based on his academy portfolio. Knowing that Shino would give up because his bugs are flammable, you paired Sasuke with him. Because Ino likes Sasuke, you thought she would give up. While I had to fight Kiba, who's a lot faster than you thought I was, Naruto said, deciding to defend himself against the white-haired bastard after noticing the other Junin defending him. And Neji, a close-quarters combatant, when you believed I lacked taijutsu skills. You've been pushing Sasuke up and trying to make me fail. You don't realize how good I really am, which is the only reason I defeated those two. Lee approached and remarked, I concur with the sensei and my young friend. Kakashi-san, you have been playing favorites. Damn. They figured it out. I shouldn't have made the no-break thing. Now what do I do? Wait, that's it, Kakashi mentally swore. Well, what do you think we do? Kakashi asked. We need 2 of the 3 semi-finalists to advance to the final match. After hearing all of this from the start, Sasuke felt that the time had come to speak up, saying, Who said we need 2 for the final match? Furthermore, who declared us semi-finalists? What are you getting at, Sasuke? Asked Kakashi. Lee glanced at Naruto and saw the grin, thinking, it seems like something good is about to happen. Naruto had already figured out what he meant by that and was smiling foolishly. A 3-way free for all battle for the win, Sasuke declared. Naruto, what are your thoughts? Naruto said, I'm game, as his smile turned into a smirk. Lee, how about you? With a smile, Lee said, I'm okay with that. All right, said Sasuke, a free for all. Fools. Sasuke will win this easily. And my plan will work perfectly. It's better to completely crush his dreams when he's so close to it anyway, thinks Kakashi as he says, all right then, a 3-way battle. The 3 contestants made their way to the ring and awaited Kakashi's signal. Hajime! Exclaimed Kakashi and leapt back as the 3 genin engaged in combat. After about 20 seconds of Lee, Naruto, and Sasuke staring at each other, Naruto became tired and snapped at Sasuke, who, to everyone's surprise, activated his Sharingan right away. Underscore. Thoughts of Sakura. I should have killed him years ago. Sasuke.kun activated the Sharingan. That's so cool. He'll beat that Lee loser and that monster Naruto. Why can't that monster just die? Then it would be just me and Sasuke.kun forever and ever. He wants to thwart what's meant to be. The bitch is insane, indeed. Kakashi's opinion. Now that Sasuke has the Sharingan, I can show him the jutsu I copied and have him copy them. I wonder if he's skilled enough for the Raikiri yet. No, maybe I should start him off with the Chidori and see where it goes. Sasuke activated the Sharingan. Finally, now my plans can continue easily. Well, this match is over now. The thoughts of Kiba, Shino, Choji, Neji, Hinata, Shikamaru, Tenten, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy. He is troublesome now that he has the Sharingan. This fight is going to be fierce, Kiba thought. What's wrong with his eyes? They look like he awakened his bloodline. Asuma and Kurenai thought, he has now awakened the Sharingan. Interesting. This match has already become more intense. He has the Sharingan now. In any case, his cool, hip, and youthful ways will never overshadow Lee's Fountain of Youth. Do I need to mention who came up with this? Tenten thought, he has the Sharingan now. Pointless. Lee will move too fast for Sasuke to see him anyway. Leaning on about 300 pounds of weights is nothing compared to outrunning his little red eyes. This Rock Lee character is also a wild card. We know very little about him, so assuming the victor can be based on known knowledge. Shino thought, he has the Sharingan now, but according to Uzumaki-san, even his own sensei is unaware of his abilities. Now that he has the Sharingan, I still believe Naruto will defeat him, Hinata thought. Neji thought, he has the Sharingan now. This match will be interesting. Now that he has the Sharingan, his strength comes from his own abilities, not from his family's. If he doesn't know how to use it, he's a goner, Choji thought. Now that Sasuke.kun has the Sharingan, what will happen? Ino thought. The fight song. 3 days Grace's riot. Wearing his Sharingan, Sasuke saw Naruto running toward him and managed to block his left punch. Sasuke then leapt forward and kicked Naruto in the face with his left foot, causing Naruto to stagger back. Sasuke's left punch to Naruto's chest connected. Lee took advantage of the fact that it was a three-way match to hit Sasuke with a leaf whirlwind, which caused Sasuke to tumble but recover. He then turned to face Lee and began performing hand seals, shouting, "Fire style! Mythical Fire Phoenix Jutsu!" 2. He began shooting fireballs at Lee, who sprinted away from them and pursued Sasuke. He started with a punch, but Sasuke dodged it and punched Lee in the chest with his right. When Lee backed up and hunched over in agony, Sasuke leapt to his feet and flipped around, making his right leg protrude and striking Lee in the back of the head. After Lee was implanted in the ground, Sasuke turned to his left just in time to avoid Naruto's blow to his head. He then punched Naruto in the stomach, which made him back up, and began performing hand seals while shouting louder than usual, "Fire style! Grand Fireball Jutsu!" Realizing what was about to happen, Naruto focused ki all around him and created a hugging shield of ki as soon as Sasuke extinguished the fireball. Naruto saw, or heard, Sasuke yell out the name loudly. After being shielded from the fireball by his ki shield, Naruto got up and began performing hand seals before exclaiming, "Water style, water bullet jutsu." After Sasuke's fireball was neutralized by this attack, Naruto leapt back, began performing hand seals, and exclaimed, "Wind style, great breakthrough," to blow away the steam and Sasuke with it. Sasuke landed on his feet, and saw Naruto doing hand seals. Sasuke recognized the hand seals and started doing the same ones. Sasuke was able to do the hand seals faster since he's known the jutsu since he was 8. At the end they both yell out, "Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu." Sasuke and Naruto both threw large balls of fire that collided between them. After waiting for a moment with the fireballs, Lee sprinted behind Sasuke and began performing hand seals, shouting, "Wind style, great breakthrough." When the wind blew Sasuke away, Naruto's fireball turned back on him, and he stopped feeding it. Naruto turned to Lee, and the two of them ran at each other. Their fists held back for a punch, but Lee's went through Naruto's afterimage. Lee had seen the trick before, so he turned around with a left heel kick, only to have Naruto make a face at him in another afterimage. He didn't look up until it was too late. Naruto blasted him with a barrage of ki blasts, causing him to fall forward after being blasted himself by Lee. When he turned around, he saw Sasuke standing there, grinning at him. Naruto snarled and got to his feet, firing a ki blast at Sasuke, who returned the blow. Naruto and Sasuke clashed fists in the middle, with Naruto and Sasuke gritting their teeth in rage and both of them pushing each other with their fists in an attempt to outdo. When he saw Sasuke running away, Naruto smirked and cupped his hands to his right waist, charging energy before letting loose and yelling, "Ka! Me! Ha! Me! Ha!" Naruto was about to charge after him, but a major distraction got in the way. Lee came at him with a leaf whirlwind to the back of the head, causing Naruto to fall to his knees and Lee to run after him. The Kamehameha flew, caught Lee, and continued on. The blast continued until it reached Sasuke's feet, where it struck Sasuke's ground and exploded. Ignoring the shocked expressions on the other characters' faces, Naruto stood up and charged over there. Naruto performed some hand seals and exclaimed, "Wind style, great breakthrough," as he ran to the smoke cloud. When Naruto blew away all the smoke, he saw Lee and Sasuke rising. Although they both appeared fine, they had dirt and burn marks, their clothes were ripped a bit, and they were bleeding. Lee rushed at Naruto, running so quickly that Naruto didn't even notice him, and he punched him in the chest with his left hand, then his right, then kicked him in the chin with his left foot, then he pulled back both of his fists, then drove them into Naruto's chest. Naruto flew, but he was shooting ki blasts, so he used his ki to stop flying from the blows and drifted down before he ran back at Lee. As Sasuke approached from behind and unleashed a grand fireball on Lee's back, Naruto rushed forward and punched Lee in the chest. Naruto then leapt over Lee and Sasuke, charged a large ki blast, and unleashed it, blasting them both away and landing Naruto. Sasuke stood up, began to perform hand seals, and concluded by shouting, "Fire style! Phoenix flower jutsu!" Sasuke began firing fireballs at an unwary Naruto, who managed to evade the last three. Lee got up and ran around to Sasuke, vanishing and then resurfacing beneath Sasuke with his foot held back. He kicked Sasuke up into the air, then followed him up, before launching a leaf whirlwind at his left hip, whereupon he cried out in agony and collapsed to the ground. Now that he was above him, Lee used the wind style, great breakthrough jutsu to push him farther to the ground at a faster pace, knocking him out. Guy quickly counted him out, and Sasuke was eliminated from the match. Naruto and Lee were alone now. Naruto saw Lee's power display and knew that he would lose if he didn't act quickly. He closed his eyes and dug deep into himself, ignoring the white aura that surrounded him and the wind that increased as he focused on drawing out Super Saiyan's power. This time, he would fully break through it, unlike the last time when he only partially did so. Naruto let out a long, low growl, and as he dug deeper into himself, the growl intensified. The aura also changed color, going from pure white to royal blue and becoming thicker as Naruto drew on more power. Naruto could feel the power flowing through him, and it felt fantastic. He was almost through the barrier when he was stopped. Following his defeat of Sasuke, Lee sensed Naruto's power increasing and the wind picking up. He turned to face Naruto and noticed that he had an aura. Lee had no idea what was happening, but he knew that if Naruto finished what he was doing, it would be lights out for him. Lee hurried to Naruto and threw a leaf whirlwind in Naruto's face. When Naruto realized that Lee was also wearing weights, the fact that he didn't take them off during their battle with Toost demonstrates how dedicated Lee is to his dream. He flew back from the pain of the attack, but he managed to stop himself and drifted to the ground, thinking, "Damn it. Without Super Saiyan, Naruto was doomed." However, Naruto was not deterred by that. He rose from the kick and ran toward Lee, who ducked all of his punches and kicks. Naruto then became enraged and began launching ki blasts everywhere, some of which struck Lee but mostly left him unharmed. After focusing ki throughout his body, Naruto ran at Lee and threw a left hook at his face, which landed. However, Naruto didn't anticipate that Lee would use the momentum to hit him in the face with his heel, so he leapt forward and hit Naruto with a flying kick, sending him flying. Naruto then cursed, thinking, "Damn. What can I do? He's seen a glimpse of the power of Super Saiyan, so he won't let me go all the way to that level. He's too fast for me to transform. What do? All of my techniques won't work on. That's it. It's brilliant. It's awesome. It's genius. Why the hell didn't I think of it before?" The solution to defeating Lee's taijutsu was straightforward. Naruto stood up and launched a ki blast at Lee, who dodged the blast and charged for Naruto. Naruto then waited until he was 20 feet away and kicked up. Take off. Because Lee couldn't reach him while he was in the air, Naruto was able to transform without having to deal with Lee. Naruto charged up until he was 20 feet in the air, concentrating and using all of his power to try to break down the barrier between him and Super Saiyan. The wind increased once more, and Naruto's aura began to turn blue. His muscles began to contract and expand, and storm clouds began to gather above the others. Thunder and lightning began to fall from the sky, creating a scene from the bridge at Wave. Underscore. With Lee. Lee swore and drew out a kunai. He had witnessed Naruto's strength last night after he became a Super Saiyan, and based on his father's appearance as one, it appeared that he had not yet attained the full level. Knowing that this match would end if Naruto prevailed, Lee began tossing kunai at Naruto in the hopes that one would make it, but the wind began to blow them off course, and Lee realized that opening the gates was the only way he could possibly win. Underscore. With all, in particular, Sakura and Kakashi, who had witnessed these same techniques at the bridge in Wave a few weeks prior, were staring at Naruto, wondering where that kind of power came from. They could literally feel the power rolling off of him, and when he pulled his headband up, revealing the Sharingan, he realized that if Naruto could get that much power, he could too. He was considering copying that move and teaching it to Sasuke, so that after all these years, he would be able to kill the demon and exact revenge. How can he fly like that? Hinata asked. Sasuke responded to her from behind, saying, it's a part of his family's jutsu. They can fly in spite of the laws of gravity and physics. I can see the technique's utility, Shino said, it's really intriguing. Yes, said Sasuke. I'll probably have to wait until Naruto recovers from this battle, but he promised to teach it to me eventually. Sasuke turned back to the match, grinning and thinking, this is over. The dumbass has so much power, and I have nowhere near that. I guess this is what I get for relying on my family's name and not training as much as those two. Sasuke continued, those two must have trained their asses off day in and day out to get that strong. They deserve it too. He continued, and now here they are today, proving that one of them is one of the strongest genin in the village. They used those insults to fuel their fire and to prove those people wrong, even me. I was never in a league with those two, and I'm proud of it now. Now it gives me something to shoot for. Naruto, Lee, you better watch your backs, because I'm not going to give up my best genin title that easily. Underscore. With Naruto, as he was busy boosting his power, Naruto sensed that the barrier between him and Super Saiyan was eroding, and he was growling, getting louder as he pushed his power farther until he could be heard by everyone. As the barrier began to wane, Naruto recognized that a single push would provide him with the necessary power. Digging as deep as he could, he let out a long, massive yell to break through the barrier and prevent himself from becoming Super Saiyan. His power surged as he began his final yell, and his hair rose in spikes, his eyes turned blue, green, and his aura changed into the yellow form that is so familiar to his family. Naruto's transformation into Super Saiyan was complete. Underscore. With Lee. Knowing that the 8 gates were his only chance of winning, Lee crossed his arms in front of his face and began to focus after his kunai failed. Seeing that Naruto was nearly finished with his transformation, he began, digging deep inside himself and saying, first gate. Kaimon. Opening gate. Let go. Lee finished around the same time as Naruto, and he was flooded with power. He prepared to begin the actual battle by assuming a fighting stance. Underscore. With Naruto, Naruto smirked and phased away after completing his transformation, noticing that Lee had also released his first gate. Naruto moved so quickly that only Guy, who was usually that fast, and Kakashi, who had his Sharingan out, could see him. Naruto flew around to behind Lee and attempted to elbow him in the neck, but Lee could see him too. Lee ducked under the elbow and elbowed Naruto in the chest. With no visible injuries, Naruto struck Lee in the face with his knee, knocking him off the ground, but Lee recovered quickly. Lee glared at Naruto and ran at him with his newfound speed. Naruto then used his left arm to punch Lee in the stomach, sending Lee flying, but recovering and phased away. When Lee reappeared with his left fist buried in Naruto's stomach, Naruto suddenly punched forward, and his eyes widened in pain. Naruto then kicked Lee in the head with his left foot, and Lee bounded away but managed to flip and regain his ground, thinking, I have to end this quickly, or I'll run out of power. Although Naruto could see him, Lee then phased away once more. He attempted a kick to the right side of Naruto's face, but Naruto blocked it. Lee then phased away once more and attempted a sweep to Naruto's legs from behind, but Naruto jumped over it. Lee then phased away once more, reappeared beneath Naruto with his leg cocked back, and kicked Naruto up. The force of the kick was so great that Naruto was unable to stop it. After leaping forward and reappearing behind Naruto, Lee unwrapped his forearms and let them fly, causing them to tightly enclose both Naruto and himself. Lee then began spinning so fast that anyone on the sidelines could only see a large white cocoon. As Lee was about to fall to the ground, he yelled, Primary Lotus. 4. Lee ripped them both apart and leapt away after shoving Naruto to the ground. His head was spinning from the entire ride, including the kick that nearly knocked his head off, the bandages that bound him, and the driving into the ground that nearly knocked him out. Had he not been at Super Saiyan, he would have been unconscious. Naruto stood back up and turned to face Lee, who gave him a glare and crossed his forearms in front of him once more before saying, "Second gate. Gate 3. Kumon. Simon. The gate of rest. Life's gate. Let go. 3." When the second and third gates opened, Lee's power surged, his muscles bulged, his skin turned red, and he exuded a green aura. Naruto glared back at Lee, sensing that the battle had just heated up even more, and he charged up, unleashing more power. They both charged at the same time, meeting in the middle with their fists. Lee countered Naruto's right with his left, and then they punched each other with their free hands, but the others caught them, opening their fists into open hands and grabbing them, testing their strength against each other. This continued for a minute, with neither gaining space over the other, until Lee leaned his head back and sent it straight into Naruto's head, sending him flying back from the pain but recovering, and Naruto began firing off ki blasts at Lee. Lee just started dodging them all, getting closer to Naruto. When he was 10 feet away, he dashed at Naruto. They both collided with their fists in the other's face. They both flew away from the hits, but was able to recover and charged at each other. Lee sent a left roundhouse kick to Naruto's head, but Naruto blocked it, and sent a left punch to Lee's chest. Lee bent back, avoiding the attack, then flipped back, hitting Naruto in the chin with his foot. But the attack failed as Naruto leaned back a little. Naruto then kicked Lee while Lee was in the middle of the backflip, but Lee pushed off his hands, and booted Naruto in the face, but Naruto leaned his head to the right, barely avoiding a bone-crushing attack. This pattern of strike and dodge went on for a while, with them trading blows at a lightning-fast pace, all laced with chakra and ki. Focusing chakra around the body is easy. Team 7 never tried it before in Wave and they were able to do it after about 5 seconds at the most. Controlling how much goes in is the hard part, and they don't need to control the amount that much. After a while, Lee managed to punch Naruto in the stomach, and Naruto followed through by using his right knee to strike Lee in the face, then slamming his elbow into Lee's sternum. Lee recovered from the blow and kicked him in the face, and Naruto kicked him in the chest. They weren't even bothering to block. They were so focused on inflicting damage on the other that they allowed the other person's chakra, ki-enhanced attacks to connect. This continued until Lee threw Naruto into the air, after which he recovered and began performing hand seals. Lee then performed a variety of them, and they concluded with Naruto exclaiming, "Lightning style, false darkness jutsu." Lee shouting, "Wind style, fantastic breakthrough." After a while, Lee was able to power through Naruto's false darkness jutsu and blow him farther into the air thanks to wind's superiority over lightning. Lee then squatted down and leapt into the air, pulling his fist back and punching Naruto in the chest when he got close enough. They both fell and touched the ground simultaneously. As they landed, they were gasping for air, as if they had just returned from a battle. Naruto's clothes and body were torn at places from Lee's blows, his eye was swollen, and he thought he might have cracked one or more ribs in addition to his skull. His leg hurt from kicking Lee so many times. His radius and ulna, forearm bones, were nearly broken from blocking so many powerful attacks, and he was running low on power. Lee was not much better. He had dirt and burn marks on his clothing. His shin was nearly broken. He was in excruciating pain when he moved his forearms. He had cuts in his mouth that caused him to bleed and covered his teeth in blood. He was fairly certain that Naruto's previous axe kick had slightly damaged his skull, and he was also on the verge of death. Naruto said, "One last attack," as they turned to face one another, realizing they were dying. "That's the only thing we both possess. One final assault to definitively determine the winner. What say you, Lee?" Glancing up at Naruto, Lee grinned and remarked, "You're on, my eternal rival." Lee closed his eyes and crossed his arms in front of Naruto, who smirked before glaring as he yelled and used up all of his remaining strength. "I don't have a good grasp on going this far, but I must. I will show everyone here that I am not weak, and if I have to die to do it, then so be it." Lee then yelled, "Fourth gate. Showman. Pain gate. Let go. 3. Lee's power surged once more, surpassing his previous level. They waited for what seemed like an eternity. Sasuke was standing and observing, perspiring, when a drop of sweat fell from his face. As if that were the first sign, they charged at each other, concentrating all of their strength into their fists, with Lee pulling back his left and Naruto pulling back his right. If you looked closely past the green, Lee, and yellow, Naruto, or as their fists gave off, you would see smoke rising from their hands. They punched at each other when they were 5 feet away. A white glow was growing from the point where their attacks met, and it grew and grew until it covered both of them. It was so bright that everyone had to turn away, and Kakashi had to cover up his Sharingan to prevent his eyesight from going blind. It felt like their fists were moving in slow motion, but when they finally connected, the auras repelled each other, and they returned in a straight line, soaking part of the arm in it. Lee and Naruto were 20 feet apart, spread eagled on the ground, 2 minutes after the glow had faded. After a quick check of the two children's pulses, which revealed that they were both alive but unconscious, Guy turned around and declared, "We have a double knockout. It's a tie." Everyone was shocked at this. They couldn't believe that all that they fought for ended in a tie. They were too shocked to do anything, until they heard clapping coming from somewhere. They looked to see Sasuke clapping and walking toward them. Sakura then immediately joined in. Then Ino, and before long, everyone was clapping for the two powerhouses. They cheered and chanted their names. After their celebration, Guy said, "Now come on, let's take these two guys to the hospital where they can get some good sleep." "I'll take them," Vegeta said as she stepped forward. "Guy, could you please help me?" Guy said, "Sure, young fellow." He grabbed Naruto, and Vegeta grabbed Lee, and they fled, heading the wrong way from the hospital. Sakura yelling, "Wait! Sasuke-kun ought to win, right? Those two are unconscious, but he's still awake?" Shikamaru said, "Difficult. Sasuke was knocked out long before those two." Sakura, "Most likely, he didn't wake up until halfway through the battle. Even so, I heard Guy Sensei begin counting, and when he reached 10, he remained down, so he was immediately eliminated. After saying, 'Now excuse me, I'm going home,' Shikamaru and Choji left, with Ino trailing behind them. However, before she could go, Sasuke gave her a note that read, 'I'll pick you up at 7 p.m. tomorrow for our date.' When Kakashi's plan to persuade Naruto to leave the ninja program didn't work out, he simply gave up and started over, and soon after, everyone else left. A 6-foot man wearing a sky blue GI, yellow pants with a white belt and red wristbands, black boots with white shoelaces, black eyes, and a strangely styled black hair would have been flying there at this moment if you had looked ahead. He said, "It seems like the Saiyan blood in Naruto is strong. It was nearly as powerful as in Gohan. Would you agree, Minato, that it will be enjoyable to watch him grow up?" A man's voice said, "Yes, it will." After the man had finished speaking, "The fact that I can't visit him makes me sad." "I understand how you feel, Minato," the enigmatic man said, casting a shamed glance at the ground. Observing his development without being able to participate. "I experienced the same emotions when I lost the Eternal Dragon and left everyone else behind, when I died against Cell and left Goten fatherless, and when I lost the battle against Raditz. However, you must grow from your errors." "That's true." The man then brought his fingers to his forehead, levitated toward the sky, and vanished in an instant. 1 week later, "Come on, Lee, you can do it." "Yeah. Come on, there's only one more." Vegeta chose to give Naruto and Lee a crash course in training after they woke up. After learning about Naruto's weights, he instructed him to wear them constantly, with the exception of taking a shower and sleeping. Lee spent the entire day practicing his taijutsu and ki blasts in the gravity room after he taught him about ki. Being taught by someone who regularly uses ki manipulation, Lee picked it up quickly. As a result, Lee picked up flying and ki blasting skills fast. Lee learned his ancestor Trunks' signature move, the Buster Cannon, 6 days after the tournament. Leaning on shaky legs, Lee turned to face the final robot. He reduced them to just 1 from his initial 20. Lee placed his arms on his side just above his waist and charged his ki up. With his hands still facing forward, he pushed his arms back as far as they would go. "Buster Cannon!" He screamed as he pushed them forward after charging ki into them. The robot was struck in the middle by a large, blue ball of energy that flew out. Despite the damage to its armor, the robot continued to fire ki blasts at Lee. Lee charged at the robot, his eyes narrowed in rage. A few of his own ki blasts struck the robot as he began firing them at it. Lee, however, was still receiving criticism. He leapt and struck the robot with a left flying side kick when he was 5 feet ahead of it. Then he turned around and used his right foot to kick the creature. To make sure the thing was dead, he shot another Buster Cannon after landing. He approached the location of Vegeta and Naruto. In order to heal himself and regain his strength, he took Sensu Bean from his father. After the tournament, he and his father spent almost all of their time down there preparing for the Chunin exams, which were in 2 months. They were also working on his Guy copy. In the end, he idolized Guy because, in the absence of his biological father, Guy was always there for him and acted as a father figure. He told Guy after spending time with Vegeta that he should not imitate those he looked up to. Guy agreed with Lee and understood his feelings. According to him, a good teacher is one who inspires their students to aspire to be like them. When a student begins on their own, that is a sign of a great teacher. Lee cut his eyebrows, stopped using gel to change his hair color, grew out his hair, and threw away his spandex uniform with a heavy heart. Everyone in the village began dancing, celebrating, and singing. Can you feel a brand new day? From the movie The Wiz, which is the black version of The Wizard of Oz. Despite Lee's sorrowful mood, Lee removed his perspiration with a towel he grabbed from a pile near Naruto. He then turned to his dad to say, "Alright Lee, I want to teach you another attack. It's called the Gaelic Gun. The Gaelic Gun is the signature attack of the Royal Saiyan family. It's an attack that has some properties of lightning. It can short out some electronics and its power is increased by another leap when it comes into contact with water. Now watch me do it, and I want you to try it." Vegeta entered the GR and stood up. He positioned his right leg behind him and swiveled his hips so that his chest was oriented to the right of his gaze. He gathered energy by placing his hands 10 inches apart by his chest. As the energy grew, it released a royal purple hue. Lee watched in wonder at the power that was accumulating. That was more than he had in total, and it didn't appear to be putting any undue strain on his father. How on earth did he become so powerful? He uses it as if it were insignificant, but I can't even get that much power. If I want to catch up to my dad or be able to use his attacks as easily as he can, I have a lot more to learn. Little lightning sparks were flying from the glowing ball of energy. Without warning, Vegeta screamed, "Gaelic Gun, fire!" and flung his hands forward. The assault struck the GR's wall as it went swiftly forward. For a few seconds, Vegeta continued the attack so Lee could have a clear view of it. He halted the attack after a few seconds and moved to where Lee and Naruto were. He stated, "That's the attack, Lee. Now get started on it while I show Naruto a new move." Lee entered the GR and got to work right away. "Alright, this new move is kinda hard to get at first, so watch carefully," Vegeta said, turning to face Naruto. This was a signature move of a friend of Goku's named Yamcha. Naruto said, "Oh yeah? Is it his Wolf Fang Fist combo?" Naruto had studied the Old Earth, as they called it, and watched the battles for a while. Since this was a completely new area of combat for him, he wanted to learn as much as he could to avoid making the same mistake his ancestors most likely did in getting killed. He recalled some of the old warriors' methods. Vegeta spread his legs and squatted slightly, saying, "No. It's his move called the Spirit Ball attack. Watch." He raised his right arm in a backward L position, palm up. He put a lot of energy into his palm after using his left hand to grab his right wrist. A foot above his palm, a ball of energy materialized. After that, he cocked the Spirit Ball back and stood solely on his right leg. Then he tossed it in the air. He clenched his hand into a fist, excluding his middle and index fingers, as the ball began to approach the room's wall. The ball rose as he raised his fingers. They went to the left when he tipped them to the left. He began to move his fingers in a variety of ways, and the ball followed. At last, he gestured toward the ground, and the ball followed. Vegeta then rapidly clenched and unclenched his hands. The ball exploded right away. Naruto gazed in amazement. He never witnessed the Spirit Ball attack, but he had heard about it. And there it was, in front of him. This was fantastic because his attack was no longer a straight line. Vegeta showed him after he requested to be taught. Nothing is ever as simple as it seems, even though it appeared to be. Naruto spent hours perfecting that move. Lee and Vegeta were standing there observing him when he finally understood. Lee replied, "Finally. You've been working on that move for 3.5 hours. Naruto replied, "What, it was a hard move to get. Sorry I kept you waiting." Lee replied, "You're lucky this was one of our off days so we don't have any missions today." With a groan from both boys, Vegeta said, "Alright. You both have finally gotten your attacks down. Now it's training time." They were tortured in their training. He placed them both in a room with 400 robots, and they had to battle it out among themselves. They have never won one because, despite Lee being able to use the 8 celestial chakra gates and Naruto being able to use Super Saiyan or Kyubi's chakra, there were too many robots and they would faint from exhaustion. Vegeta followed the boys as they simply entered, grinning the entire time. He went to the console and began configuring the robots' levels. The levels were Level 30 Speed Strength, 25th level, Level 29 Endurance, Level 29 Stamina, Level 25 Ki Blasts, Level 25 for fighting. In order to leave in time, he set the timer for 1 minute. With a dark laugh, he said, "Good luck guys." Naruto and Lee simply muttered the word, "Bastard." They gulped as the robots emerged, glancing at the door from which they had emerged. All of the robots had left by the end of the minutes. Lee replied, "Let's do this quickly Naruto. I want to win this one today." Naruto angrily exclaimed, "I agree fully on that part. Let's go. At the conclusion, for a few seconds, Naruto floated after jumping up. Lee went to watch over Naruto while he transformed into Super Saiyan. Yelling, "Leaf Hurricane!" Lee leapt forward and struck two of the first two robots to attack them. In an attempt to get as much attention as possible, Lee began attacking the robots one by one. Shortly after, he heard Naruto scream in agony, indicating that the transformation was finished. Naturally, as soon as Naruto became Super Saiyan, all of the robots began to pile on top of him. Lee leapt to the scene of the pile. On right away, but while he was in midair, a single, powerful blast destroyed every robot. Lee began punching and kicking pieces of robots out of his path after realizing that some of them would strike him. Naruto created a massive shield for them to hide behind after Lee was landed by Naruto. Naruto persisted despite the robots' attempts to break the shield with ki blasts. Lee began to power up after realizing what Naruto was doing. He closed his eyes intently and folded his arms across his face. And with that, Lee's power surged. Kaimon, Kumon, Simon, Shoman. Gate of opening, gate of rest, gate of life, gate of pain. Open, he cried. Lee's eyes lost their pupils and retinas, and his skin became red. His purple hair began to lift slightly. Ready? Lee asked Naruto as he turned to face him. With a sly smile, Naruto released the shield, then he exclaimed, "Let's go." As the robots launched ki blasts at them, Naruto and Lee stood side by side. Naruto and Lee suddenly put their hands behind their backs as they began to block them. Lee's hands were on either side of Naruto's body, and Naruto's hands were cupped together. Lee shouted, "Buster Cannon," as he thrust his hands forward, while Naruto screamed, "Kamehameha," as he charged up energy. Naruto and Lee leapt away as the attacks ended. With Naruto, Fire Style, Grand Fireball Jutsu, was yelled by Naruto while he was in the air, and the robots were struck by the fireball. After landing, Naruto began launching ki blasts all over the place. However, a few of the robots managed to reach him by walking through the explosions. A robot swept his feet from beneath him, and another punched him in the chest. They encircled him and began to fire at him. With Lee landed in the center after jumping away, yelled, "Wind Style, Great Breakthrough," and began to perform hand seals while blasting some of the robots away. Then, using all of his strength to kick and punch the robots, Lee charged them at a breakneck speed. However, a few of them continued to criticize him. Lee stumbled and struck the wall at that moment. When he got to his feet, the robots surrounded him. With Naruto recovered from his fall and released a wave of ki after being bombarded by robots for 10 seconds. He got to his feet and charged at the nearest one. A ki charged left punch was delivered by Naruto, who then twisted and delivered a right heel and another left punch. It was rendered helpless after much of its armor was destroyed by that 3-dot hit combo. After charging at another, Naruto punched that one in the face. Then, without delay, he charged at another robot, then another. He continued doing this, bouncing between each robot and only landing one blow at a time. However, that was sufficient because he used ki charged attacks in all of them, dealing the robots devastating blows and destroying a large portion of their armor. With Lee, the robots were beating Lee down, before grabbing that one's foot and twisting him into the other robots. Lee waited until one of them kicked. Then he stood up and began charging the robots once more. The way he tore through the robots, he was like a drill slicing through the earth. In the end, both he and Naruto managed to reach the center. They resisted the entire army of robots. Although they succeeded in killing 240, 160 remained to be destroyed. "We're dead. What are we gonna do?" asked Naruto. Lee replied, Wait, don't you know a water jutsu and a lightning jutsu?" "Yeah, but I don't know, oh duh," said Naruto. "Ready, Naruto?" said Lee. "Yes," said Naruto. After a few hand seals, Naruto yelled out, "Water Style, Water Bullet Jutsu," and pointed it at Lee, who then performed hand seals and exclaimed, "Wind Style, Great Breakthrough. We gotta put all of our power into this one." The great gust of wind was able to repel the water bullets and make them rain down on the crowd of robots. Naruto flew up beside Lee and they charged up their power. Lee put his hands 1 foot apart in front of his chest, while Naruto started doing more hand seals. When Lee got done charging the attack, he let it loose, yelling out, "Gaelic Gun, Fire," and Naruto shouting, "False Darkness, Lighting Style." The attacks continued to roar, and the False Darkness beast emerged, circling the Gaelic Gun's beam before turning away and heading in the opposite direction of the Gaelic Gun as they got closer to the ground. Both of them exploded on impact, taking many of the robots with them. As they landed, exhausted and helpless, Lee's power left him and he returned to normal. Naruto's eyes flickered between his normal black and the greenish blue of Super Saiyan, and his hair was not sticking up as much as it usually did during Super Saiyan. They looked around the GR and saw a junkyard. They thought they had won until one of the robots started to stand up, and then another, until 25 were still alive. Their armor was dented, fried, burned, and largely destroyed, but the robots were still capable of fighting. The robots apparently learned their lesson and began blasting the two right away. Naruto and Lee began avoiding the attacks, but their evasion skills were lacking, and they were quickly overpowered by the robots' fire, landing in a heap. Lee and Naruto were on their knees as the robots began to close in on them. Lee remarked, "Naruto, I can't do this anymore." Lee placed both of his hands on Naruto's shoulders and said, "Lee, what are you?" Naruto felt a sudden surge of energy. "You're going to have to finish the fight. I'm focusing my remaining energy on you. This is something we have never tried. You're barely out of Super Saiyan. Even if I tried, I couldn't reopen the gates. Naruto, it's up to you. Win this for us. Go Naruto, before you run out of energy again," Lee said as he collapsed onto his butt after channeling his energy into Naruto. "All right," Naruto said, nodding. "I'll do it." Naruto unleashed his aura and charged the robots once more. He charged at one and used all of his weight behind it to deliver a right punch to its chest, causing it to explode. He then turned to his left and used his left heel to lash out at the robot to his right, destroying it. Naruto then fired a ki beam from each hand, which struck two robots and knocked them into four others. He then charged up ki blasts in his hand and released four supercharged blasts, destroying the six he had taken down with his ki beam. He charged another, phased out, and reappeared in front of the robot, crouching down, with a punch that went through the robot and killed it. The other 16 robots began firing at the location of the dead robot, but Naruto was not there when the smoke cleared. He reappeared behind a robot and punched it through its back, briefly phased out and reappeared, his leg passing through another robot's body, and then he reappeared with a hit foot kicking a robot in the chin. He continued to fade away and reappear until only 3 robots remained, at which point Naruto exclaimed, "Cyclone Buster." He started shooting out many charged ki blasts at the robots. When the robots were on their last legs, Naruto phased out and reappeared above the robots with a huge ball of ki in his hands. He then said, "Bye-bye," and let it fly. The explosion killed the last of the robots, and after the smoke cleared, Naruto let go of his Super Saiyan transformation and collapsed, breathing heavily, until Vegeta appeared in front of him. "You guys finally finished this test," he said. "Excellent. Here." He dropped a sensu bean onto Naruto's chest, which Naruto easily ate. Vegeta walked over to Lee, saying, "You did good, Lee." After he dropped a sensu bean into Lee's hands, which Lee ate, he and Naruto stood up and proceeded to the towel rack to wipe off. "You would have made our ancestors proud." They cleaned up, and then Lee, Naruto, and Vegeta went to the elevator. They left the lab and went to Konoha to eat while they waited for Kakashi to reach the bridge where Naruto's team met every day. Lee didn't have to report to his team because they were on missions, and he said that Tenten and Neji could divide his share of the money, which Guy was actually agreeing to. Following lunch, Naruto and Lee went to their separate training grounds, where Vegeta placed his headband on and said he would meet them later. After landing, Goku and Vegeta had to disguise themselves by joining the village as ninja and passing the tests administered by 5 Junin specialists in the areas of ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, stealth, and leadership. Vegeta had to retake the test when he returned to the village after searching for a cure for Lee. He had to test against Kakashi Hitaki for ninjutsu, Kurenai Yuhi for genjutsu, Maeda Guy, his student, for taijutsu, a Junin named Solid Snake for stealth, and a Genin team in a high-level class mission for leadership, with a Junin present to assist if necessary. Needless to say, he passed with flying colors. In any case, Sakura let out a loud sigh and exclaimed, "Why don't you just roll over and die already?" Naruto arrived at the bridge 10 minutes ahead of Kakashi. As someone accustomed to hearing her say such things, Naruto remarked, "It's one of life's unsolved mysteries, like why you don't have any titties." Sakura yelled and rushed Naruto with a punch after Sasuke, who was sitting on top of the bridge sign, began to laugh. Naruto easily dodged beneath it and grabbed her arm, flipping her onto the bridge and turning her so that her arm was behind her and facing the ground. Sasuke laughed again when Naruto said, "You know, with us in this position, I could rape you, but I don't fuck guys." Naruto got up and started to walk away, but Sakura charged him again. He ducked under her punch and sunk his elbow in her stomach before sending an uppercut into Sakura's chin. Then, he leapt up with Sakura and punched her in the chest, causing her to land in a heap on the ground, in agony. "Attack me again, and you won't live to see your 15th birthday, slut," Naruto said. While groaning in agony, Sakura uttered the words, "Sasuke-kun, help me." "No," said Sasuke. "This is something you caused. You won't learn anything, so I'm not calling for a medic nin to come get you. I don't feel like it, too." Sakura passed out from pain at that point, and 5 minutes later, Kakashi showed up. He tried to have Naruto suspended from ninja duty, but instead he gave them a C-ranked mission for tomorrow, which required them to leave the village and go to a nearby village to assist with a bandit problem they were having there. Kakashi warned that the mission was extremely risky and that they might die. "It doesn't matter," Naruto said. "After battling one bandit, you faced them all. This is going to be a breeze." "That arrogance could get you killed, Naruto," Kakashi remarked. The icy Naruto remarked, "You wished it would, you one-eyed freak." Kakashi replied, "I don't think insulting me is a good idea, Naruto." "Neither was attempting to thrust a lightning blade through my chest back in wave," Naruto shot back icily. "I suppose that both of us have made poor decisions. You are aware that I haven't mentioned your actions to the Sandaime. Consider the trouble that would result." One of the greatest Junin in the world, Kakashi Hatake, not only used his strongest jutsu against his student without any intention of killing, but he also avoided even touching the student. If that were to leak, your ninja career and reputation would be ruined, wouldn't they? "You're pushing my limits, Naruto, and you don't want to get on my bad side," Kakashi retorted angrily. Naruto replied, "I always was on your bad side, and besides, I can beat you." Listening in on the conversation, Sasuke remarked, "And he'd have my help, Kakashi." Kakashi used the Shunshin to leave after saying, "Whatever. Just be at the north gate at this time." "Whatever." Sasuke said, "Screw him." Naruto replied, "Yeah. Come on, I gotta teach you how to fly." Naruto and Sasuke then departed the bridge, disregarding Sakura's unconscious state. 3 hours later, a passing villager would find her. Flying came naturally to Sasuke. Once he mastered it, he was able to perform flips and catch himself in midair, skills that Naruto had to practice for days. They then began practicing shooting ki blasts to increase his speed. Although he wasn't very quick at shooting them, he was improving with practice. They also worked on his flying speed. However, they had to remain hidden to avoid being noticed. Naruto and Sasuke parted ways following their training. Naruto went to Lee's house, while Sasuke went home. He arrived to find Lee and his father seated and watching television. He explained Kyubi's proposal to increase their Saiyan blood. They were initially shocked, but after Naruto clarified the Kyubi's motivation, they consented. Additionally, having a larger percentage of Saiyan could greatly increase their power, which they would require given Kurumi's forces. Particularly following Vegeta's shocking revelation that Toost was merely a grunt in Kurumi's army. They had to get inside Naruto's head first, so they joined their hands and meditated. They managed to get in, though it was a slim chance. Kyubi said, "You finally tell them of my plan. It took you an entire week to ask them about my proposition. Stupid ass. That's why if it were left up to you, the Saiyan race would be doomed." They ran over to the tree that Kyubi always stands beneath. Infuriated, Naruto uttered the words, yeah, but a cork in it." "Naruto, is that?" said Lee. Naruto replied, "Yep. They Kyubi no Kitsune. He's in his human form." With their nods, Kyubi went on, yeah, let's cut the small talk. You guys want to increase your Saiyan blood, right? Good. With my powers I can multiply your powers 16-fold. Lee would be a 1/2 Saiyan like Naruto, and Vegeta would be a full Saiyan. You guys ready? Wait, how can we trust you? How do we know you won't try to double cross us? Vegeta asked, gazing at the Kyubi as Lee nodded. The Kyubi murmured, "True, you don't know. Well then let me tell you. This seal ties me and Naruto together soul-wise. He's mortal, therefore he'll die sometime. And even if I get out of here, I'll die with him since we're tied by our souls. When I figured this out, I decided to stop fighting against the seal and try to have a little fun. And you guys are entertainment to me. For most of my time as a demon lord, I sleep. You and Goku landing on this planet woke me up, and I wanted to see some fun so I let you guys live." Gazing at the human form of the Kyubi, Vegeta declared, "I'm still not convinced about you." The Kyubi replied, "Demons can't break their word. If they do, they die. I, the Kyubi no Kitsune, give you my word that I will not kill either you or your son. There, and if you still don't believe me, Naruto can always restrict the seal to keep me back." Vegeta took a moment to consider the suggestion while glancing at the ground. Finally, with a sigh, he said, "Okay." After Naruto nodded, The Kyubi remarked, "Good, hurry there. I want to get back to sleep." "Good. Naruto, you gotta release the seal more though. You remember where it was, right?" "Wait, why can't they come along with me?" Naruto asked as he was ready to leave. The Kyubi uttered the words, "'Cause it's your mind. They can't move out of this clearing. Neither can I, you're the only one that can do it. Now go." Naruto then launched himself into the air at a high speed, in the process turning Super Saiyan. However, a massive bird with red and gold feathers on its head and a brown and cream color was able to keep up with him. The Pidgeot bird can reach speeds of up to Mach 2. To break the seal, Naruto landed on the same mountain he had been on before. The Salamence and Rayquaza were still there, watching over the console. Rayquaza apparently dug itself out of the ground when they awoke again. Rayquaza, who had seen Naruto before, snarled angrily. Naruto was about to attack Rayquaza after assuming a fighting stance when he heard 3 strange growls coming from 3 different places. He noticed 3 enormous birds perched on the mountainside behind him. He instantly recognized them when he saw them. It was Ice Blue, the first bird. 3 large feathers protruded from where its eyebrows would have been, and its wingspan was 10 feet. It had a huge dark blue tail and white fur on the underside. Naruto knew that one right away. It was known as the ice bird, Articuno. The second one had a hint of black and was mostly yellow. It appeared to have been struck by lightning due to its spiky feathers. To add to the illusion, its tail feathers protrude in multiple directions. It had characteristic black rings around its eyes and a huge crest of feathers around its head. Its long, thin beak was the same shade of orange as its legs. Despite being the lightest and smallest of the birds, it was still a sizable Pokemon. It was known as the Lightning Bird, or Zapdos. The final one was a big bird that resembled a phoenix and had feathers that were the color of flame. Its intricate head crest and brilliant wings seemed to be engulfed in flames. Its feet were the same shade of brown as its straight, pointed break. Its feet and legs were the smallest of the other legendary birds. It was Moltres, the bird of fire, and although it was the largest of the legendary birds, a large amount of its bulk was composed of feathers. "Oh shish. Naruto thought. This won't work out." Rayquaza shot a misty blue ball at Naruto after charging it up in its mouth. Naruto didn't back down from the attack. He tried to catch Rayquaza by the tail as he charged it. However, Zapdos interrupted him with a thunderbolt attack. Naruto was paralyzed by pain, which was exacerbated shortly after by Articuno's Ice Beam attack and Moltres' flamethrower. During this time, the Salamence also attacked him. They all blasted him with a yellow burst of fire. Rayquaza shot an orange ball of energy at him after charging it up in its mouth. The pain made Naruto grit his teeth and close his eyes. He launched 3 Ki blasts at the 3 Salamence on the ground after charging up Ki. He then gave Articuno and Zapdos a Ki beam from each hand. Naruto used the afterimage to escape after they ceased firing and concentrated chakra all over his body. Above the monsters, he reappeared. Naruto made 2 clones by using the Shadow Clone Jutsu. The original Naruto exclaimed, "Fire style! Burning ash accumulation!" as the 3 began performing hand seals. The clones to his left and right each exclaimed, "Wind style! Great breakthrough!" and "Lightning style! False darkness!" The great breakthrough aided in the progress of the burning ash as its black cloud drifted downward. The cloud drifted down from them, and the monsters saw that he was gone. Naruto detonated the cloud because he could see them through it and could see that they were going to rush up to him. The false darkness beast was launched into the cloud by the clone on the right. Although all of the birds were captured in it, Naruto overlooked a significant flaw. It appeared that the burning ash cloud only strengthened Moltres, while the false darkness gave Zapdos more strength than before. At that point, Zapdos began to glow yellow, and Moltres began to glow bright red. As they both screamed, Zapdos unleashed a massive lightning bolt and Moltres began flying at the 3 Narutos. Naruto ran to his left, narrowly avoiding Moltres' attack, but he didn't expect Zapdos to follow him. After turning around, Naruto stopped the attack. Naruto's arms were smoking after the attack. The air was heavy with the stench of burning flesh. Naruto turned to face the 7 monsters, all of whom had soared into the air and snarled. Holding his left hand to his right wrist, Naruto raised his right arm in a backward L position. He compacted a lot of ki into a tiny ball and directed it toward the attack. Then he shouted, "Spirit Ball attack," and threw it forward after pulling back. The attack with the Spirit Ball soared ahead. Rayquaza threw back its head and blasted the Spirit Ball with a hazy blue ball of energy. Naruto pushed the ball aside and extended his first 2 fingers. The ball then headed straight for Rayquaza's head after he sent it in a collision. Rayquaza was sent back by the precise blow. With a flare of his aura, Naruto rushed towards the monsters. The monsters were firing at him as he flew at them. After successfully evading every one of their attacks, Naruto rose into the air. With the exception of Rayquaza, the monsters took this as a challenge and pursued him. He was being pursued by the monsters. Naruto began to shoot the monsters with ki blasts. They could barrel roll out of the way with ease. They eventually managed to catch up to Naruto. After Zapdos Thundershock failed to hit Naruto, Naruto began launching ki blasts at him. Zapdos was shielded from Naruto's ki blasts by a green glow. With his hands resting back, Naruto launched a charged ki blast at Zapdos. The attack failed when Zapdos encircled itself in the green glow once more. When Naruto had had enough of playing, he charged Zapdos, punched it in the face, then spun around and kicked it in the heel. He sent Zapdos down for the count after he resumed firing ki blasts. Naruto believed he was safe until Articuno's ice beam hit him from behind. Naruto attempted to turn around and confront Articuno, but he was stopped in his tracks. He fell like a rock from the sky. When Moltres noticed, he threw a tiny red ball at him. Oh shit, Naruto thought as the ball struck him before exploding in a massive ball of fire. Naruto fell as the ice melted. He managed to catch himself and get back up as he was falling toward the ground. Naruto charged at the two surviving legendary birds. Naruto destroyed the flamethrowers used by the Scalaments to attack him and launched an attack on the three Salaments. After Articuno he rested. Articuno began flapping its wings as its wings began to glow an icy blue. Before long, a blizzard began. With a flare of his aura, Naruto entered the blizzard. Naruto used his right hand to launch a little attack. With a shout of "Power Blitz!" he pulled the attack over his chest to his left shoulder and then fired it. As before, the attack took off and grew larger and larger as it flew. Articuno was struck and knocked from the sky. Flying past Moltres, Naruto sprinted to the ground. Red in the face once more, Moltres took off after Naruto. As the temperature rose, Naruto realized that Moltres had launched an assault. Ka. Me. Ha. Me. Ha. Naruto chanted as he turned around and blasted the monster as he flew backwards toward the ground, his hands brimming with energy. He struck Moltres squarely in the face, sending it flying into the air. With his head thrown up to him since he was upside down, Naruto yelled, "Yes!" without looking where he was going, and opened them to reveal the ground. He flipped over and barely avoided hitting the ground as his eyes opened up in a humorous way. When Naruto turned to look around, he saw that every monster had been rendered unconscious. Naruto let out a sigh. He heard Rayquaza grunt in agony, though. He turned to see Rayquaza getting back up where the sound had come from. Rayquaza was hit by a charged ki blast after Naruto put a lot of energy into his hands. He was knocked out. In order to give the Kyubi more energy, Naruto went to the console and worked on it. After that, Naruto ran off and returned to the clearing. Vegeta, Lee, and Kyubi stood there anticipating his arrival. After landing, he exclaimed, "I did it. All right now. One of you step up," Kyubi said, ignoring Naruto's wounds. Vegeta took the initiative. Warning. This will really hurt. Kyubi placed his hands on Vegeta's head and began the procedure. He released Vegeta after a few seconds. He turned to Lee and followed suit. He said, turning to face Naruto. Naruto took the hint and hurried away, saying, "I'm done. You'd better lock the seal quick before Ho gets there. You won't survive that match." When he reached the seal, he locked it up completely. Then he vanished from consciousness. When he returned to his body, he discovered Lee and Vegeta unconscious. Naruto walked back to his house after leaving theirs. However, 4 Anbu surrounded him on his way there. However, they weren't your typical Anbu. Except for a nay on their foreheads. Their masks were entirely white and devoid of any markings. They replied, "Naruto Uzumaki, you're coming with us." Naruto said, "No, I don't think so." He started to leave, but they surrounded him on both sides. Naruto felt uneasy about these guys right away. "We weren't asking you. We were telling you. Now come with us or face the wrath of Danzo Sama," Naruto declared, "Fools," and directed his energy. When the Root Anbu stood up, Naruto phased out and reappeared crouching in front of a Root member, punching him in the chest with a ki-filled fist. Then, he let it flare out in an explosive wave, knocking the Root Anbu back. It was so painful you didn't even need to look at his chest. It rocked him from head to foot. Phased out, Naruto reappeared behind someone else. Leaping to his feet, he kicked him in the back of the head and pushed ki into his foot. He was instantly knocked out by that. Naruto used the afterimage to escape after spotting another one charging at him. The member of Anbu was punching nothing. The root member glanced at the afterimage as he got back up. It was pointing upward. When the root Anbu looked up, he was knocked out by a heel-filled blow to the face. When Naruto noticed the other one attempting to run away, he rushed after him. He resurfaced in front of him after catching up to him. He grabbed the man and punched him in the chest. Naruto flared his aura and gained strength. Then he flew off, heading for the Hokage tower. Upon arriving, he landed on the platform and unlocked the main office doors of the Hokage. After that, Naruto remarked, "Old man, we got a problem." "What's the problem, Naruto?" asked Sarutobi as he got to his feet. After dropping the root member onto Sarutobi's desk, Naruto remarked, "I don't think all of the Anbu are under your control."
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.